I'm an emergency physician rushing to operate on a patient, but was framed by an elderly couple. I forcefully pulled the elderly man aside and rushed to the hospital in time to perform surgery on the patient. After the surgery, my colleague whispered to the patient behind my back, saying I had overtreated them and that the surgery was completely unnecessary. As luck would have it, the patient turned out to be the son of that elderly couple who tried to stage the accident. Their scam didn't work last time, but now they've finally managed to pin it on me. They demanded compensation from me, and I refused, so they went to the media to make a scene. Even though the evaluation confirmed that my medical intervention was entirely necessary, I was still pressured to resign in order to quell the public outcry, and not only did my colleague take over my position and get the promotion and raise, but they also successfully stole my fiancé. I had lost everything, yet I still had to face the accusations from that family of scammers. Furious, I shook my fist at the heavens and cursed their blindness. Then, I woke up and found myself back on the day it all happened. This time, I decided to play the easy target and just waste the scammers' time. One thud, thud, a dull, heavy thud jolted me awake. I stared blankly at the ceiling for a long moment before it clicked. It was the sound of someone upstairs renovating, hammering into a wall. That sound should have annoyed me, but right now it's making me elated. I've been reborn on the very day I got scammed, because they only did the demolition upstairs for one day. It was a weekday with legal renovations underway, but it happened to be my day off. In my previous life, I was furious and confronted them, hoping they'd choose another day to demolish things, but they claim they're renovating during legal hours, so I have no right to stop them. Hearing that sound again, I couldn't help but clench my fists and shout. Yes, I'd only slept 2 or 3 hours, but I was wide awake and got right up to wash my face and have breakfast, because any minute now, the call from the hospital would come. It would tell me a patient with a head injury had come in and that I needed to get there fast. After all, when it comes to epidural hematoma evacuations, the doctor on duty, Gujechi, has never been as good as I am. In my previous life, I was woken up by noise from upstairs and went up to argue with them. After getting a phone call, I rushed out again to argue with an old couple trying to scam me, and finally ended up on the operating table with an empty stomach. In the end, all the effort and stress amounted to nothing, and instead, I lost both my career and my love. This time, I'm going to eat my fill and drink my fill, then leisurely enjoy watching trouble being passed on to those smug little people from my past life. I made myself a ham and fried egg sandwich, and also tossed together a salad with lettuce, wood ear mushrooms, and cherry tomatoes. Enjoy sugar free soy milk while munching and binge-watching anime. Couldn't be more carefree. Finished eating, just washed the dishes, and my phone rang right on time. It was Gujechi herself on the phone. In my past life, she was the one who gossiped with patients about me overprescribing treatments. Her voice was frantic over the phone. Sister Anyo, we've got a head trauma patient. He fell off his bike without a helmet and hit his head directly. It looks pretty critical, and I'm not confident. Can you come help me? Gujechi was 2 years behind me in training and had just started in the ER. I understood her panic in calling for backup when faced with a severe case she wasn't ready to handle alone. After all, we've all been there. In my past life, out of compassion for her, I rushed to perform the surgery immediately. After the surgery, she went to the patient and acted all smug and fake nice, saying maybe they should just keep observing. Perhaps the brain bruising would absorb on its own, and surgery might not have been necessary after all. Implied that I was overtreating the patient. The patient's surgery cost of 50 to 60,000 was already borrowed money. After hearing what she said, how could he possibly hold back from making a scene? In this life, I once again agreed with good grace, telling her I'd be right over, but as soon as I hung up the phone, my face fell. This second chance, I earned it by cursing at the heavens for 3 days and nights straight. If I ever make the same mistake again, I don't think even heaven would forgive me. I left the house at the exact same time as I did in my previous life. I live quite close to the hospital. It's only a 15-minute ride by e-bike. That's one of the reasons Gujechi reached out to me. Before heading out, I also took the camera I had prepared to give to my colleague, which was meant to be placed on the stroller. I clipped the camera onto the handlebars and draped a scarf over it to hide it. Just like in my previous life, I hadn't gone far from the neighborhood on my electric scooter when, as I slowed down to make a right turn, 2 elderly people suddenly darted out from the sidewalk. I took a closer look, and sure enough, it was those 2 old scumbags, Zhao Deming and Lu Jinfeng. Lu Jinfeng immediately lay down in front of my car, while Zhao Deming grabbed my hand right away. In my past life, I forcefully pushed Zhao Deming aside, dragged Lu Jinfeng away, and rode off on my bike without a second thought. I made it to the surgery in time, but later at the hospital, the 2 recognized me and tried to shake me down again. Because I was in a hurry to leave, I didn't report it to the police, and in the end, I had no one to vouch for my innocence. This time, I decided to be a pushover and let them take advantage of me. Oh dear, are you all right, ma'am? I got out of the car in a panic and crouched down in front of Lu Jinfeng. The tone was so meek, you could tell they were just waiting to be taken advantage of. Lu Jinfeng and Zhao Deming exchanged a glance. His face was a picture of naked excitement, like a predator who'd just spotted easy prey. Ow, Ow, Lu Jinfeng groaned, clutching her lower back. I pretended to be deeply alarmed. Auntie, you haven't fractured a vertebra, have you? I'm a doctor, let me take a look. The moment he heard I was a doctor, Zhao Deming immediately stepped in to block me. Keep your hands to yourself. You expect us to just take your word for it that you're a doctor? You pay us the money, and we'll go to a proper hospital on our own. There was no way I was going to pay, so I kept stalling them with a deliberately clueless, easy target tone. But I really am a doctor. Could you just let me take a look first? If something really is wrong, I can handle it right away, save you from a world of hurt later. The tone was as soft as coaxing a coworker's 1-month-old baby, of course. The two of them absolutely refused, and because I've always played the doormat, those guys who previously only dared ask me for 5,000 last life suddenly quoted an outrageous price of 50,000. I sighed, looking utterly flustered and clueless. Oh my, isn't your asking price a bit too high? Hearing that, the two of them thought there might be a chance, so Zhao Deming offered a discount. You're a decent girl, so I won't rip you off. Just pay 40,000 and we're done. I rolled my eyes so hard internally. You old man, who do you think you're fooling? But on the surface, I still played along, sounding all agreeable. Still, 40,000 is kind of a lot, you know, seeing how easy a mark I was. Lu Jinfeng couldn't resist taking a slice for herself. Look, girl, she said, you seem like a decent sort, so let's cut the nonsense. Just hand over 30,000, and you can be on your way. We promise you won't hear from us again. Seeing that we'd been stuck for a while, I picked up my phone, feigning helplessness. Gee, I'm really not sure what to do. Maybe I should just call the police to come and assess the situation. Would that be all right with you guys? I didn't care whether they had any objections and immediately dialed 110. Zhao Deming and Lu Jinfeng are seasoned professional scammers who aren't afraid at all and let me call the police without a second thought. After all, a pushover like me who looks like an easy mark doesn't come along every day, afraid I might bolt. Each of them grabbed one of my legs. I snapped a photo of my leg being hugged and sent it to Gujiechi, telling her to quickly shake someone else, just in case she missed it. I also sent the photo to the workgroup chat 02. After the police arrived, I handed over the video footage from the camera to them. Confronted with the irrefutable evidence, Zhao Deming and Lu Jinfeng remained completely unfazed. Zhao Deming stubbornly refused to let go of my leg. You've got to give us at least 500 to settle our nerves. My old lady didn't take that fall for nothing. He even lectured me, saying, if it weren't for my wife's quick reflexes, you would have hit her for sure. When that time comes, you won't be paying a measly 500, it'll be 50,000, 100,000, or even millions. Young man, you should learn to be grateful. Hurry up and transfer the 500 to me. I let out a bitter laugh. That's a brilliant point you've made. Zhao Deming actually thought he'd successfully brainwashed me, lifting his chin with a smug look, just waiting for me to obediently send the money. But I just smiled and told him, sorry, but I have to listen to the officer. I'm a law-abiding citizen. After all, the officer, his face dark with anger, gave the two a severe dressing down and even threatened to detain them. Lu Jinfeng grumbled as she got up, pointing at me and shouting, you damn brat, why the hell do you need a camera on your crappy electric bike? I've never seen anyone so sneaky. Zhao Deming spat on the ground. Pa, you treacherous scoundrel, you got lucky this time. I grinned at them, my tone as sweet and pliable as ever, of course. I'm lucky, and I'm going to stay lucky, since I never do anything unethical. Even heaven's on my side. Anyone who messes with me will get what's coming from heaven. Zhao Deming and Lu Jinfeng were either disgusted by my pretentious act or speechless at what I said, wanting to curse me out but afraid they'd actually get struck down by heaven. Finally, Lu Jinfeng shot me a glare. Oh, aren't you something special? I think you're about to fly off into the clouds. Then he grabbed Zhao Deming and swaggered off with an air of utter disregard. It's all about losing the battle but not the spirit. A cold sneer rose within me. Little do these two realize they're about to lose everything in their lives. After turning to thank the officer, I signed the incident report, took a photo of the receipt, and carefully tucked it away. After the police left, I finally popped into the workgroup chat. I'm done here. Do I need to head back to the ER? Chief, no need. Gujiechi has already taken the operating table herself. Did you get shaken down on your end? I uploaded the receipt photo to the group chat, adding, with the police here, justice is here. Afterwards, I got a room at the hotel across the street and had a solid, comfortable sleep. The next day, back on shift in the ER, I spotted two familiar faces right away, Zhao Deming and Lu Jinfeng. The two of them grabbed Gujiechi's legs, one on each side, just like they had done to me. Lu Jinfeng wailed at the top of her lungs, heavens above. What a sin, I sent my perfectly healthy son in here, so how come he won't wake up? You heartless doctor, give me back my son, cried his eyes out. Not a single tear shed. Zhao Deming didn't wail. Instead, he menacingly threatened Gujiechi, you're not leaving until my son wakes up. Gujiechi had always been the pampered darling of her group and had never encountered a situation like this. Trembling all over, tears streaming down her face, she pleaded, but I've done everything I can, I'm a doctor. Not a miracle worker. Her defense only served to infuriate Lu Jinfeng even more. Lu Jinfeng scrambled to her feet and grabbed her by the hair. What kind of inhuman garbage is that coming out of your mouth? If you're so incompetent, what right do you have to call yourself a doctor? Are you treating human lives like some kind of sick joke? If anything happens to my son, you'll be going down to the grave with her. I watched coldly from the back of the crowd, with absolutely no intention of stepping in to mediate. In my past life, Lu Jinfeng had grabbed my hair too, and hurled similar curses at me. Gu Jiechi did come over to intervene, but her plea was directed at me. Sister Anyo, please, just stop trying to explain. Okay, the more you explain, the angrier the family gets. It's better to just let them vent. They won't be receptive to your explanation until they've vented all their negative emotions. In this life, not stepping forward to hurl the same words back at her is already the greatest kindness I can offer as a person. Of course, my biggest concern is still not wanting to be looked down upon. After all, my colleagues are all well educated. It's not worth being labeled a manipulative flirt just for a moment of satisfaction. Besides, I have a better way to put her in her place. Why should I play the fool myself? However, even though I didn't go, other brave souls stepped forward to mediate, and that brave soul was none other than my fiancé, Su Yanbai, in my previous life. The hospital tried to get me to leave quietly to contain the fallout, and I was planning to file a complaint with the higher authorities. Su Yanbai stopped me. And you, can you be a little more considerate? Being asked to resign was already a courtesy extended to you. Do you really want to push it until the hospital has to fire you outright? I slapped him across the face. Can't even speak like a human being. Let's break up. It was only later that I found out the hospital director was actually Gu Jiechi's own uncle. Su Yanbai had long wanted to dump me so he could pursue Gu Jiechi. He couldn't wait for me to quietly leave the hospital. That way, that despicable pair could live happily ever after under the director's protection. Unfortunately, in my previous life, after cursing the heavens for 3 days and nights and still feeling unsatisfied, I went and slipped some chemical castration drugs into Su Yanbai's water. He's doomed to a life without sexual fulfillment. Then she gave Gu Jiechi something special to drink, ensuring she'd never have to endure the hardships of childbirth and raising kids in this lifetime. A promising medical prodigy like me was forced, against my will, into becoming a lawless outlaw. The plot is so utterly deranged, even the heavens themselves probably couldn't bear to watch, so it gave me a fresh start in this game. 3. Su Yanbai rushed forward, scolding Lu Jinfeng and her husband. If you have something to say, get up and say it properly. This is a hospital, not a place for your tantrums. Keep this up and you could face criminal charges. As soon as Gu Jiechi saw him, she burst into tears. Dear Su, I really did my best. It's truly not my fault. See, even in this situation, she still hasn't forgotten to play her words. She did try her best, and it really wasn't her fault, because she applied all the techniques within her capabilities correctly, yet still couldn't save the patient. To put it bluntly, she's simply incompetent and treats human lives as a joke, but she would never, ever admit to this fact. I know, Su. Yanbai gave Gu Jiechi a quick hug. With so many onlookers around, he didn't dare hold the hug for long, but it was enough for me to snap a 9-square grid for my social media. I posted it to my social feed right away, with the caption, "No understanding, no forgiveness, breaking up is the only solution." Su Yanbai had brought security with him after a few rounds of scuffling with the security guards. Lu Jinfeng and her husband were quickly overpowered. They were just kept back with stun batons. Their freedom wasn't restricted, and they certainly weren't gagged. Lu Jinfeng pointed at Su Yanbai and screamed, "Accomplice, you damned accomplice. I hope you die a horrible death." Zhao Deming was no better, spitting in Su Yanbai's direction. "You little bastard, aiding and abetting evil like this, your bloodline will end with you." I stood by, listening and thoroughly amused. Those two old bastards have no idea that the little bastard they keep cursing is actually their own flesh and blood. In his previous life, after Su Yanbai became impotent, his parents planned to use high-tech means to get themselves a grandson, but by a twist of fate, they discovered that Su Yanbai was not their biological son. An investigation revealed that a nurse had mixed up the babies when Su Yanbai was born in the hospital. The son of Lu Jinfeng and Zhao Deming, the patient I saved, Zhao Dayan, is actually the biological son of the Su family. Unfortunately, I was reborn just as this scandal broke, so I missed out on all the juicy follow-up drama. In this life, I'm determined to get a front row seat and make up for that regret. The police arrived quickly and took Lu Jinfeng and her husband away, just as my colleagues and I were about to take our positions. Gu Jiechi suddenly called out to me, "Dear, and you deliberately missed the surgery yesterday, didn't you?" I knew she'd stir up trouble, so I had 5 different scripts ready for her. Both hardware and software are available, since she's chosen to play hardball, I'll naturally respond with a soft script. Let's hit her with a classic softness overcomes hardness maneuver, combined with a good old-fashioned dumbing down tactic. The core strategy is this: the tougher you get, the softer I become. I'll be so soft your punches land on cotton, and you'll end up thinking I'm actually a pretty decent person. I put on my most innocent and amiable face. Dear, goo. While I'm quite skilled in surgery, I'm not so great at taking the fall, so, could you find someone else to be the scapegoat, please? Gujechi was probably prepared for me to blow up at her. She had already worked up her emotions, pursing her lips to feign grievance, so now they're trying to pin the label of workplace bullying on me, just to divert attention from the fact that her botched surgery left the patient in a coma. So with just a couple of gentle but firm words, I completely shut her down, and she couldn't keep up the act. She had no choice but to turn to Suyenbai. Dear Sue, what's wrong with your girlfriend? I was just asking a question. How could she speak to me like that? Suyenbai sighed at me, his eyes full of reproach. And you, why must you rub salt in dear Gu's wound? I smiled and raised my phone, showing the post I made on my social feed. Sorry, dear Sue, but I've already broken up with you. We're just ordinary colleagues now, so please watch your tone. Let me reiterate, I don't have the capacity to take the fall, so I won't be taking on that hot potato. Could you two find someone else to bicker with? I need to get to work and don't have time for this little drama. Sorry. In short, it's as soft as a salted fish and as slippery as an eel. Blew out of there after saying that. Never give your opponent a chance to score even a single point. I walked away too quickly to fully appreciate the kaleidoscope of emotions on Suyenbai's face as he looked down at his phone, discovering not only that he'd been dumped, but that the affair had been made public. He didn't catch up to me until I was already quite a distance away. And you, if you want to break up, fine. But did you have to make it so ugly? Delete that post from your social feed now, or what will our colleagues think of Dr. Gu? Then you should post another apology to Dr. Gu on your social media, saying you were just jealous. His tone was so aggressive that I had every reason to believe he would have hit me already if we weren't in a hospital, and after hitting me, he'd probably snatch my phone, delete the post himself, and then post what he calls an apology on my behalf. With no one else around, I couldn't be bothered to keep up the meek and mild act anymore. I slapped him right across the face. Suyenbai, you were two-timing me. I didn't make a scene. I broke up with you first. I gave you every chance to save face, and you have the nerve to chase me down, demanding I apologize to that other woman. Where the hell do you get the audacity, if you keep running your mouth? I'll post every single time and place you two hooked up all over my social media. Total bluff, like I'd actually know any of that. It's just that they got together way too fast in our past life. I have a sneaking suspicion he was already cheating on me back then. I was just trying to scare that scumbag Sue a little. Turns out, my bluff actually hit the mark. That despicable pair seems to have been getting up close and personal for a long time. Just moments ago, Suyenbai had been radiating confidence and authority, but now he suddenly wilted, stammering as he spoke. And you, let's talk this out calmly. No, don't do anything reckless. Here's the deal. How about I pay you 200,000 as a breakup settlement, and you pretend you never knew anything? What do you say? Oh, there's such a good deal. I hesitated, silently weighing the risks of taking the money in my mind. Suyenbai misunderstood, thinking I was complaining it was too little. So he jacked up the price himself. Final offer, 500,000. That's my absolute bottom line. Don't push your luck. Let me be straight with you. The dean is Gujechi's uncle. We have plenty of ways to make your life miserable. I rolled my eyes so hard they practically saw the back of my skull. A few pathetic insects, still putting on such a bold front even with death staring them in the face. I didn't let anything slip, just reminded Suyenbai impatiently. Make sure the breakup settlement is clearly stated as a voluntary gift. Suyenbai was so afraid I'd actually expose him that he transferred $500,000 to me on the spot. 04 I clocked in for a full day's work, feeling like I'd better make the most of this paycheck while it's still hot. That evening, after hearing that Zhao Deming and his wife had been released, I made a point of bumping into them at the hospital ward, worried they might recognize me. I deliberately wore an N95 mask. Their son, Zhao Daon, was lying in the ICU, so the couple had no choice but to keep vigil in the hallway. Pretending to be on a call, I walked past them and said, "What, you think Dr. Sue looks like Zhao Daon's dad? Huh, now that you mention it, they really do look alike. Dr. Sue has dimples, but Zhao Daon doesn't. That's interesting. Dimples are a dominant trait, so if a parent has them, the child most likely will too." Really, Zhao Daon doesn't look anything like his parents. I haven't met them, so I wouldn't know. I muttered to myself and walked away, even without turning around. I could guess how thrilled Zhao Deming and his wife must be. The one who's lazy and never wakes up is someone else's child, while the successful angel in white might actually be their own flesh and blood. How is this any different from a pie falling from the sky that night? Suyenbai was on duty. I heard Lu Jinfeng ran over and pulled his hair. 2 days later, I witnessed a dramatic family reunion unfold right in the emergency room. Freshly picked and absolutely delicious, Zhao Deming and Lu Jinfeng Clutched the paternity test results, hugging Su Yenbai as they sobbed uncontrollably, tears and snot streaming down their faces. Su Yenbai stood there woodenly, his face a mask of utter misery. Gu Jiechi stood to the side, her face deathly pale, utterly at a loss. The old troublemakers have now become her future in-laws, so she won't have to worry about them causing medical disturbances anymore. She must be so thrilled she doesn't know what to do. I'll leave you to it. Then, I'll just quietly post a celebratory message for her on my social feed. I took a photo of their family and posted it on my social feed. The caption read, "So touching, best wishes, a family should always be together." I posted side-by-side photos of two old men clinging to my legs, so the news that Su Yenbai's biological parents were professional scam artists spread like wildfire. Even some classmates assigned to other campuses sent me messages to confirm. I responded to each one as quickly and sincerely as possible. Absolutely true, so my advice is, next time you see an elderly person fall on the street, don't rush to help them up, get a DNA test first, or you might end up with a new dad. Mr. and Mrs. Su also rushed to the hospital. They arranged for expedited paternity tests with both Zhao Daong and Su Yenbai. 2 days later, the results came in. It was confirmed that Zhao Daong was the biological son of Mr. and Mrs. Su. This time, it was Mrs. Su who grabbed Gu Jiechi's hair. "Quack, you didn't even write your own thesis. Su Yenbai did it for you. How dare you operate on my son, a rotten apple like you should be kicked out of the medical profession for good. I won't let you off. I'll see you until you end up in jail." Though Mr. Su didn't lay a hand on anyone, his thundering roar was even more devastating than any physical blow. He pointed at Gu Jiechi. "You've driven people to the brink. How dare you even have the nerve to cry? How did you even get into this hospital? Don't you have any sense of self-awareness? If you're so fond of wielding a blade, go work in a slaughterhouse, practicing your skills on people. What kind of doctor are you? You might as well become a damn supervillain. I know all your dirty secrets. If I don't root out a disgrace to the profession like you, then my name isn't Su Changrong." Gu Jiechi's face was deathly pale. She didn't even dare to cry anymore, her lips nearly bitten until they bled. Su Yenbai didn't dare to persuade him this time. He could only squat on the ground dejectedly, pulling at his hair over and over. Though Mr. and Mrs. Su had no connections in the medical system, they could still get things done thanks to their money. They started out as labor contractors before moving on to run a loan sharking operation. With money, time, and a ruthless streak, when it comes to going to court, I won't show the slightest mercy. Besides, I'm here as your strong, behind-the-scenes helper who does good deeds without seeking credit. I sent an anonymous message to Mrs. Su. In the message, I told her the time and place where the hospital director and the head nurse were about to have an affair. With the dean out of the way, Gu Jiechi can step in more easily. See how considerate I am. Honestly, I was such an idiot in my past life. I caught the hospital director and the head nurse cheating right in front of me, but it never occurred to me to use that situation to my advantage. He was eventually persuaded to drop out by the dean. No wonder people always add the word poor when criticizing someone for being aloof. I've just had a personal taste of that in this life. I can't let such excellent material go to waste again. Even if I can't use it myself, I should graciously pass it on for others to use. Before long, the incident of the director and head nurse being caught in the act became common knowledge. Rumor has it that old Su took 6 debt collectors to the conference room and caught them red-handed. Because I timed it perfectly and Mr. Su was just as precise, the group burst in at the exact moment right before the dean unleashed everything he'd been holding back. I heard the dean himself put on a show right there, turning an iron rod into noodles. He was later diagnosed with a functional disorder. I'll probably be eating noodles for the rest of my life. Hearing this outcome, I couldn't help but marvel at how truly kind-hearted the dean is. Even the suffering that Su Yenbai deserved in his past life was snatched away and endured by someone else. It's like he's a living Buddha reincarnated, sent here specifically to help people through their trials. The dean and head nurse were promptly suspended. Subsequently, the higher authorities launched a rigorous investigation into other instances of misconduct and violations committed by the two individuals. Gu Jiechi was the first to be exposed and was promptly dismissed. Gu Jiechi's professional skills simply don't meet the hospital's hiring standards. She was forced in by the director using personal connections, even before Zhao Daiyong's case. She had botched 2 surgeries. The hospital director used his influence to cover them up, blaming the patient's own constitutions for the failures. On the day Gu Jiechi left the hospital, I rushed over to watch the drama unfold. The moment she saw me, she started breathing rapidly. Her lips turned purple, looking like she was about to go into shock. I was frantic with worry. "Oh dear, Gu, wait, Xiao Gu. You look like you're having a heart attack. Should I take you for a CT scan?" No matter how rushed I am, I still keep my tone gentle, though not as coy as Pan Jinlian dropping the bamboo curtain to flirt with Xi Minqing. It was at least as soft as the 2-year-old younger sibling handing a hanger to their parents while the eldest was being scolded, saying, "Here, use this." Gu Jiechi completely broke down in an instant and threw the box at me like a madwoman. I came here on purpose to run into her, just to enjoy seeing her flustered. I was naturally prepared for her to lash out in desperation and turn against me. I quickly ducked behind Cianbai. A chaotic mess of figurines, cosmetics, and whatnot all came crashing down on Cianbai's head, face, and body. Peeking out from behind Cianbai, I flashed Gu Jiechi a beatifically benevolent smile. No, Xiaogu, there's no need to drive yourself mad. Look on the bright side. You lost, but you lost to me. You should consider it an honor. Because I'm genuinely better than you, and not just by a little. Yes, she lost to me. Not only was she fired, but the overseas training opportunity her uncle had pulled strings to secure for her ended up being awarded to me instead. Gu Jiechi completely lost her composure and lunged at me, trying to grab my hair, but Cianbai shoved him away so forcefully that he stumbled and fell to the ground. Cianbai shielded me completely with his body. Gu Jiechi, can't you see the bigger picture? The hospital is only firing you, not sending you to jail. They've already been more than fair. Don't be ungrateful, the same words, spoken to different people, yet still delivered with the same passionate fervor. He's unabashedly wicked. Unfortunately, I wasn't having any of it. Cianbai, how can you be so heartless? Gu Jiechi is your girlfriend. You're the one who needs to see the bigger picture. You should resign with her and stand by her through this tough time, otherwise, you're no man at all. Cianbai put on an ingratiating smile. And you, please don't say that. We've already broken up. You're the only one I've ever cared about. Stop right there. I quickly backed away, as if avoiding the plague. You really take after your genes, can even pull off scamming without being taught. Cianbai snapped his mouth shut. After all, Lu Jinfeng and her husband are now his sore spot, the kind that sends a jolt of pain straight to your soul with every step. I heard that couple has forced their way into living with him. He's so afraid to go back to his own apartment now that he's been sleeping in the hospital on-call room every day, but the couple clearly had no intention of letting things go. They even followed her to the hospital, offering warm words and gestures, trying to make up for years of lost affection. The most famous case was when they brought the widow Wang from their village for a matchmaker's meeting with Cianbai. They said the family owed a lot of money to widow Wang from building expenses, so they arranged for Cianbai to marry her, thus settling the debt through marriage. They even said widow Wang was both capable of earning money and fertile, a perfect match for Cianbai, flying side by side like a pair of birds. Some nosy co-workers went poking around, and it turns out widow Wang really is fertile. Even after her husband died, she managed to have 3 more children, and none of them share the same father of 5. I lost interest after watching the commotion and decided to leave. Gu Jiechi suddenly regained her composure, got up, and stared at me like I was a ghost. And you, did you also get reborn? I froze in my tracks, briefly startled, but I quickly composed myself, turned to face her, and said with a worried expression, Gu, don't scare me. Okay. As I spoke, I had already dialed the phone to Dr. Lu from the psychiatry department. Dr. Lu, Xiaogu seems off. She's talking about rebirth. Are you free to come take a look now? Dr. Lu seemed to have completely forgotten his medical ethics, his voice brimming with excitement. Where? I'll be right there. After I gave him the location, I patiently tried to console Gu Jiechi. Xiaogu, when you're feeling down, maybe spend less time on those melodramatic shows and go for a walk in nature instead. Why is this happening? Gu Jiechi suddenly lost control again, accidentally blowing a snot bubble in her distress. In the last life, it was you who performed the surgery. It was you who was chased and beaten by Zhao Dayung's parents. It was you who got fired. Everything was supposed to be mine, so why has my whole life turned upside down? Why? And you must have been reborn, right? Otherwise, how could 2 old scoundrels have stopped someone as tough as you? Are you deliberately trying to force me onto the operating table just to cause trouble? Is that it? I blinked, doing my best impression of Lu Yu, nailing her tone and mannerisms. Is that really true? I don't believe it. I'm always such a pushover. How could I possibly have handled 2 scammers trying to fake an accident? Have you lost your mind, or are you just seeing me through rose-colored glasses? Xiaogu, don't be like this. It's really not good. I don't like filters. It's better to be genuine. Gu Jiechi, completely disarmed by my soft-as-cotton demeanor, had no choice but to turn her fury toward Cianbai. You absolute scumbag. Last lifetime, you cheated on me, promising to be good to me till death do us part. Now in this life, the moment you see my uncle's downfall, you immediately kick him while he's down. Just you wait. I'm reporting you to the higher-ups right now. Don't think you can get away with sending patients to outside pharmacies and taking kickbacks from them. Cianbai's face turned completely cold. Gu Jiechi, it's time for you to take your medicine. Dr. Lu, who had arrived early but had been busy spectating the drama, promptly stepped forward to demonstrate his professional ethics. Come on now, Xiaogu, let's go to my office and have a proper chat. Gu Jiechi jerked her arm away from Dr. Lu, I'm not sick. I don't want to talk to you. She looked at me again, her eyes burning with a predatory glare. And you, in our past life, you robbed me of the chance to bear children. I will have my revenge for this. Just you wait. I quickly nodded. Got it. I'm waiting. No need to rush. With a wave of Dr. Lu's hand, several medical staff stepped forward. They swiftly restrained Gu Jiechi with cloth straps. placed her on a stretcher, and hurried off toward the psychiatric department. The whole way, Gujichi kept shouting, "I was the one who won in my past life, me, and I can win it all back in this life too." I quickly tried to comfort her, raising my voice, "Xiaogu, winning or losing isn't what matters, your health comes first, okay? Don't overthink it, just focus on getting better." When I turned my head, I met Su Yanbai's stunned gaze. It was the exact same look Gujichi had just given me. Well, looks like this guy's a reincarnator too. Turns out, I was right. Su Yanbai stared at me blankly. "Yeah, why? In your last life, you did all the right things, so why did you end up losing so completely? And in this life, you've done nothing at all, just mumbled a few soft words, and you've won everything. Why?" I glanced around. All my colleagues had dispersed to their own tasks, leaving only Su Yanbai and me in the hallway, so I caught him off guard and slapped him across the face. "That's for what you owed me in your past life," Su Yanbai covered his cheek, looking utterly wronged. "But you already did that in my past life, and you chemically castrated me. I haven't even settled that score with you, so how come you're the one starting a fight now?" I struck again, slapping the other side of his face. "Owed too much in your past life. Just a few slaps won't cover it." Su Yanbai covered his face with both hands, weeping as if he had lost both parents. "But even after you chemically castrated me, is it still not enough to repay the debt?" I smiled, my lips pressed together. "That can't be used to settle debts. That's me from a past life, giving you the gentlest farewell gift." Su Yanbai's entire worldview was shattered, and he stared at me in a daze. I shrugged and softened my tone, speaking from the heart. "That's just how the world works. If you're too strong, people say you're ruthless. If you're too weak, they say you deserve your misfortune. So I've learned to be softer than anyone when it's called for, but when it's time to win, don't let anyone stand in your way. As for you, plenty of people will wear you down in time. I won't get involved." I went abroad for training as scheduled. While I was abroad, I heard that Su Yanbai was driven to madness by Lu Jinfeng and her husband, and ended up pulling a knife on them. Lu Jinfeng lost her hands, and Zhao Deming lost his legs. Well, it's a windfall for them. No need to stage accidents anymore. Just lie down by the roadside, and people will start tossing coins at them. Su Yanbai lost his job and will have to spend a long time operating a sewing machine in prison. It's gotten to the point where I'm scared to buy jeans made in China, worried they might have been stitched by Su Yanbai. Someone with such low morals probably isn't much good at their craft either. I also heard that Gujichi really did lose her mind and was in the psychiatric ward for a long time later. Her family couldn't afford the medical bills anymore, so they sent her to the countryside and married her off to an old widower. The old widower was a man of great responsibility, always afraid of losing her wherever they went. He always kept her on a leash. I'm so relieved to see, as long as I stay malleable enough, all the trouble really does get passed on to someone else. Life reduced to nothing but happiness feels kinda empty too. Story 2, when my sister-in-law was pregnant, she happened to meet an old Taoist priest who pointed at her belly and said, "There's a serpent spirit causing trouble in your household. I fear this dragon child may face grave dangers." After returning home, she insisted on sending my siblings, who were born in the year of the snake, to the countryside to fend for themselves. I tried to convince her that superstitious beliefs are unreliable, and that with proper nutrition and moderate exercise, the baby would be born healthy, as expected. The little dragon baby arrived earlier than anticipated, but is otherwise healthy. Yet every time something goes wrong, my sister-in-law complains in front of him. "You were supposed to be a blessed child full of dragon's vigor, but your aunt ruined your fortune by getting in the way." The snake siblings chimed in, adding fuel to the fire. "It's not like we minded staying in the countryside." Auntie clearly had ill intentions. After he failed the college entrance exam, he set a fire that burned me alive. When I opened my eyes again, I was back on the day my sister-in-law met that old Taoist priest. This time, I decided to let go of my savior complex and let people face their own destinies. Coraline, do you think this flood dragon evolved from a snake? Will it bring bad luck to the little dragon growing in my womb? My sister-in-law was scrolling through her phone while absent-mindedly stroking her belly. Ever since we ran into that old Taoist priest on the street this morning, the one who claimed a flood dragon was haunting our home and could harm the little dragon growing in her womb. She'd been consumed with worry, obsessively searching online for related articles. Suddenly, she grabbed my hand tightly and recited word by word. "A snake cultivates for 5 centuries to become a python, the python 5 more to become a boa, and the boa another 5 centuries to become a flood dragon." My sister-in-law stared at me with a pale face, visibly on edge. "This is already the 3rd stage. Once the serpent fully transforms into a dragon, will the unborn dragon baby still have a chance to turn things around? Could this affect?" I recalled the cryptic words the old Taoist muttered before leaving. "This is no ordinary dragon child. It's the Dragon King's son descending to endure mortal trials." My sister-in-law couldn't stay seated any longer. She rose anxiously, her eyes fixed intently on the family portrait hanging on the wall. "Lila and Zane were both born in the year of the snake. Coraline, do you think I should send them to live in the countryside?" She asked me the exact same Question: in my past life back then, I told her not to be superstitious and advised her to maintain a scientific diet with moderate exercise. Not only did I reassure her about raising Lila and Zane at home, but I also enthusiastically shared science-based tips for managing prenatal anxiety. I also put a lot of effort into reassuring the siblings. This helped ease their anxiety about the new family member's arrival. My mom and brother trusted that as a graduate student, I knew more than they did. If I said everything was fine, they believed it. Later, her dragon baby ended up being born prematurely because Zane threw a tantrum, but a healthy diet and proper exercise during pregnancy ensured the baby was born healthy. My sister-in-law, however, believed the Taoist monk's prediction had come true, that troublemaker Zane, a snake masquerading as a dragon, was destined to bring misfortune to the dragon child. This led to his premature birth, incomplete blessings, and prevented him from becoming a lucky star. I, as the aunt, simply have ill intentions, and you call yourself a graduate student. You're probably deliberately misleading our family, just so the little dragon baby gets affected. So, whenever my little nephew faced minor illnesses, misfortunes, or anything that didn't go his way, she would always tell him viciously, if it weren't for your aunt getting in the way, you'd already be a blessed baby full of dragon's aura, sailing smoothly through life, getting whatever you want. Nothing like how things are now. Lila and Zane would always add fuel to the fire in front of our little nephew. Exactly, we could have sorted this out in just a year if we stayed in the countryside, but Auntie just had to stop us. I think she simply doesn't want you to have a good life. No, even if we two snakes were flood dragons, we're not true dragons after all. We can't possibly stir up any real trouble, so if you're going to blame anyone, blame Auntie. She's the one who deliberately sabotaged you and made you fail your heavenly tribulation. Under the influence of those three, my little nephew grew up resenting me from a very young age. His resentment reached its peak after failing the college entrance exam. He secretly slipped sleeping pills into my water and then set a fire that burned me alive. Thinking of this, I stood behind my sister-in-law, looking at their family photo of 5 and silently resolved. Let go of the savior complex and respect others' destinies, he said calmly. You're the baby's mother, sis, of course. It's your call. My sister-in-law nodded thoughtfully. Whether it was the old Taoist's prediction coming true or just coincidence, no one could tell. The moment Lila and Zane returned home, my sister-in-law started having abdominal pain. Hearing my sister-in-law's painful moans from the room, my mother hastily took off her coat and hurried over, gently wiping the sweat from her forehead. She spoke softly. It's all right. It's all right. The little dragon baby will be perfectly healthy. Just tell Coraline whatever you need to eat or drink. Your only job is to bring this child into the world. Just then, Lila entered with Zane in tow. She frowned at me, her eyes full of reproach, while Zane shoved me aside and yelled, Auntie, is this how you take care of my mother? She's suffering so much, and you have the nerve to stay here freeloading. If I were you, I'd pack my bags and leave immediately. I spent the entire New Year holiday looking after my sister-in-law, even if I haven't done anything extraordinary. I've certainly put in the effort, but these siblings think I'm some kind of accomplice hired by the unborn dragon baby in my sister-in-law's womb, scheming to steal their parents' affection step by step. They're constantly trying to poison my mother and sister-in-law against me. In my past life, I just thought they were being childish and throwing a tantrum. Now I realize that biting the hand that feeds you is in their DNA. They're born ingrates. When my sister-in-law heard Zane's voice, her face turned even more grim, struggling to sit up. She was so frantic she couldn't even form words, and could only gesture with her eyes for me to kick the siblings out. I shot a glare at Lila blocking the doorway, then at Zane crouching by the bed, my tone sharp. Zane, keep your voice down, and Lila, take your brother and get out of here. Stop getting in the way. My mom wasn't happy when she heard me scolding her precious grandson. Before she could even get angry, Zane suddenly stood up, his eyes blazing with fury. A married daughter is like spilled water, gone for good. How dare you throw your weight around in our house, and you have the nerve to order me around. My sister-in-law finally caught her breath, pointed at her son, and shouted with all her might, Zane, get out of here. Zane stared at his mother in disbelief. She never dared to speak a harsh word to this boy before. Now with a more promising child in her womb, she even scolds her own cherished son. After all, an ordinary boy can't compare to a dragon prince. Zane shoved past me and ran out with his face covered. Standing in the doorway, they yelled at me again. You must have spoken ill of me. I hate you. I'll never forgive you. Not in a million years. And don't you dare expect me to take care of you when you're old. Lila gave me a chilling glare, a faint, almost imperceptible smile playing on her lips, before she too turned and walked away. Looking at the chaotic mess our home had become, my mother let out a deep sigh and was just about to start scolding me, but my sister-in-law spoke up first. Mom, don't blame Coraline. This is what the little dragon in my belly wants. Then I recounted every detail of encountering the old Taoist priest while shopping that morning. My mother was completely stunned. It turned out she wasn't carrying an ordinary dragon child, but the promising son of the Dragon King. And the grandson she had doted on for nearly 11 years was actually a wicked flood dragon. Destined to harm the dragon child. Seeing my sister-in-law's pale face, my mother mustered up the courage to press on. Could there be some misunderstanding here? My sister-in-law wearily closed her eyes and turned away without another word. After a moment's thought, my mother raised her hand and slapped me hard across the face. Did you hire someone to deliberately frighten your sister-in-law, and you call yourself a graduate student? Stirring up trouble between a mother and her son over such a trivial matter. How can someone your age still hold a grudge against Zane? Don't you know that superstitious beliefs are unacceptable? How can you take a fortune teller's word seriously? Zane obediently returned, carefully holding a bowl of chicken soup. Following my mother's subtle glance, he spoke softly to his sister-in-law, trying to appease her. Mom, please don't let anger harm your health. Have some soup, if only for the sake of the little dragon baby brother in your belly. Hearing her beloved son coaxing her, a smile instantly spread across my sister-in-law's face, but as she turned and saw her son's face, a wave of nausea suddenly overwhelmed her. Her stomach churned violently, struggling to hold back. She rasped, get out now. Who said you could come in?" My mother handed the bowl to me. "Coraline, slowly feed your sister-in-law this chicken soup." Then he quickly led Zane out of the room. The moment they left, her sister-in-law's nausea vanished. "Coraline, do you think the old monk's words are coming true?" I gently blew on the spoonful of chicken soup before bringing it to my sister-in-law's lips. She took a small sip and continued, "The moment they left, my little dragon stopped fussing. Those two children must have frightened my precious dragon baby. Nothing can go wrong with this little dragon I'm carrying. It took my brother and sister-in-law 3 years of marriage before they finally had Lila and Zane. My mother blames my sister-in-law for missing the year of the dragon and giving birth to twins at the start of the year of the snake. She kept insisting that my sister-in-law must have a promising dragon baby. I brushed aside the sweat-dampened hair from my sister-in-law's forehead and comforted her gently. "Don't worry, next time I'll ask the old Taoist what we should do. She's superstitious, but my mother is even more so. When I tried reasoning with them scientifically, the whole family thought I had ulterior motives. Might as well let superstition teach them a lesson." After my sister-in-law fell asleep, my mother pulled me aside with this mysterious air. "Coraline, you're a graduate student. You've seen the world. What do you think? Will your sister-in-law have a boy or a girl? I went to see that old Taoist priest just now. He insisted we must send Zane and the others away, but I knew exactly what she was going to say. Zane was the beloved grandson she'd raised with her own hands. Of course her heart ached at the thought of parting. The Dragon King's child could be a prince, or it could be a princess. If my sister-in-law is having a girl, even a dragon princess wouldn't compare to Zane with his little package. Mom, you need a hospital to check the baby's gender. I really can't tell just by looking." The moment I said that, my mother immediately let go of my hand, her expression turning disdainful. "All that education, and it's still useless." Then she took out her phone and said gently, "Son, I'd like to take your wife to check the baby's gender. What do you think?" Unsurprisingly, my brother immediately agreed to have the fetus's gender checked. My sister-in-law was drowsily awakened by my mother. Hearing that they wanted to take her for a gender check, she hesitated. "Mom, aren't we supposed to avoid checking the baby's gender? Whether it's a boy or girl, it's still a little dragon. That's the dragon lineage we're talking about. My sister-in-law has already terminated 2 rabbit-year pregnancies just to have this dragon baby. If she keeps having abortions, she might not be able to conceive again. You already have Zane as your grandson. Can't we just skip the gender check for this one? Worst case, we'll try for another dragon baby later this year. We're bound to welcome our little dragon prince eventually." My mother yanked my sister-in-law to her feet, leaving no room for discussion. "Coraline, you'll drive us there later. If she needs an abortion, she'll require someone to look after her. In my previous life, I couldn't stand up to my mother, so I had no choice but to go with the two of them. After winding through countless turns, we arrived at a small clinic in the suburbs. Several times I wanted to speak up and stop them, but my mom kept cutting me off with a look. Even though they eventually found out it was a boy, my sister-in-law still got sick from a bacterial infection due to the clinic's filth and unsanitary conditions. Yet my brother blamed the whole thing on me. I was even made to pay for all my sister-in-law's prenatal and postnatal supplements. Under the guise of atonement, I wasn't about to get ripped off again. I quickly pulled up my laptop, giving them an apologetic look. "Mom, my boss just sent over an urgent file. I can't say no, or I'll get fired. Let me book you a premium car service. It'll be a comfortable ride, and I'll cover the 200 yuan fare." Hearing that, my mom's expression finally softened. I grabbed my sister-in-law and headed out the door. It was well past midnight when my mom and the others finally sauntered back in. "Mom, how did the investigation go?" My brother slumped on the couch reeking of alcohol, lighting a cigarette as he prepared to fill the room with smoke. A figure darted in from the doorway and snuffed out the freshly lit flame. "Still smoking at home? Your wife is carrying a little dragon prince." After all that commotion, my sister-in-law vomited twice the moment she stepped inside. She lifted her pale face and smiled at my brother. "I didn't embarrass your family, hearing the commotion in the living room, Zayn climbed out of bed, rubbed his eyes, and looked at my mom. "Grandma, why are you all being so loud? You woke me up." Just then, my sister-in-law's stomach started churning again, and she threw up into the trash can. Seeing how miserable my sister-in-law looked, my mother frowned and gently patted my sister-in-law's back. "If you don't want to sleep, get out. Stop making a scene here." With that, my brother shoved Zayn into the room and slammed the door shut. My sister-in-law wiped her mouth with a tissue, hesitated for a long moment, then finally spoke slowly. "Mom, what if we send Zayn to stay in the countryside for a couple of months first?" "I agree, we should send the little rascal away. Look how he's upset my wife. If this stress affects the precious air she's carrying, our whole family will be ruined because of him." I knew Zayn was a clever little devil who was probably eavesdropping right now, so I pretended to feel sorry for the siblings while actually pouring fuel on the fire. "Mom, Zayn is your own grandson. How could you bear to send him away? Even I, as his aunt, can't stand the thought." My mother glanced at my sister-in-law's swollen belly and composed herself. "For the sake of the dragon baby, Zayn has to go. Tomorrow I'll—" Just then, Zayn burst out, pointing viciously at his sister-in-law's belly and shouting, "You're sending me off to the countryside because of that bastard in her belly. Don't expect me to take care of you in your old age." Seeing my brother raise his hand to slap Zayn, I quickly stepped in to stop him. "Bro, Zayn's just being childish. Why stoop to his level? Since Zayn and Lila are twins, our Zayn totally counts as a little dragon too." Zayn, shielded behind me, froze in disbelief, as if a surge of energy had awakened within him. He mustered his courage and stepped out from behind me. "Exactly. I'm the true dragon heir, the crown prince of dragons. That bastard doesn't deserve to be in the same league." My sister-in-law gripped my mother's sleeve tightly, breathing heavily with rage at Zayn. Watching her distress, my mother couldn't help murmuring, "The Taoist master was right. He truly is a vicious serpent dragon. This will definitely harm our little dragon." The next day, my mother summoned an elderly aunt from the countryside to take Lila and Zayn away. Lila obediently packed her belongings and followed the adults without a single tear or complaint. With red-rimmed eyes, Zayn packed his secret savings and treasured possessions, staring wordlessly at my mother. Just when everyone thought they could send them off without a hitch, Zayn suddenly charged at his sister-in-law. "I'll kill you, you bastard. This is all your fault. If it weren't for you, my grandma and dad would never have sent me away." In his past life, Zayn hadn't caused such a scene, nor did he dare to make such a fuss. After all, he knew my mom had always wanted a dragon baby, and he was born in the year of the snake. This time, I gave him a lever, and he nearly managed to lift the whole world with it, even with the sofa cushioning the fall. My sister-in-law's face was still quite pale. My brother slapped Zayn across the face, then picked him up and headed for the door. Zayn clung desperately to the doorframe, refusing to leave as he strained forward. "As long as I'm alive, that bastard won't know a moment's peace." My mother took a deep breath and slammed the door shut. Zayn's wailing cries echoed from outside, then fell into complete silence. I gently opened the door and saw Zayn with bloodied hands, passed out in my brother's arms. "Bro, don't forget to tend to Zayn's wounds." My brother turned and walked away without a word. Lila watched everything unfold calmly before quietly following after my brother. As the director of this farce, she must be quite pleased with Zayn's performance, yet she's clearly unhappy with how things have turned out, so she couldn't help shooting me a glare over her shoulder. My brother was supposed to take my sister-in-law back to her parents' house. She was supposed to go back the day before yesterday, but after Zayn bumped into her, my sister-in-law had to rest at home a bit longer. But as soon as she opened the door, she saw a grimy Zayn and Lila. "Mom, I'm so hungry." Ever since he knocked her over, my sister-in-law has been on edge. The moment she laid eyes on Zayn, she fainted on the spot. My mother's heart broke at the sight of her grandson's 10 injured fingers, and she immediately burst into tears while holding Zayn, as if she'd forgotten she was the one who caused his injuries in the first place. She was busy changing his clothes one moment and preparing his meal the next. Zayn beamed with pride, and Lila lowered her head with a faint smile. My sister-in-law had been lying in bed for 3 or 4 hours without regaining consciousness. That's when my mom started worrying about the little dragon growing in her womb. She told my brother to hurry up and send the siblings back to the countryside. Seeing my sister-in-law's pale lips, my brother put down his cigarette and said, "We should take her to the hospital first. I'll deal with Zayn and the others when I get back." My mother quickly stepped in front of my sister-in-law. "Hospitals are full of germs. It's even less safe there. Besides, our little dragon baby is blessed and will definitely keep your wife safe. The important thing is to get that jinxed Zayn and Lila out of here quickly." My brother couldn't argue with her, so he had no choice but to drive them away. By the time he got back from the countryside, my sister-in-law was burning up with a terrifying fever. My brother flew into a rage and started yelling at me, "What's wrong with you? Don't you know you're supposed to take someone to the hospital when they're sick? Mom doesn't know any better, but you're going along with it. A high fever can cause serious damage, especially since your sister-in-law is pregnant with our little dragon baby." Then, he looked over at our mom, who was brewing some talisman water, and said with resignation, "Superstitious beliefs won't help. You need to see a doctor instead of messing around with this nonsense." Ever since my mom became convinced that Zane was some kind of evil serpent spirit, that old Taoist master went from being just another practitioner to an exalted sage in her eyes, my mother lifted her chin with clear disapproval on her face. "The great sage's talismans are priceless treasures, a mere fever, just drink one bowl of this blessed water and you'll be perfectly fine, with no evil dragon causing trouble. Our little dragon baby is sure to grow up strong and healthy." Then he pried open my sister-in-law's mouth by force and poured the talisman water down her throat. By the time they finished all this nonsense, her fever had already spiked to 40 degrees Celsius. It wasn't until my brother said that if the fever continued, the baby would become brain damaged. My mother then hastily agreed to let us take my sister-in-law to the street clinic. The place was less crowded and cleaner. The door was answered by an elderly woman wearing an apron. Frowning at us, she said, "What brings you here so late at night?" My mother quickly stepped forward, handing over a red envelope and a few talisman papers. "Aunt Fen, my daughter-in-law has a fever. Women these days are so delicate. Even a bowl of talisman water didn't help. We had no choice but to trouble your Eldon." The woman glanced around, swiftly pocketed the red envelope, and let us inside. Even after finishing the course of anti-inflammatory medication, my sister-in-law's fever still hadn't broken. Just as Eldon sighed and considered administering stronger medication, my sister-in-law opened her eyes. "Coraline, please take me to the hospital." My mother had just come back from snacking on sunflower seeds in the backyard, her cheerful expression still lingering, when she overheard my sister-in-law's request to go to the hospital. Big hospitals are just out to squeeze every penny from hardworking folks. A couple pills from Eldon would have done the trick. You don't know the cost of living until you're the one putting food on the table. But in my past life, even when my nephew Longbow just nicked himself trimming his nails, my mom and sister-in-law would insist I take him to a major hospital, booking specialist appointments, paying for overpriced medication. It all came out of my pocket, all because I disrupted his lucky streak. This time, I nodded in agreement with what my mother had said, but my sister-in-law grabbed my sleeve and pleaded once more. "It's what Long Bao wants." I steeled my heart and remained silent. "If I suggest going to the hospital, this family will dump all the expenses on me again." Unable to bear my sister-in-law's gaze any longer, I looked up and asked my mother for her opinion. "Mom, what do you think?" My mother turned her head away, clearly fuming. After smoking 5 cigarettes in a row, my brother still decided to stay at the small clinic. A few fever-reducing pills later, my sister-in-law's temperature returned to normal. My mother looked at her triumphantly. "See, I told you we didn't need to go to a big hospital. Just think of all the money we saved." Honestly, the cost of that single talisman could cover several doctor's visits for my sister-in-law, but how could I meddle with someone else's destiny? After these incidents, my mother no longer sees Zane through the rose-tinted glasses of a doting grandmother. She now views him as nothing but a malicious sea serpent. Zane had completely lost hope of returning. He wasn't even allowed to make a single phone call back home. Keep the siblings settled quietly in the countryside. They would eat, live, and work alongside the other villagers. 2 weeks later, I sent all the belongings Lila and Zane had left at home back to the village. They were covered in dirt from head to toe. When they saw me, their usual arrogance was gone, and they even tried to cozy up to me. "Auntie, can we still go with you to study in the city? The village is so boring. No phones, no tablets. I haven't played any games in ages." They didn't get to choose the family they were born into. If those siblings hadn't been so ungrateful, I wouldn't have washed my hands of them. Seeing Lila especially always reminds me of my own younger self, when I felt just as unwanted, so I pulled some strings to get her into a top-tier municipal middle school. I gave her the best of everything: food, clothes, daily necessities, trying to make up for the parental love she never had. But after I died, she knelt before my portrait and uttered just one phrase: "You brought it on yourself." She even talked Zane into flushing my ashes down the drain, and Zane never had any interest in studying to begin with. He sees the quality education I worked so hard to provide as nothing but a burden, and pushing him to study only makes it worse. Looking at the siblings who probably hadn't eaten for days, I smiled wryly. "Zane, you know how little say I have in this family. There's nothing I can change. Just stay here with your sister for now." Ever since Zane stopped bothering her, my sister-in-law's appetite has been growing by the day. She'd devour lavish meals and still pack away 2 extra bowls of rice. In my previous life, I advised her to eat smaller, more frequent meals. I also emphasized balanced nutrition, mixing whole grains, proteins, vegetables, and fruits, while keeping the flavors light. Every day after work, I'd come home and prepare nourishing soups for her. An oversized fetus can complicate natural delivery, potentially requiring a C-section, and I knew my mother would never agree to a C-section. That's why I paid such close attention to my sister-in-law's diet, worried she might face complications during childbirth. I was also worried that the baby dragon might not develop properly, yet she kept complaining to my mom every day, saying I was stingy for only feeding her greens and never letting her have any meat. Every meal was so bland and Tasteless, it was like I was deliberately trying to starve the baby dragon. Even after my dragon nephew was born, my sister-in-law would still often tell him, "Your aunt is a cruel woman. Not only did she ruin your good fortune, but she also often starved you. When you grow up, you must teach her a proper lesson." So how could I possibly refuse my sister-in-law's request now? I not only prepare high-calorie meals for her every day, but also make them heavy on oil and spice. Her belly is noticeably larger than others at the same stage of pregnancy. The baby's movements vary, sometimes more active, sometimes quieter. My mom kept cheerfully saying it's because our little dragon is healthy, lively, and blessed with good fortune. A good appetite is a blessing in itself. Being active is a sign of good fortune, but whether the baby would be born safely depended entirely on the little dragon's fortune. One night, my sister-in-law was gnawing on the large marrow bone I had bought for her. Suddenly, her water broke. Unlike other expectant mothers, there was no panic in her eyes. Instead, a flicker of excitement. The long-awaited dragon prince is about to arrive. Hearing my shouts, my mom and brother scrambled out of their beds. They circled around my sister-in-law, frantic with worry. "Why isn't the ambulance here yet? If they dare delay my little dragon's arrival, I'll make them pay for it." Actually, we live just 10 minutes away from the hospital by car. My sister-in-law's condition isn't that critical, and driving ourselves would actually be safer, but my mom insisted that only a full-blown ambulance escort was worthy of the little dragon prince's grand entrance, so my brother deliberately made it sound extremely urgent on the phone, as if it were a life-or-death situation for both mother and baby at any second. 25 minutes later, my mom saw the ambulance entering our residential complex from the balcony. I had just finished packing my hospital bag when the doctors came in. The two paramedics carrying the stretcher looked around and asked, "Where's the mother-to-be?" My sister-in-law rose from the chair and walked over slowly. "I'm right here." The doctor frowned and glanced over. "Lie down on the exam table." Seeing that my sister-in-law was still conscious, the neighbor standing nearby couldn't help but speak up. "What's the emergency? You could have driven there faster than an ambulance." My mom's temper flared at that remark, and she shouted at the top of her lungs, "My daughter-in-law is carrying a blessed child." The other person smirked, which only made my mom double down. "This is the Dragon Prince. Soon I'll be the Dragon Prince's grandmother, so don't come crawling to me for favors then." My sister-in-law lay in the hospital bed. Wave after wave of contractions left her with little energy to keep eating heartily. The pregnant woman in the next bed kept crying out, making it impossible for her to sleep. My sister-in-law looked at me with pleading eyes. She wanted me to help her upgrade to the VIP delivery room. I gazed out the window, unmoved. The doctor assessed my sister-in-law's condition and said, "The mother is doing well and should be ready to go into the delivery room in about half an hour." My sister-in-law looked at my brother with a beaming smile, but my mother frowned. "The fortune teller said the most auspicious time is 2.5 hours from now. If you deliver early, it'll ruin the good fortune of my precious dragon grandson." My brother nodded thoughtfully and shot my sister-in-law a disapproving look. "How disappointing. Just endure it a while longer, only another hour and a half." Though I knew that artificially delaying childbirth would cause irreversible harm to both the fetus and the mother, but the memory of being burned alive in my previous life haunted me. I know all too well the steep price one pays for staying sober, so I kept my mouth shut. Just then, my mother pulled a pill from her pocket. "I knew you wouldn't have the willpower. Good thing I came prepared." Driven by his last shred of conscience, my brother stopped my mother's hand. "Mom, the risk is too high. Maybe she should just take half a pill." In less than 2 hours, my sister-in-law started hemorrhaging heavily. The doctors rushed her straight into the emergency room. My mother lowered her head and cursed, "You're completely useless." Then she cowed out several times toward a certain direction. "Please bless my little dragon baby to be born in an auspicious hour. Bless my little dragon baby. The mother-to-be needs a C-section. Who can sign the consent form?" When my brother reached out his hand, my mother slapped him hard across the face. "Every woman giving birth has one foot in the grave. Your wife is just being dramatic. If she pushes through, she can definitely deliver naturally." As the standoff continued, Lila showed up again with Zane in tow. "Grandma, please save my mom." It seems these past difficult days have taught him to swallow his pride and made him realize the importance of having someone to rely on. "I can't live without my mom, Grandma. I just can't live without my mom." Just then, another doctor approached with a look of weary familiarity. "Ma'am, I understand how you feel, but right now it's your daughter-in-law's unborn baby who's in danger. A C-section is also." My mother froze when she heard the baby was in danger. She immediately shoved my brother toward the signing desk. "Did you hear that? Sign it now. If you dare hold up the doctors, you'll have me to answer to." Then she turned to the doctor, her eyes filled with desperate plea. "Doctor, please, you have to save my grandson. He's a blessed dragon child. Saving him will bring you boundless merit. You must save him." My mother looked at Zane kneeling on the floor and couldn't resist giving him a kick. "Just as I thought. You're nothing but trouble. The moment you show up, my precious dragon grandson is in danger. I'll kick the life out of you, you jinx." Then she turned to Lila beside her with a venomous glare. "I bet this was your idea again, you worthless brat. You just can't stand seeing this family in peace for a single day, can you?" My mother suddenly remembered the unborn dragon baby. She quickly cowed out several more times in that direction. "Please keep my grandson safe. These two wretched creatures deserved what they got from me. Let any punishment fall on this old woman instead. Don't you dare harm my Evander. Yaozu is my brother, so his precious little dragon. Evander is naturally my nephew." Over an hour later, my sister-in-law was wheeled out of the delivery room, pale-faced. She looked at my mom and asked, "Did I make it in time?" My mom beamed with joy as she gazed at the newborn baby. She saw her sister-in-law looking utterly exhausted and displeased. "What have you ever accomplished? First it was too early, now it's too late. Having a mother like you is the greatest misfortune for our little dragon baby, even after giving you that miracle medicine, you're still so incompetent. Thank goodness our Evander is a lucky charm, otherwise." Her sister-in-law's heart was filled with resentment. The moment she saw that sister and brother, all her pent-up frustration instantly erupted. "Zane, Lila, who gave you permission to come here? You two jinxes. Are you really so determined to be the death of me? You're driving me to my grave." The vicious curses instantly wiped away any joy the siblings had felt at seeing their mother. They left the hospital room without saying a word. As Zane left, he shot his sister-in-law a glare filled with nothing but pure hatred. My mother said hospitals are unclean, so she took baby Evander home before my sister-in-law could even get out of bed. The other expectant mothers in the ward were all surrounded by their families, but this time, I was the only one by my sister-in-law's side. She looked up at me with tears in her eyes and asked helplessly, "Did I do something wrong?" I handed over an apple that Lila had just finished peeling. "You and the dragon baby share the same life force. How could you possibly be wrong?" My sister-in-law let out a sigh. "You're right. How could I ever be mistaken? The real mistake would be letting you escape the full force of our children's burning hatred." "Sister-in-law, you sowed this bitterness. Now it's time to taste the harvest. In my past life, I spared no expense hiring two highly experienced postpartum caregivers. One attended to Evander, the other looked after her, with comprehensive care. My sister-in-law recovered quickly, yet she took it for granted, seeing herself as the family's hero, the mother of our little dragon heir. All my efforts were merely to bask in the glory of the precious dragon child, but for the past few weeks, everyone's attention has been on Evander, leaving her without proper postpartum care. She wasn't eating or sleeping well. Looking pale and gaunt with dark circles under her eyes, my sister-in-law drifted out of the room. Barely settling on the sofa, my mother spoke up. "Evander needs to nurse. Take him back to the room." My sister-in-law rose numbly, as if something had crossed her mind. Her eyes finally showed a glimmer of hope. "Coraline, I really don't have enough milk. Could you see what supplements help with lactation and buy some for me? Otherwise, Evander cries from hunger all night long. Doesn't that break your heart to see?" My mother looked at the chubby baby, weighing around 11 or 12 pounds, in her arms and murmured, "No wonder Evander seems thinner." Seizing the moment, my sister-in-law added, "We should also hire a postpartum doula. She could even start Evander's early education. Our little dragon heir deserves only the best. Actually, we should hire two." Seeing my mother didn't object, she continued cheerfully with her demands. "Coraline, Evander is almost a month old. We should get him a gold lock pendant, silver bracelets, and all that sorted out, right? And as his aunt, it wouldn't be too much for you to give a generous red envelope. Also, I heard you need to book early education classes for after he turns 1. We can't skimp on that 80,000 to 90,000 yuan. I could see my sister-in-law was about to go on and on. I couldn't help interrupting her. "Sis, it's not that I'm stingy with money, but all these things will affect Evander's blessings. Milk produced through artificial means is already tainted. It can't compare to what's natural. How could you, as his mother, not know this?" My sister-in-law just wouldn't give up. "Surely we need to buy a few more of those gold talismans to ward off evil spirits." My mom shoved Evander into my sister-in-law's arms with a look of disdain. "Ward off evil spirits? Our Evander is blessed with good fortune himself. The spiritual master said he shouldn't be adorned with gold and silver. What might be good for others isn't necessarily good for Evander. If you ask me, I think it's you who wants those trinkets." My sister-in-law struggled to hold Evander in her arms, her face etched with exhaustion. "And hiring a nanny is out of the question. We shouldn't let outsiders benefit from family blessings. What if Evander's good fortune gets diluted? If you can't handle it, let Coraline take care of him." A glimmer of hope reignited in my sister-in-law's eyes. I extinguished it the very next second. "Mom, I'll be married off sooner or later. Why should I bring our family's blessings to my in-laws? They don't deserve to benefit from Evander's good fortune." My mother nodded in agreement. "Coraline, you've finally come to your senses." My sister-in-law kept complaining that she had no one to help with the children. My brother had no choice but to bring Zane and Lila back home. Zane thought his parents had finally come around, and he was ready to enjoy the good life back home. But then he saw that his room had been turned into a nursery. My room. What happened? Where are my Ultraman figures? Where's my game console? This time he didn't lash out at anyone in the family, not Even me, he just sank into despair and crouched on the floor. Grandma, maybe I shouldn't have come back. I should step aside for my little brother. When he grows up, he'll take good care of you too. I'd better go back to the countryside so I won't be a burden. My mother had never seen this little troublemaker play the victim before. My heart instantly melted. She walked over and hugged Zane, then looked up at me and said, Coraline, could you pay for a bigger rental? We need at least 4 or 5 bedrooms. I want to treat all my grandchildren equally. It breaks my heart if I can't. Seeing that I remained silent, she choked up a little and continued, just think of it as a loan from your mom. I've heard this line at least 50 times whenever my brother needs anything, from major purchases like houses and cars down to everyday expenses like drinking and smoking. My mother always asks me for money, calling it a loan but never mentioning it again. As her child, how could I possibly demand repayment from my own mother? The money might as well have gone directly to my brother this time. However, I shook my head. Mom, don't take this the wrong way. Evander is blessed with good fortune. He was born and raised in this house. Would moving out affect his blessings? Besides, how safe is a rental? Could there be negative energy? This place may be small, but it gives us peace of mind, and when siblings live together, we can share in each other's good fortune. Hearing about the foul air outside, my mom hastily pulled a spray bottle from her pocket and sprinkled blessed water on Zane. I almost forgot. You just came from outside too. Who knows what unclean things you might be carrying. Get out now, before you contaminate the air in Evander's room. My sister-in-law shouted at that moment. Lila, come quick. Evander's getting sleepy. You need to put him to bed. My mom hurried after her, sprinkling holy water on Lila. Only Zane and I were left standing there. He looked at me, baffled. Auntie, why are you being so stingy all of a sudden? Renting an apartment only costs 5 or 6,000, but that model airplane you bought me last time was over 8,000. I know you have the money. Are you just sick of me? I gave a wry smile. I quit my job to take care of Evander. Auntie, you're so selfish. If you have no money, then what about me? Is Evander really worth quitting your job for? What kind of blessing could he possibly bring? Grandma's lost her mind, and now you have 2. For all we know, Evander might just be simple-minded. If not for this second chance, I might never have seen this family for what they truly are, a bunch of blood-sucking leeches. I'd still be drowning in obligations and responsibilities that were never mine to bear. But since fate has handed me this chance to settle the score, I'm going to destroy these demons. Then I'll take the money and start a new life in the city I've always dreamed of. When my mom heard Zane's nonsense, she immediately threw the spray bottle at him. You're beyond redemption. So vicious. I knew Zane was just telling the truth. During her pregnancy, my sister-in-law didn't receive timely treatment when she fell ill, and her diet was greasy and lacked nutrition. Evander's development is noticeably delayed. A difficult birth caused temporary oxygen deprivation, resulting in permanent hearing loss in one ear. In his previous life, following my advice, though born premature and physically frail, he excelled beyond his peers in all other measures, yet he blames me for interfering with his fortune and manipulating his destiny. Then let him resign to his fate and be a fool. Evander looked utterly vacant, without a shred of quick-wittedness. My mother was pacing anxiously. What's going on? Our Evander must be kept safe. Can his brother's ears be transplanted to him? My sister-in-law looked timidly at my mother and said, then let Zane stay at home to be Evander's ears from now on. Zane said through gritted teeth, my sister and I are going to the provincial capital with our aunt to study. He looked at me with pleading eyes, hoping I'd lend him a helping hand. Unfortunately, access to quality education was never in the cards for him. Don't worry, Mom. Evander is blessed with great fortune. Not only will he keep his life but also his ear. Who knows, maybe one day that deaf ear will even heal. If Zane Lila stays here for school, they can help out more at home after classes. My mom was just about to take Evander to the hospital, but she stopped in her tracks after hearing what I said. Coraline, you're the educated one. I almost wasted my money there. My sister-in-law gave an awkward smile and said, then let's just allow Zane to continue his studies. Zane, who had just narrowly escaped trouble, suddenly looked up at me with gratitude in his eyes. But the look in his eyes as he watched Evander grew increasingly venomous. The seeds have been sown, and I'm waiting to see how this plays out. Thanks to my brainwashing, they became convinced that Evander was blessed with both good fortune and the aura of a true dragon. Fearing I might steal a share of this perceived luck, my family changed the locks overnight and even went so far as to remove me from the family register. I took the money originally meant for buying a bigger family home and moved to the city I'd dreamed of since graduation. There I bought a small seaside apartment, free from my ungrateful family. I'm finally enjoying the quality of life I deserved all along. The next time I heard about Evander was when he got hospitalized with burns from Lila. Coraline, could you lend us 100,000 yuan? We're going through some financial difficulties at home. I was wrong about all those things before. Can you find it in your heart to forgive me? Please transfer your household registration back now. We really need. My mother's voice was pleading, and she started crying before she could even finish her sentence. In The background, I could hear my brother scolding his wife. What kind of parenting is this? A child so young stealing money, and $50,000 at that. If Evander hadn't gotten hurt this time, how long were you planning to keep this from me? I couldn't help but let out a cold snort. Zane stole 50,000, and my mother immediately turned around and demanded 100,000 from me. Mom, I'm struggling too. After losing Evander's support, I got laid off from the company and now have no income at all. There must be some misunderstanding between you and Zane. He would never steal money. My sister-in-law clung to this like a lifeline, exclaiming, "It has to be a misunderstanding. Zane lends money and collects interest. Last time I gave him 100, I made 50 back, then with 5,000, I earned 3,000, and with 10,000, I even got 7,500. Maybe he's out making money again. Otherwise, where would he get the spare cash to scam me?" The model airplane I gave him before the new year flashed through my mind. Selling it secondhand would fetch at least 7 or 8,000. You're right, bro. Sis-in-law hit the nail on the head. Zane's riding on Evander's good fortune. A few grand is nothing to him. No need to rush looking for him. At least let the brat finish spending the money. There was a brief silence on the other end before my mother seized the opportunity to start complaining again. Coraline, my dear daughter, when you got scalded as a child, you didn't shed a single tear. Now Evander is in so much pain. He's passed out. How could you possibly rest easy without him staying in the hospital for a few days? I closed my eyes, fighting the overwhelming urge to throw my phone. When I was scalded by boiling water as a child, my mother just sprinkled some plant ash on my arm and then hurried me to keep washing the dishes. You never showed me a mother's love, and now you're trying to guilt-trip me, as if things could ever be that convenient. My voice cracked with emotion. How would I have any money? Isn't it all with my brother? You always said raising me wasn't easy, that I should support the family once I started earning. Now that I'm broke, could my brother and sister-in-law help me out for a change? The howling sea breeze in my ears, yet they mistook it for the echo of living in a tunnel. My mom was so startled she hung up the phone right away, afraid that their poor daughter would become a burden to them. I returned to my hometown again to attend my best friend's wedding. She knew my situation and booked the hotel for me right away, but I never expected to see a familiar face in the hotel lobby. Coraline, what are you doing back? My brother stood before me reeking of alcohol, still holding the unfinished pack of cigarettes. When I remained silent, he continued unprompted, "As Lila's aunt, you really should attend her family recognition banquet. Just remember to bring a generous red envelope." Before I could ask why, I saw Lila running toward me, her eyes swollen from crying. "Auntie, please help me. Zane is dead, and we can't find that 50,000. They're selling me off as a child bride for money. You're rich, aren't you? Could you pay them off and take me home? Let me be your daughter." Pitiful souls often have despicable traits. I'll never forget what she said while watching my ashes get washed away by the water. "Aunt, why should you have everything I can't? You deserve to be trapped in this family just like me, with no way out forever." She grabbed the hem of my pants and cowed heavily. "Didn't you say girls should get more education? Take me to the city to study. I'm not asking for much. Just for college. I don't need new clothes either. Just 4 or 5 outfits to change into. I'll return the diamond ring I stole from you last time. Auntie, please save me." My brother grew increasingly flustered as more people gathered around, and in a panic, he slapped her across the face. "Stop talking nonsense. There's no such thing as a child bride. Your birth parents have come for you. Your aunt died long ago. She's just a stranger. How could she possibly take you away?" Lila's eyes were locked on me as my brother dragged her away. The fire in her heart didn't die down until I had completely vanished from her sight. Ungrateful people never see their demands as unreasonable. A college education is enough. I paid for my own high school tuition by working part-time during holidays. On the wedding day, I caught the bouquet. My best friend hugged me and said, "Coraline, your life will only get better from here." I wiped away my tears and nodded. As the wedding procession passed by my house, I happened to see thick smoke billowing out. Flames were visible through the familiar window. In this lifetime, Lila didn't incite anyone to set the fire. She tore off her mask and revealed her ugliest self. "You owe me this. If I'm going down, I'm taking everyone with me." My brother and his wife scrambled to gather the valuables in the room, only to be killed by their own greed. My mother desperately shielded Evander, but he ripped away the wet towel she was using to cover her nose and mouth. As her consciousness faded, she managed to whisper one last thing. "The old Taoist was right. Lila truly is a vicious dragon." When the police called, that's when it truly hit me. Lila had successfully taken that wretched family with her. A single tear traced its way down from the corner of her eye. It's the guilt I feel towards my past self, and the joy of a fresh start. The end. Story 2. I was reborn 30 hours before the arrival of the zombies. In my previous life, I was pushed out of the door by my mother-in-law, husband, and best friend. A group of zombies outside the door tore and bit me. The pain was excruciating, and I died a tragic death. I slapped myself and found that it was really not a dream. 1:12:00. I was sitting on the chair in the office. Looking at the time, I suddenly remembered something and immediately turned on the home Surveillance. Through the surveillance at the door of my house, I saw the figure of my best friend. No, there were two other people behind her. They were my husband and mother-in-law. They looked more like a family. Were they already this bold? Wasn't my husband, Michael, afraid that I would turn on the surveillance at this moment and see the scene? The words transmitted from the surveillance made me realize why they were so bold. My mother-in-law, Daphne, touched my best friend Alba's belly with a loving look and said, "Alba is so amazing. The doctor said to prepare some pants and such. Isn't that a sign of a boy?" Michael also smiled sweetly and said, "Of course, look who my wife is." There was pride in his tone. I had only seen such a sweet expression on him when we got married. Since learning that I had difficulty getting pregnant, the mother-son duo's attitude towards me had become visibly colder day by day. "Hey, I'm not your wife. You have another wife," Alba said in a sarcastic tone. It's hard to imagine that this was the same person who had just complained about the boss with me in the morning. We had hit it off as soon as we met in the company 3 years ago. The sunny and cheerful Alba was completely different from the sarcastic one at present. She almost came to my house for dinner every weekend, and I also told her a lot of my innermost thoughts, such as my infertility problem and the cold attitude of my husband and mother-in-law. Alba also said she would help me find a doctor. Now it seems that finding a doctor was just a pretext, and the real intention was to get my husband. Hearing Alba's dissatisfied words, my mother-in-law, Daphne, immediately stepped forward with a fawning face, slapped Michael on the back, and frowned, saying, "I've long said that you should divorce that hen that can't lay eggs quickly. You've been procrastinating. Tonight, tell her about the divorce, so that we can marry Alba into the family as soon as possible and she can give me a big fat grandson." As she spoke, my mother-in-law, like a chameleon, touched Alba's belly with a happy look. People who know would think there's a grandson in that belly. Those who don't know might think that's her father. I couldn't help but sneer. "Mom, the project payment will be transferred to the Opal card this afternoon. After I go to the bank to transfer the money tomorrow, I'll tell her about the divorce." Michael was a poor guy. Although he had an education and was cultured, he suffered from his poor family background. At that time, my dad provided his start-up capital. To show his loyalty to me, he transferred all the money he earned to my account. Yes, everything made sense. In my previous life, after a day of work, I went home happily. My mother-in-law, Daphne, didn't even give me a friendly look. In the bedroom at night, I complained to Michael, saying, "Why is your mom treating me coldly again?" Michael was really good at acting. He put his arm around me and said that his mom was in menopause and asked me to transfer the $2 million I received in the afternoon to him the next day. He said he wanted to invest in a project. I nodded like a pecking chicken and snuggled in Michael's arms and said coquettishly, "Honey, are you going to make a fortune for our family again?" Now, thinking about it, I really want to slap myself twice. This wasn't about making a fortune. This was about digging a big pit for me, and I really jumped into it. Early the next morning, I transferred the money to Michael. At noon, I received the news of Michael's divorce. I frantically called Michael. At first, the call went through, but later his phone was simply turned off. I picked up my bag and ran home. There was no one there. I returned to the company in a daze. Just when I didn't know what to do, I met Alba. She asked me what was wrong. I burst into tears and told her everything. She comforted me gently. I trusted her so much that I almost told her the password of my bank card on the spot. It was simply a question and answer session. Alba told me not to worry and to finish work first. She said that a woman should have her own career and not lose her job over a trifle. I nodded and returned to my office. I spent the afternoon in agony, looking forward to going home at night to ask Michael for clarification, but I found that I couldn't even enter my own home. The door lock had been changed. "Alba, I really believed you. Losing my big penthouse over a trifle. I was such a big loser." At this moment, I deeply experienced the feeling of losing a big penthouse because of a mistress. So this was what it meant to lose a great deal through trying to save a little. Just as I was banging on the door crazily, Michael came out of the elevator with Alba in his arms. Seeing Alba, I was a bit confused. What made me even more confused was that the door opened automatically, and my mother-in-law came out from inside, wiggling her butt to welcome Alba. When Daphne passed by me, she gave me a fierce glare and said, "You this hen that can't lay eggs, my son has divorced you. Now my daughter-in-law is Alba. Why don't you just get lost from where you came from?" I looked at Alba. I just wanted to know if all this was true. This woman had clearly comforted me at noon. Alba pursed her lips and spoke. She looked at my mother-in-law and said, "Mom, don't talk about Opal like that. We are good friends, Opal. You should go back to your parents' home. You still have your parents. I only have Michael." As she spoke, Alba looked at Michael affectionately. Michael also held her hand. If people didn't know that Alba was the mistress, they might really think they were a perfect couple. At that time, I was really confused. According to Alba's words, not having parents had become an advantage. I was so angry that I raised my hand to hit Michael. That scumbag, he pushed me away. I have to say, there's a big difference in strength between men and women, no matter How skinny Michael was. He was still a 30-year-old man full of vigor. "You this poisonous woman. How dare you hit my son?" "Humph. When we had lunch with Alba at home yesterday noon, I said this woman was no good. Alba even pleaded for you. Our Alba is really beautiful and kind-hearted." While belittling me, she didn't forget to praise the mistress beautiful and kind-hearted. God knows how good this woman was at pretending. I saw that there was no chance of winning in a fight against these three people alone. I planned to go back to my parents' home to ask my parents to solve the problem. Just as I pressed the elevator button, I heard wails in the community. All kinds of unknown roars and human voices were mixed together. The sound was very terrifying. I looked down through the window in the corridor and saw an older sister being cut up by 3 zombies. Her neck was bitten off, and blood splashed 3 feet. I was so scared that I screamed, because what was even more terrifying was that zombies were surging from all directions and pouring into the corridor. I heard screams and footsteps in the corridor and quickly ran over to knock on the door of my house. Michael, let me in. Mom, please, open the door for me." I banged on the door crazily. "Stop banging. It's so noisy. What if you scare the baby in Alba's belly? You might as well just die outside." Hearing the footsteps getting closer inside the door, I thought that although my mother-in-law was cursing, she would always open the door for me. After all, I had been her daughter-in-law for 5 years. There should be some affection. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw the group of zombies climbing the stairs in the corridor. There was enough time. Once the door opened, I could get in a second, so I waited hopefully for the door to open. But what I heard was a click. The door was locked. "Mom, is the door locked? I'm so scared." The last words I heard were Alba's voice. When I felt the sense of oppression behind me, there was no way to retreat. I turned around, and a group of zombies walked towards me with ferocious expressions. I desperately patted the door, asking them to save me. I promised that I would divorce and leave the house with nothing, but I was still bitten by the zombies and dragged away. What was even more terrifying was that a group of zombies surrounded me. I felt the heart-rending pain and the dissipation of consciousness. If there's a next life, I want their family of 3 to taste this feeling too. Fear, helplessness, and despair. 30 hours countdown. Usually, I get off work at 5:30 and get home at about 6, so after calculating the time, I still have 30 hours until the zombies arrive tomorrow. Perhaps my hatred was too strong and my obsession was too deep. God let me be reborn 30 hours before the arrival of the zombies. It took me 5 minutes to sort out my thoughts about everything that had happened. Then I started to prepare for defense and counter-attack. I immediately went back to my parents' home. Alba was having dinner at my house at this time, so I planned to give up that home. My parents' family was wealthy. Their place was also a big penthouse. At that time, for my sake, my parents chose the building opposite my house. My dad, who was used to living in a villa, was a bit uncomfortable with the restraint of living in a flat, so he bought 2 floors and directly connected them. Now it seems that this is an advantage. There are 33 floors in the whole building. My dad bought the 20th and 21st floors. He said the feng shui was good, but now it seems that a high-rise floor can better prevent zombies. The small home of Michael and me was on the 5th floor. The lighting was not good because we had limited funds when we bought it, and my parents contributed more than half of the money actually. The poor lighting was a minor issue. The main problem was that zombies could climb up to it easily. For details, refer to my previous life. I called my dad and mom respectively and asked them to stay at home and not move. I had something important to announce. My parents had always doted on me. As soon as they heard that I had something important to say, my dad, who had planned to go out for a drink, immediately turned back halfway and obediently sat on a small bench at home. I rushed home like the wind. The moment I opened the door and saw my parents, I burst into tears. This was my biggest regret in my previous life. I rushed over and hugged my dad and mom tightly, making them at a loss. My dad even asked me, "Daughter, are you short of money?" This made me laugh and cry. Seeing how much my parents loved me, I became more determined to protect them and get through the difficulties together in this life. I looked at my parents and briefly described the coming of the zombies to them. I omitted the part about being reborn because my materialist parents would not believe this absurd rebirth. It was really absurd, but that's the truth. I looked at my parents and said, "Just now, my PhD friend in the United States said that a certain laboratory in the United States has developed a mutant virus. People who are infected will turn into zombies. What's even more terrifying is that this virus has already started to spread. It will probably spread and infect on a large scale at about 6 p.m. tomorrow, so we need to prepare enough supplies. Sorry, United States. Whether it's you or not, the atmosphere is here, so it has to be you." I looked at my parents, who had a doting look but seemed to be looking at a joke. "Daughter, has your dream of writing novels sprouted again? Are you looking for inspiration from me and your dad?" Hearing this, I knew it was hard for them to believe. I knelt down with a thud and started to brew tears, but just thinking about what had happened recently, I burst into tears and unconsciously, it became a stream. "Dad, Mom, please believe me this time. The time is really urgent." My parents looked at each other. My dad stood up and pulled me up, saying, "Daughter, tell us what to do. Your mom and I will listen to you." Hearing this, I felt much more at ease. With the help of my parents, at least I wasn't fighting alone. I looked at the time. An hour had passed. I rushed into the study and took a stack of paper. My parents and I had to write down daily necessities and the tools we needed, and then we would go shopping separately. Immediately, we started to make a list. I didn't know how long this zombie spread would last, so I uniformly purchased supplies for 1 year. First, food was a must. I bought 5 boxes of Tally bread because of its limited shelf life. For egg yolk pies, Swiss rolls, and sandwich bread, which have a slightly longer shelf life, I directly bought 10 boxes. These can fill the stomach and can also be eaten as snacks. Ham sausages have a long shelf life, so I bought 10 boxes. Self-heating hot pots, self-heating rice, and self-heating dishes are small in quantity and take up a lot of space, but they can be eaten when we can't cook later. I bought 50 boxes of different flavors. I bought 20 bags each of rice, millet, black rice, purple rice, high gluten flour, low gluten flour, and self-rising flour. I can bake and can use the oven to make cakes, or my mom can make big buns. I bought 20 barrels each of olive oil, corn oil, and peanut oil. Oil is a consumable item, but we probably won't often fry things anymore. It's too wasteful. For frozen dumplings, I bought 10 boxes each of the 8 most common fillings, including pork and scallion, corn and meat, leek, lotus root and meat, shepherd's purse and fresh meat, pork and celery, beef, and mutton. Each box contains 10 packs. For noodles, I bought 50 boxes of 20 bag packs of fine dried noodles, egg noodles, buckwheat noodles, instant noodles, river snail rice noodles, potato noodles, and sesame sauce noodles. Later, when we have flour, we can make hand-pulled noodles. There are also seasonings. I bought 50 boxes each of premium soy sauce, vinegar, oyster sauce, dark soy sauce, cooking wine, sweet bean sauce, soybean paste, fermented bean curd, chicken essence, salt, white sugar, brown sugar, honey, etc. For potatoes, onions, sweet potatoes, purple sweet potatoes, corn, etc., which can be stored for a long time. I bought 100 kg each. For fruits, I bought 5 boxes each of apples, pears, lemons, passion fruits, etc. Lemons can be dried and made into lemon water. Passion fruits can also be made into passion fruit cubes in the oven. Then, when the two things are soaked together with honey, they can also supplement vitamins. In addition, I also bought some seeds and plan to plant them on the balcony after tomorrow. The balcony is very large, and my dad also made an ecological box. For example, tomato seeds, pepper seeds, Shanghai greens, leeks, etc. If they grow, they can basically meet our food needs. For meat, I bought 10 large pieces each of pork, mutton, and beef, 20 chickens, and 20 fish. Later, they can only be frozen in the freezer. Even if they become zombie meat, there's no way. After all, many people won't be able to get enough to eat later. There are also some frozen chicken wings, chicken legs, pork sausages, and hot pot balls, which contain some additives and can be stored for a longer time. I bought 10 boxes each. That's all for the food category for now. Next, we listed cleaning supplies for shampoo, body wash, hand sanitizer, laundry detergent, disinfectant, soap, toothpaste, body lotion, moisturizer, etc., the most commonly used ones. I bought 20 boxes each. Each box contains 12 bottles, toothbrushes, towels, facial tissues, tissue paper, wet toilet paper, sanitary napkins, cleaning agents, and my dad's shaving water were all bought by the box, 50 boxes each. Next, some medicines need to be prepared. Lianhua Qingwen capsules, Sanjia Ganmaling granules, Gongkong tablets, ibuprofen tablets, etc. Prepare 5 boxes each of cold medicines, antipyretics, cough suppressants, painkillers, as well as stomach medicines, plasters, antidiarrheal medicines, and even Jianweixiashi tablets. Prepare a little less. After all, we don't want to use them. Also, a large amount of alcohol, iodine tincture, band-aids, gauze, etc. can be used for disinfection. Buy more of these. Buy dozens of large barrels of alcohol, and also buy 5 boxes each of the remaining items. Alcohol is very important and is a fast-consuming product. Anyway, I think if it's not enough later, I'll dilute my dad's white liquor. My dad has hidden quite a lot of white liquor, and next are clothes and quilts. Since there will be water and power outages later, it doesn't feel so bad now because it's summer, but it will be extremely cold in winter. We each need 20 sets of fleece-lined and thickened underwear, and each of us needs 10 thick down jackets. We already have a lot of cotton quilts at home. Just to be on the safe side, my mom bought another 10 large and thick quilts. After preparing the food and clothing, the next step is to prepare for the water and power outages. I plan to buy 1,000 large barrels of purified water first. When the water is still supplied in the early stage, we can fill our house with water. Later, if it snows in winter, we can collect the snow on the terrace and melt it to flush the toilet. For electricity, I plan to buy the largest capacity power banks, and also 5 household small generators. The human-powered generator can be used for exercise at that time. In addition, my dad will contact someone to install Solar panels. Although this can ensure basic electricity usage, we still need to buy some flashlights, candles, etc., just in case, having bought so many things, and it being summer now. Of course we need refrigerators. My mom has always liked to stock up on goods, and there is one freezer and one refrigerator on each floor. Now I plan to buy another 10 freezers and 10 refrigerators. Place 5 freezers and 5 refrigerators on each floor, with the basic supplies ready. The safety of our home also needs to be ensured. My dad connected the 2 floors at the storage room and installed a staircase, so it's very convenient to go up and down the stairs. Now there are 2 places that need to be reinforced, namely the front doors and windows of the 2 floors. My dad and I discussed installing 2 layers of windows. One layer is the original window, and the other layer is a bulletproof window. A thick steel wire mesh will be added between the 2 layers of windows on the inside of the window. On top of the original curtain, add another thick blackout curtain. If the situation is really bad, we can draw the curtains and pretend that no one is alive inside. As for the door, install 3 layers. 1 layer is the original big iron door, and install an explosion-proof door on the inside. Also install an iron fence door between the 2 layers of doors. My dad suddenly looked up and said, "Should we install an electric fence on the iron fence?" I was really stunned. I replied, "Experiences what counts?" So we happily adopted my dad's decision. Everything was arranged, and it took a total of 3 pieces of paper to write it all down. Each of the 3 of us is responsible for 1 piece of paper. My mom is responsible for food items, my dad is responsible for matters related to doors, windows, and generators, and the rest is up to me. My dad is in the construction industry, and this is his specialty. I believe he will only do an even better job. As for my mom, she owns supermarkets and has her own supply channels, so I don't have to worry about that at all. With the division of labor done, we started buying things right away. I looked up at my parents and said, "Mom and Dad, how much money do you have? Is it enough?" My dad hesitated for a moment and said, "I don't have much money left." My heart tightened. I was thinking that I only had 2 million yuan in my hand, and this was the project payment from Michael this afternoon. If my parents didn't have much money, would this amount be enough? Then my dad let out a long sigh and said, "I only have 6 million yuan of pocket money here. After all, your mom manages the money in our family." I was speechless for a moment, then I couldn't figure it out even more. Our family is well off. Although we're not extremely wealthy, we're at least comfortably off. Why did I marry Michael? I really regret it now. Thinking of Michael, I quickly told my parents, "One more thing, Michael has cheated on me, and the mistress is at our house." Now, my tone was calm. After all, I've lived a life before. In contrast, my dad flew into a rage and wanted to rush out and execute Michael on the spot. I grabbed my dad and said, "Don't worry, I won't let him off easily. After all, it's not certain whether he can survive or not." My dad was very pleased to hear my words and even sighed that it was great that I wasn't a naive and sweet girl. I had a black line on my face. Without saying anything more, I went to prepare the supplies. 3 countdown, 28 hours. At 2 p.m., it took me 1 hour to plan the supplies, then our family of 3 set off. During this time, I received several consecutive Instagram messages from Alba. "Opal, where are you? I brought your favorite milk tea." "Opal, Nell in the company is speaking ill of you again." I gave her a fierce glare. "Am I awesome, Opal? How are you and Michael doing recently? Has he said anything to you lately?" It all seemed normal before, but I've seen her two-faced behavior with my own eyes. I didn't plan to pay attention to her at first, but then I thought, if a fish really wants to jump onto the hook, how can I not fulfill its wish? I opened my phone and replied, "Alba, I'm out for something. You're really my good friend. By the way, my mom just gave me 2 beauty and massage cards. The time is from 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. tomorrow afternoon, right during working hours. If it expires, it will be wasted." Sigh. The other party replied instantly, "Beauty and massage cards. Which store are they from?" I replied, "The Thai massage store. It's quite expensive. It would be a pity to waste it. My mother-in-law Daphne has mentioned this store many times. I don't believe she hasn't told Alba about it. Moreover, Alba is now desperately trying to please my mother-in-law and kick me out as soon as possible." I added fuel to the fire and continued to send messages to Alba. "Alba, if you're free, I'll give you these 2 cards. But you also have to go to work." The other party still replied instantly, "It doesn't matter, Opal. Give them to me. I'll share this burden for you, otherwise, you'll keep worrying about this." When I saw this message, I couldn't help but laugh. It actually became sharing the burden for me, as if she had done me a huge favor. I sent, "Then, don't you have to go to work?" Alba replied, "I'm almost done with this job anyway." It doesn't matter, she's really almost done with the job. Is she going to stay home and wait for the baby to be born? Now that I think about it, Alba has really changed a lot recently. Last week, she even changed to a Van Cleef & Arpels necklace. I teased her and asked if she was going to become a young mistress. Alba pretended to be shy and nodded. Now, thinking about it, was her attitude in front of me mocking, or did she feel a little guilty? Just as I was about to think a little better of Alba, I saw that she sent me another message. "By the way, Opal, I'm getting married in a few days. It's the person who gave me the necklace. Very well. This sentence is like slapping me, the fool, in the face. If it weren't for the lessons from my previous life, I would probably have congratulated her and sent her a big red envelope. I pretended to congratulate her and said, "Congratulations, Alba, you're going to marry into a wealthy family. I will definitely prepare a big gift for you." Alba actually thought that Michael was from a wealthy family. He wouldn't have gotten where he is today without my dad's help. Moreover, all of Michael's money is tied up in the project funds. The only available funds in the whole family are the 2 million yuan that just arrived. If I don't give it to him, he'll have nothing and won't even be able to manage his cash flow. As for our house, apart from the more than half of the money my dad contributed, there are still some loans left. Van Cleef and Arpels. Michael really spent a lot of money on it. Alba is a typical example of a woman relying on her child to gain status, but she doesn't know that Michael is actually all show and no substance. What is he without my family's support? Alba is still dreaming of wealth here. Then I'll give you a big gift. I wish you two, a bitch and a dog, to be together forever. After sending the messages to Alba, I bought 2 premium massage cards from the Thai massage store. They were specially marked with the time, from 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. tomorrow afternoon. After buying them, I found a courier to send them to the company for Alba. Then I called Michael. "Honey, I won't be home tonight. There are relatives at my mom's place. Do you want to come?" Calling him honey made me feel a bit nauseous, but in order to act as usual, I had to hold back the nausea. I specifically mentioned that there were relatives, because I knew that Michael didn't want to meet my family. He always felt that we looked down on him. "Ooh, I won't go. I'm still busy today, and I also need to work overtime." Michael's voice was still cold and distant, and I heard it clearly. It's just as well that he doesn't want to talk to me. It makes it easier for me to focus on getting the supplies. Moreover, I still have a big gift to give to your family. For countdown, 27 hours, at 3 p.m. my dad dropped me off at the wholesale market, and then he left to contact the equipment suppliers. My mom was even more proactive. On the way, she had already contacted the suppliers and directly arranged several trucks to pick up the goods. My parents and I discussed in the car that we should get everything ready before 12 p.m. tomorrow. Then they would give all the employees a holiday and tell them, using the excuse of the epidemic, to stock up on supplies and stay at home. It's really absurd. If you tell people that zombies are coming, they probably won't believe you. Some people might even say that our family is spreading rumors, and if we get caught because of that, it won't be worth it. We're not saints. Sometimes people have to be a little selfish. Giving all the employees a holiday, reminding them to stock up on supplies and not go out is the only thing we can do. I hired a small van at the entrance of the wholesale market. Since there are people coming and going to purchase goods, my presence wasn't conspicuous. I bought cleaning supplies according to the list. For consumables like toothpaste, cleaning agents, and tissues, on a whim, I added 1 more box of each. After all, there are 3 of us using them similarly. I asked my mom to add 200 more large barrels of water. This way, we can't say we'll achieve water freedom, but at least it can ensure our basic needs. Moreover, in that situation, we won't waste water. When I saw the dishwasher powder on the list, I thought that since there would be no electricity later and the dishwasher couldn't be used, I reduced the quantity by 1 box appropriately. After all, there are a large number of zombies in the urban area, and the water and power supply will definitely be affected to varying degrees. If we're lucky, there will still be electricity while at the wholesale market. I suddenly noticed that many people were in a hurry. Since I rarely come to the wholesale market, I didn't know if it was like this normally or if everyone had also received some news. My confusion was cleared up when I met a big sister. She grabbed me and whispered mysteriously, "Sister, stock up on more goods. There will be a big disaster tomorrow afternoon." After saying a few words of concern, I saw the big sister directing 2 large trucks and leaving without looking back. The more I thought about it, the more familiar the big sister seemed. Finally, when I had bought all the cleaning supplies, I slapped my thigh and remembered, this big sister was the one I saw through the window in my previous life, the one whose neck was bitten off. It turns out that in this world, I'm not the only one who was reborn. Maybe there are just 2 of us, or maybe there are more anyway. The news has spread to varying degrees and has reached people's ears more or less. I need to speed up. Next, I went straight to the pharmacies. Since there are limitations on the products that can be purchased in one pharmacy, I visited dozens of pharmacies before I could buy all the medicines. I checked the list in my hand, and the goods filled a small van. In 2 hours, I finally got everything done. I directed the van to return to my home. Before entering the community, I saw my dad waiting at the gate. He waved his hand to signal the car to stop. My dad came over and said, "Let's park the car in the garage. First, we'll move the goods upstairs when it's quiet at night." My dad looked at his watch and added, "It's 5 p.m. now, and office workers are coming home one after another. It wouldn't be good if someone with ill intentions saw us." At this moment, I think my dad is truly the embodiment of wisdom. I paid a deposit of 1,000 yuan and asked the driver to leave the car here and come back to pick it up tomorrow. The driver looked at the time and then at the money. He agreed. Our community has some underground garages, but there are also some above-ground garages. Of course, my dad bought 6 garages at once for the convenience of storing wine. Because of my mom's authority, he has never been able to fulfill his dream of filling all 6 garages with wine, so the garages have always been empty. Now, the 6 large garages come in handy. The small van fits perfectly in the garage. The trucks arranged by my mom couldn't get through the garage door, so she arranged for some people to unload the goods into the garage. At midnight, we can use the elevator to move the goods upstairs. My dad took me into the garage and checked the items according to our list. The 6 garages were all filled with things. The first 4 garages contained the food and water purchased by my mom, neatly arranged in the large garage. The 5th garage was the small van I directed, which was filled with cleaning supplies and medicines. In the last garage, there were various types of generators, flashlights, power banks, and weapons that my dad bought on a whim, such as knives, machetes, stun guns, axes, and a bunch of anti-wolf sprays. I looked at my dad in surprise, and then I heard him say proudly, "Do you feel more secure now?" At this moment, my dad's image became even more magnificent in my eyes. After the inspection, my dad and I locked the garage and went upstairs. My mom upstairs wasn't idle either. I saw that all 10 large freezers and refrigerators were set up and wiped clean, and the meat products were already placed inside. I checked the list again, and everything was exactly right, and there were even some extra items. I saw my mom going in and out of the storage room. The 2 storage rooms had been emptied, waiting for the goods to be put in tonight. My parents are actually 100 times more capable than I imagined. Looking at the warm lights turned on, my mom was already cooking, and my dad was checking the items. Such a warm scene made my nose sting. I ran over and hugged my mom, who was wearing an apron. She was so busy that she was shooing me away, saying, "Go away, how old are you? You're still acting like a child," I said, shaking my head from side to side. No, I want to be your little princess for a lifetime." Actually, at this moment, I suddenly thought that maybe not taking revenge would be okay. Let time stand still at this moment, but the phone didn't go as one would wish. Beeps came, indicating several new messages. When I opened it, they were messages from Alba. "Opal, I've already received the massage cards." Then a photo was sent. In the photo, Alba had just done her manicure and was holding 2 massage cards in her hand. Looking closely at the background of the picture, that was the tablecloth on the dining table in my and Michael's house. Were they this bold? I just said I wouldn't go home, and the mistress moved in on the spot, and by doing this, Alba was clearly seeking excitement, on the verge of exposing the truth. Speaking of this tablecloth, it was changed in the 2nd year of our marriage. It had been several years. I still remembered that at that time, I, who had decision-making paralysis, spent several days and nights choosing. Michael put his arm around me and said, "My wife is so serious about everything." I pouted and acted coquettishly. "It's just that I have decision-making paralysis, otherwise, I would have chosen long ago." Michael suddenly said with a serious face, "Opal, others say that decision-making paralysis is because of being poor. I will definitely work hard to earn money so that you can buy whatever you want." I laughed heartily and said, "What does that have to do with it? I've had this problem since I was a child, but if you make such big promises to me, I might take them seriously." The past happiness flooded into my mind. When did Michael change? I still don't have much of an impression until now. Probably in the 3rd year, I was diagnosed with a difficult-to-conceive constitution. There was a probability of artificial insemination, but it was relatively small. That was also the year when Alba barged into our lives. I still can't forget the expressions on Michael's and his mother's faces when the test report came out. Actually, I don't understand. Why does their family value the reproduction of offspring so much? Do they have a throne to inherit? "Opal, it's time for dinner." My mother's call from the dining room interrupted my train of thought. I quickly replied to Alba's message, "Okay. Don't forget to go for a massage tomorrow afternoon. It will be a waste if you miss the time." I turned off my phone and walked to the dining room. My parents had already set the table, the lights were bright, and it was quiet outside. We sat at each end as usual. This atmosphere was very easy to get lost in. I even had a moment when I wondered if the coming of the zombies was just a dream. "Daughter, take a break after dinner." Your dad and I each found 3 people under us, 6 in total. Plus the 3 of us, there are 9 people in total. It will probably take about 3 or 4 hours to arrange everything. My mother spoke first, showing her usual strong woman demeanor. "Yeah, let's get everything settled tonight. Tomorrow morning, we'll install the doors and windows. At noon, we'll install the solar panels." I asked them to find ready-made curtains, but they are thick and light-proof enough. It's too late to customize them according to the size. My dad followed suit, reporting to me like at work. I chuckled when I heard this and said, "Dad, Mom, you are so serious, but you don't have to be so solemn with me. It makes me so scared." I imitated the tone and expression of Shagwin, my own swordsman, when talking to my parents. My parents were also amused by me. The strings that had been tightened all day finally relaxed a bit, but I knew in my heart that this was just the beginning. "Daughter, since you're going to divorce Michael, should I talk to those uncles about that project?" My dad mentioned Michael. "Dad, even if you didn't say it, I was going to call those uncles tomorrow morning and tell them not to give that project to Michael, and for the projects that have already been done, throw some obstacles in the way. I want to make him busy running around tomorrow afternoon and not be able to go home at all. My dad had an understanding look. By the way, Dad, Mom, tell the friendly uncles and aunts to stock up on some supplies. They must not go out tomorrow afternoon, I continued. My mother nodded with satisfaction and said, "Don't worry, daughter, your dad and I have already made arrangements." Indeed, as my daughter, Willow, clear about grudges and favors alike, my dad also gave me a thumbs up. I don't know what there is to be proud of about this sentence. Maybe this is what parents are like. They always think their children are the best, unlike my mother-in-law, Daphne, who always looks at me with disfavor, thinking of Daphne's vicious face. I hated her extremely in my heart, thinking that she was quite gossipy. No, I had to find out if she had received any news. Just as I was thinking about what pretext to use to call them, Michael's message beeped through. "Opal, have you received the project payment? Transfer it to me in full tomorrow. I'm going to invest in a new project." He called me by my full name. It seemed that Alba was watching by his side. Michael, is this the so-called overtime you mentioned? Overtime with the mistress? It seems that in so many days and nights before, the so-called overtime you talked about was actually being with this woman, but it was somewhat useful. Overtime produced a child, I replied with a cold laugh. "Okay, honey, I will definitely transfer it to you tomorrow. Have you eaten?" I sent the message, suppressing my nausea. What I was thinking in my heart was that you would never get this money in your life, maybe seeing my full agreement. Michael didn't even reply to the message. It seemed that he was already too lazy to play at me. After all, he was going to expose the truth tomorrow and make the mistress the legitimate wife. It was best that he didn't reply to me. Just when I didn't know what reason to use to call, I dialed Michael's phone number. It took a long time for someone to answer on the other side. After the call was connected, there was first a rustling sound in the receiver, and there seemed to be a woman's complaining voice. It wasn't even completely dark yet, and they were already eager to do something improper. Moreover, the child in Alba's belly was only a few months old. "Aren't they afraid of a miscarriage? Hello, what do you want? Is there something?" The impatient voice of a man came from the phone. It seemed that I really interrupted his good deed, but thinking of the two of them having sex on my bed, completely oblivious to everything, it was really disgusting. "Honey, you didn't reply to my message. I was worried that you hadn't eaten." I softened my voice and asked with concern. Maybe all men like this coquettish tone. Michael's voice also became much gentler. "Oh, I'm busy, working overtime." Maybe hearing Michael's gentle voice towards me, the woman on the other end of the phone was dissatisfied, so I heard a woman snort through the receiver. "Is there someone with you?" I pretended not to know. "No one. It's my mom." Michael still had a bit of sense. I heard a sound of expulsion through the phone, followed by the sound of a door closing. I thought to myself, couldn't it be that Alba was locked out on the balcony? I quickly took 2 or 3 steps to the window of our living room. Through the window of our house, I could just see their balcony. I could clearly see that there was a woman standing on the balcony, banging on the bedroom door crazily. I curled my lips. Michael was really a cold-blooded person, afraid that I would find out and expose them before he got the 2 million. He even locked the pregnant woman outside. I remembered that my dad had once hinted that Michael was a person who wouldn't stop until he achieved his goal. The phrase "not stop until achieving the goal" seemed to mean being diligent and hard-working. In fact, such people often had a ruthless streak. I continued the call as if nothing had happened. "Then where's Mom? Let me talk to Mom for a while. There's a fish in the fridge. Don't let it go bad. I want to tell Mom." Michael hesitated for a while and agreed, calling his mom over to talk on the phone. As soon as his mom got the phone, she exploded like a hot pepper. "Where have you been fooling around again at night without coming home? There's a husband and a mother-in-law at home. You go out without a word. You're so selfish. If you're not at home, doesn't an old woman like me have to cook?" Her loud voice made my head buzz. I took 2 deep breaths. Otherwise, I really wanted to scold her. "Mom, it's all my fault. I'm at my parents' home," I said humbly. "Oh, you went to your mom's place? Then bring me 2 bottles of the skincare products your mom uses when you come back. I've used up the set your mom gave me before. Does a disgusting person like you even deserve to use skincare products?" I wanted to vomit just thinking of her mean and sarcastic look. "Okay, Mom, by the way, have you stocked up on anything recently? I heard that there's some kind of flu or something." I probed deliberately. "Just changing zombies to flu. What do I need to stock up for? That would cost me money. If you're sensible, bring back the things from your parents' home. Don't always spend my son's money extravagantly. It makes me annoyed just thinking about it." "Oh, right, if you want to give something, bring it over tomorrow morning. I have an appointment for a massage in the afternoon." Just as I was about to speak, the phone on the other end was already hung up, making a beeping sound. Their family just didn't respect me like this. I sighed helplessly. When I turned around, I found that my mom was already in tears at the balcony door. Seeing me hang up the phone, my mom quickly ran over and hugged me. My daughter, you've actually suffered such grievances in their family. It's all my fault. My mom gently patted my back, saying with great self-blame. I was also a bit choked up and comforted my mom, saying, Mom, this was my own choice. It's not your fault. Besides, it's not too late for me to realize it now. I don't have a child yet, and I can start a new life at any time, after I take my revenge. 5:12:00 at midnight, 18 hours countdown. It was dark and windy outside. Suitable for taking action, our family of 3 and 6 helpers started to move things. Under my dad's repeated instructions, we had to move things quietly, so there was almost no sound. One person moved something out and handed it to another person. The third person waited at the elevator entrance on the first floor to put it in. The fourth person received it at the elevator entrance outside our home. The fifth person moved it into the room, and the last person helped put it in the storage room. My dad helped on the first floor, and my mom and I sorted the goods indoors. These were all employees of our family, and even confidants under my parents. My parents also used their money in making power and gave each person 10,000 yuan. It was both hard work pay and a bonus. They could use the money to buy some supplies. These people worked quietly, quickly, and deftly, in just 3 hours. All the things were successfully put in place. They also received generous rewards, under my parents' repeated instructions. They promised to stock up on some supplies anyway. My parents had already given them a holiday and reminded them what they did was their own choice anyway. Having 3 meals a day or 1 meal every 3 days was everyone's own choice. In this society, everyone had to pay for their own choices. At 3:00 a.m., 15 hours countdown, I could finally relax. After all, these supplies were really lying in the storage room of my own home, together with the 2 bedrooms my mom cleared out. The supplies filled a total of 4 rooms and 14 freezers and refrigerators. These supplies were more than enough to defend against zombies, but the safety equipment tomorrow was also very important. Besides defending against zombies, it could also defend against people with ulterior motives. In such a situation, hungry people could do anything. It was not impossible for them to chop down the door with an axe and try to rob things, so the doors and windows must be reinforced. Thinking about these problems, I fell asleep. In my dream, there was still the scene of being bitten by zombies, which lingered. I slept extremely restlessly that night. In the morning, I was woken up by my phone. I picked up my phone and saw that it was Michael. It was 9:00 a.m. My dad had already supervised the workers' construction and didn't wake me up. Michael had been sending messages since 8:00 a.m. asking me to transfer money to him. Since I hadn't replied, he called to urge me. As soon as I answered the phone, I heard Michael's angry voice. What are you doing, Opal? I asked you to transfer money, and I still haven't received it. Besides being a hindrance, what else can you do? So in his eyes, I was just a hindrance. My parents' family had funded him so much, and now he said this about me today. I'll show you what a real hindrance is. It seems that my dad's friends haven't told him that the project is over yet. Then I'll wait a little longer. Thinking of this, I quickly apologized and said, sorry, honey. My parents insisted that I take my second uncle to the airport today. I haven't had time yet. How about this? I'll transfer it to you this afternoon. Hearing about my second uncle, Michael on the other side was stunned for a moment. Your second uncle, the one in charge of the municipal government, weren't your 2 families not in touch? I asked you to help me contact him before, and you said your 2 families didn't associate. Yes, I deliberately mentioned my second uncle. I knew that Michael had wanted to build a relationship with him for a long time, but my dad said not to affect my second uncle's development because of personal relationships, so I always told Michael that the 2 families didn't have any dealings. Yeah, it's the second uncle in charge of the municipal government. He came to visit my mom. After all, we're relatives. How can we really break off contact? Opal, then get in touch with your second uncle properly. We'll go visit him together another day. After all, we, the younger generation, should also be polite, right? Hearing this, Michael quickly said. He was really a snobbish person, thinking that I had been with such a person for 5 years. I really hated myself for being so blind. Okay, then, can I transfer that money to you this afternoon? After all, second uncle, I left the sentence unfinished. All right, you must take good care of your second uncle. Michael hesitated and agreed. After careful consideration, he chose to build a relationship. After hanging up Michael's phone, I also saw several messages. They were from my mother-in-law, Daphne, and the mistress, Alba, respectively. When I opened my mother-in-law's Instagram, there were several voice messages. If I guessed correctly, they should be curses. When I opened them to listen, sure enough, why haven't you come home to deliver things yet? What should I use for skincare this morning? You're such a woman who always sides with your own family. You're lazy and only know how to spend my son's money, by the way, when you come back this Afternoon, buy some meat and the like. After cooking the meal, go back to your parents' home. I have guests here, and you're in the way. Also, quickly transfer the 2 million to my son. If you delay my son from using it, I'll make you pay. It seems that my mother-in-law almost couldn't hold it back and say it out. If it were in the past, I would have been angry and gone to argue with Michael. But now, I'm like watching a clown. I want to see how long she can jump around. Then I opened Alba's message. She sent me a photo of her newly bought Valentino shoes. It was another show off, but she didn't know that all these were just temporarily hers. If she could survive the zombies, I would make her return everything one by one. I still remember that when she first entered the company, she was just an ordinary office worker, wearing street stall goods and only eating in the cafeteria. I even felt sorry for her because she ate instant noodles for 3 consecutive days and shared the meals my mom ordered for me with her, who knew I had raised an ungrateful wretch. Suddenly one day, Alba got a perm, did her nails, and entered the company carrying an LV bag, smiling and telling me that she was in love. I didn't reply to her message because I had more important things to do. I got out of bed and went to the living room. I saw my dad directing the workers. The noise was quite loud. Fortunately, my parents had already made arrangements in advance, saying that it was a small renovation at home, so no one came to ask. I saw my mom lying on the desk in the study writing something. When I got closer, I saw they were some small cards. I was a bit curious and asked my mom what she was doing. My mom looked at me with a smile and said, "Our home is almost ready. I want to write some anonymous cards and put them in the neighbors' homes. It's just doing my part." I couldn't help but sigh that my family members were really kind. If their family hadn't treated me like this, even if they just wanted to divorce me, I would have reminded them, but they were more detestable. They wanted to divorce me and also wanted me to die. After getting dressed, I went out. Since I'm not living with them, how can I monitor their every move? The answer is a camera, so I'm going to the Science and Technology City to buy some pinhole cameras. As expected of being called the Science and Technology City, although they don't sell such things openly, I still found them. Since I wanted a lot of them and with the power of money, the guy taught me how to operate them hand in hand. I originally wanted to find someone to install them, but I was afraid of causing unnecessary trouble, so I learned it myself. Just set it up and put it in a hidden place. As for the battery, the guy told me that this kind of camera can be controlled to turn on and off by mobile phone. I just need to put 2 more in the same place. When one runs out of power, I can control the other one, and so on. It can always last for 3 months. I spent the whole morning in the Science and Technology City. I also bought some other high-tech products, such as drones and so on. Everything is ready. I'm just waiting for that crazy woman Daphne to be out of the house this afternoon to put them in. When I got home, my parents had already finished. I was startled when I saw our impregnable defenses. Looking at the way our family worked together, this time I wasn't fighting alone, facing the coming of the zombies this time. I didn't have any fluctuations at all. I felt very at ease. When I got home and took out my phone, there were a full screen of missed calls. Because I was busy in the Science and Technology City in the morning, I didn't answer Michael's calls. Yes, that's right, I did it on purpose. How could I not know what he wanted? It was just that the project wasn't going smoothly. My dad knocked on the door of my room and said, "Daughter, Michael called me this morning and said there was a problem with the project." How could I not know there was a problem? I arranged it. Haha, sure enough, since Michael couldn't get in touch with me, he called my dad. "Dad, well done. So how did you fob him off?" My dad said. I said I happened to be going to play with those friends tomorrow and would handle it for him tomorrow. Anyway, tomorrow after tomorrow. There are so many tomorrows, but his tomorrows may not be so many. I murmured in a low voice. 6:03:00 p.m. 3 hours countdown. Ding ding. I received the consumption record of Thai massage. When I opened the surveillance at the door of my house, I saw that Daphne had gone out happily, wiggling her butt. A little after 2:00, Alba was still on her arm, and the two were as close as mother and daughter. I guessed that Michael didn't know that I could see the surveillance, because when connecting to the mobile phone, it was only connected to his. He had also asked me if I wanted to connect to the surveillance. I said it was too troublesome and didn't do it, but in the first half of the year, there was a small problem with the door lock. When the after-sales service came to repair it, it was connected to my mobile phone for viewing, so I could also access the surveillance at the door. Michael didn't know such a thing. He wouldn't worry about such small matters. Daphne, a rural woman, knew even less about technology, so they completely didn't expect that I already knew about this. Beep beep. I received a text message from Alba. It was a picture. She was lying on a couch waiting for someone to give her a massage. The red dress in the corner of the photo was very obvious. It was exactly the one Daphne was wearing in the surveillance today. The two of them were both waiting on the couch to enjoy themselves at the moment. Wasn't that a good opportunity for me to go home? I quickly came from my parents' home to my small home and placed those surveillance cameras in hidden places, for example, behind the green plants, on the curtain rod. In short, except for the bathroom, I placed them everywhere. As for privacy, this is my home. I can do whatever I want. I usually have the habit of stockpiling goods, so in my and Michael's small home, I also stocked up a lot of things. The fridge was full of meat and vegetables. Why should the things I stocked up be left for these scumbags and bitches? I walked to the storage room and took out my several large suitcases. I took out the chickens, ducks, fish, and vegetables from the fridge and put them in large bags, restoring the fridge to its original state. The snacks, bread, and the like that I stored in the cabinet were also all thrown into the suitcase. I also had to take away all my skincare products. Yes, I wouldn't leave them anything. Just as I was about to go out after packing everything, I had a thought and took out a loaf of bread from the suitcase and put it in the cabinet. If there was only one loaf of bread, what choices would they make? When I went out carrying 3 large suitcases, I was seen by the neighbor, but because Daphne often spoke ill of me to the neighbors didn't like me very much. She looked at me with disdain and said sarcastically, "Oh, you're taking things to your parents' home again." Daphne always only talked about how capable her son was. As for my family background and the contributions of my parents' family, she never mentioned a word. I looked at my watch. It was 4:30. I ignored her words. I took up my phone and pretended to send an Instagram voice message. I said, "Mom, are you sure that the supermarket at the door will have a big sale at 5:30 and everything will be half price? Then I'll go right away." Seeing the way the female neighbor perked up her ears, I secretly laughed in my heart. Go ahead, go to the most crowded place. The first thing I did when I returned to my parents' home was to call Daphne's nephew. I knew that he had secretly liked Alba for a long time. When the call was connected, I said straightforwardly, "Noah, don't you always want to do that project? Come to my and Michael's home at 5:00 this afternoon. The project just lacks manpower. Remember, it's first come, first served." Noah agreed repeatedly. 5:30 p.m., half an hour countdown. My parents and I were already at home. Locking the door tightly, I opened the storage room again to look at my supplies. I felt more confident. I was staying on the balcony, holding a glass of water and looking at the building opposite. I was thinking if I was being too cruel. My mom came over and patted me on the shoulder and said, "Don't attack others unless they attack you first. But if people attack us, we don't have to be too kind. Remember, kindness should be reserved for kind people. There's no one who knows a daughter better than her mother." I nestled in my mother's arms. In the previous life, I didn't see my parents, and I didn't know if they were safe. This was my biggest regret in the previous life. In this life, it has been somewhat made up for. I saw Noah's car drive into the community. Sure enough, he was very punctual. I quickly turned on the surveillance. I saw Noah standing at the door with empty hands. This Noah was naturally lazy, just like Daphne, but Daphne treated him like her own son and loved him very much. In less than 5 minutes, Daphne and Alba came out of the elevator, arm in arm. When Daphne saw Noah, her eyes lit up. "Oh, my dear nephew, why are you here?" Looking at Alba in contrast, a flash of fear passed through her eyes. Noah's eyes changed completely when he saw Alba. He wished he could stick to her, ignoring Daphne's presence. His eyes were bold and fiery. Alba obviously suppressed her nausea and said, "Brother Noah, Mom is asking you something." "Oh, Aunt, I came to talk about the project with my brother Michael. We made an appointment at this time." Michael had always had a low opinion of Noah. Daphne was also a bit worried about how to get some benefits for her mother home. Now hearing that Michael had invited him to talk about the project, Daphne couldn't close her mouth. She quickly opened the door and invited Noah in. Immediately, I also switched to the camera inside the house. I saw Daphne pull Noah to sit on the sofa and said to Alba in a commanding tone, "Alba, go pour water for my dear nephew. What are you standing there for?" I saw Alba walk towards the dining room to pour water with a look of reluctance, and Noah's eyes were like chewing gum, sticking firmly to Alba's back. Daphne didn't notice at all and just kept talking to herself. Michael hadn't come home yet. It seemed that he was really busy with those messy matters. If the zombies came and Michael hadn't come home, what would happen to Daphne, Noah, and Alba? I was very much looking forward to it. 6:00 sharp. The zombies arrived suddenly. Miserable screams came from the peaceful community. I quickly called my parents over. I saw some people start to mutate and distort. Their faces instantly turned dark and green, and they moved their limbs like robots. The people in the cars hid in the cars and didn't dare to get out, trying to drive away the zombies with the horn. Unexpectedly, it attracted more zombies. Now, most of the people downstairs in the community had already mutated and were chasing normal people and biting them. I also saw my female neighbor walking slowly into the community from the gate, carrying a supermarket bag. When she realized something was wrong, it was already too late. She started running towards her home, but she tripped over the speed bump because of fear. Several zombies caught up with her and bit her. Her neck was bitten off in one bite. I quickly closed my eyes. I didn't dare to look at this terrifying scene. Seeing this scene, I thought of my previous life, being dragged away by zombies and attacked by a group. I thought my death must have been very tragic. I saw that the zombies had chased people into Daphne's corridor, and the door of our corridor had already been locked by the grid administrator. The small cards my mom wrote had attracted a lot of people's Attention, that day, everyone started discussing in our grid group. Someone said, could this be someone's prank? But someone else refuted, I've long heard rumors that a big event will happen today. Why don't we just believe it once? Our lives are more important. Yeah, everyone come back early. The grid administrator will lock the corridor door. If nothing happens, we don't lose anything either. Finally, everyone reached an agreement. The grid administrator locked the corridor door, which undoubtedly provided another guarantee for our safety. At the same time, I continued to watch the surveillance of Daphne's place. I saw that the chaos and screams downstairs attracted their attention. Alba saw the scene through the window and let out a frightened scream. Daphne was also very scared and quickly called Michael frantically to make sure of her son's safety, but the phone couldn't be connected. It's okay, Mom. Michael has great fortune and will definitely be fine, Alba tried to comfort Daphne. I saw Daphne roll her eyes at her and said impatiently, frowning, apparently you two haven't got married yet, right? You don't feel bad for him. Let me tell you, Alba, if anything happens to my son, I'll hold you accountable. Alba was very stunned when she saw Daphne's 180-degree change in attitude. This was completely different from the way she had been holding her hand and calling her Alba this and Alba that in the afternoon. Mom, how could I not feel bad for brother Michael? You. No, I love him the most. Alba was anxious to defend herself. You love him the most. I think you love his money the most. Look at what you're wearing. Which one wasn't bought with my son's money? If it weren't for making money, would he not be able to come back at this time? Daphne shouted excitedly and waved away Alba's hand. Alba staggered and almost fell. Fortunately, Noah quickly reached out to support her waist. It was very clear on the camera that Noah secretly curled the corners of his mouth, and his fingers kept rubbing against Alba's waist. Daphne's shots attracted the zombies in the corridor. The mutated zombies had blood all over their faces and were lying on the doorframe in a strange posture, hitting it heavily. Hearing the noise, the three people immediately fell silent. Noah, who valued his life even more, jumped behind the sofa and squatted down. Daphne pushed Alba and asked her to look through the cat's eye. Alba endured the discomfort and walked over, trembling. When she saw the bloody scene outside, her whole face turned pale. She trembled for a long time and couldn't say a word. Seeing this scene on the other side of the phone screen, I thought with a cold laugh, this must be what fake feelings are like. When everything is going well, everyone is harmonious. But when this peaceful and good life is broken, someone will be the first to reveal their true colors and tear each other apart. The zombies came. Michael didn't come home, and moreover, they hadn't found that the food had disappeared. Each of these would become points for Daphne and Alba to bite each other. 7 beep beep. A message from my mom came on the phone. Honey, come downstairs for dinner. Then my mom sent a photo. There were 3 delicate dishes and a soup on the dining table, including Coca-Cola chicken wings, braised pork ribs, stir-fried romaine lettuce, and washed and arranged fruits. I forgot to say that my dad thought it would be better for each person to have one floor. This was also more convenient, so I moved to the 21st floor. It was also very convenient to go up and down the stairs installed by my dad. I replied to my mom with a received emoji. Immediately, I went downstairs. In a nearly terrifying external environment, our home was very warm. Then my dad raised his water cup and said, come on, let's have a toast with water instead of wine to celebrate our family getting together safely. Beep, beep. My phone suddenly rang. I turned on the screen and saw that it was Daphne. I looked at my parents, and they put down their cups in motion for me to answer the call. As soon as I picked up the phone, a stream of curses came pouring out. If I were beside Daphne, I think her spittle might have drowned someone. Opal, you said you were going to move things home yesterday. Where are the things? Why is my refrigerator empty? Is it you, you useless woman? My refrigerator is empty. How am I supposed to eat? I order you to come over from your parents' place right now and bring me something, otherwise, I'll make my son divorce you. Just hearing Daphne's voice made me furious. Thinking of all the things she had done to me in my previous life, I really wanted to kick her head and then throw her into the crowd of zombies, but I held back because the plan had just started. I curled the corners of my mouth and pretended to be innocent as I said, Mom, I originally wanted to empty the refrigerator and then put fresh fruits and seafood in it. Someone gave my parents durians, abalones, and wagyu beef. I didn't expect this to happen. Such good things. Then you should bring them over quickly. I'll have a taste tonight, Daphne said shamelessly, but there are monsters outside. I'm too scared. I was half sincere and half panicky, and my voice was trembling. What's there to be afraid of? You can just run over while you have the chance. Anyway, your parents' home is so close to ours. I almost laughed out loud. It's so easy for Daphne to say, run over, then I'll let you run over and try to get it. As I listened to her words, out of extreme anger, I started to laugh instead. Mom, my dad said that you should come and get it. We'll take it over together. I can't carry it by myself. I continued to make up lies without thinking. Let me go over there. What's your intention? There are so many monsters outside. I think you want me to die. Daphne shouted loudly. It seems that she also knows it's dangerous outside, right? She doesn't want to do it herself, but she can make others do it. Hello. Hello, what did you say, Mom? I can't hear you. I pressed the receiver and I said, do you want me to die? Daphne repeated loudly on the other end. Mom, what did you say? Where should I put the things? I continued to play dumb and then quickly hung up the phone. I performed this one-man show, leaving my parents stunned. I waved my hand in front of my stunned dad, scooped up a spoonful of rice, and stuffed it into my mouth. I mumbled, Mom and Dad, let's eat. Why are you in a daze? Hurry up and eat well. There will be more tough battles ahead. This is just the beginning. I quickly finished my meal and turned on the surveillance of that house. As soon as I turned it on, I saw the scene of Alba being beaten. Daphne slapped Alba hard in the face. Alba spun around twice and then fell onto the sofa, still with an expression of disbelief on her face. When I saw this scene, I almost wanted to laugh out loud. I quickly adjusted the surveillance footage to see what had actually happened. I adjusted the surveillance footage to half an hour ago. Daphne was hung up on by me, and she angrily slapped her phone. Alba walked over leisurely and said, Mom, what did Opal say? Even at this moment, Alba still wanted to find out about my situation. She really never changes her ways. Daphne was eager to get the things. When she saw Alba coming over, her eyes lit up. Alba, Opal has a large pile of supplies over there. Like Wagyu beef and abalones, they're all good things, as long as we get them. We can all build up our strength. When Alba heard about these things, her eyes also lit up. Mom, these are really good things. Why don't you hurry up and ask Opal to bring them to us? If she doesn't, let my husband divorce her. Look at this mistress. She's really shameless. When Daphne heard this, she glanced at Alba and pretended to sigh. Opal can't carry it by herself. We should also send someone over here to meet her halfway so that we can get more things. Alba thought for a moment and quickly nodded in agreement, saying, Mom, you're right, let Noah go to meet Opal, he's a man and has more strength. When Daphne heard this, she stood up angrily and slapped Alba. The scene coincided with the one I saw when I first turned on the surveillance. Alba looked at Daphne in disbelief. Daphne pointed at Alba's nose and started cursing. Noah is the only male heir of the Wang family for 3 generations. What's your intention? Do you want to kill our Wang family? Alba looked at Daphne with tears in her eyes and said, Mom, the baby in my belly is also the only male heir. A trace of pity flashed across Daphne's face, but it disappeared in an instant. Then she sneered and said, You haven't even registered your marriage with my son yet. In ancient times, you would just be a concubine. My son is rich and powerful. It's not difficult for him to find a woman to give him a son, is it? Seeing that Alba didn't say anything, Daphne continued viciously, During this period, if you can make us full and find my son, I'll let bygones be bygones and still treat you as a good daughter-in-law. But if you let me starve, I'll throw you out to feed the zombies. When Alba heard the words feed the zombies, her whole body shuddered. I thought that Alba was no easy person either. Since she had been lurking beside me for 3 years, she would surely find a way to deal with Daphne. Sure enough, Alba got up and looked at the direction Daphne had left with a sinister expression, muttering to herself, Old woman, since you're being heartless, don't blame me for being injustice. Then, Alba set her eyes on Noah, who was looking at his phone on the sofa. Alba knew that Noah liked her, but before, with Michael, the powerful and wealthy sugar daddy, in front of her, who would pay attention to the unemployed Noah. But now, the only person in the whole house who could protect her was Noah. Alba was going to start relying on Noah again. Alba poured a glass of water from the dining room and placed it in front of Noah. With a concerned expression, she said, Brother Noah, have some water. I don't know when these monsters will leave. I'm so scared. When Noah saw his dream girl Alba sitting in front of him, looking scared, his desire to protect her welled up. He waved his hand. What are you afraid of? I'll protect you. Alba's eyes became filled with admiration. She looked at Noah with twinkling eyes and said, Brother Noah, I wish I could have met you earlier. I've always admired men with masculinity since I was a child. When Noah heard Alba say this, he stopped looking at his phone, sat up, and asked seriously, Alba, since you like men like me, why did you reject me when I pursued you before? Alba blinked her eyes, lowered her head, and said with a look of bewilderment, Actually, it's mainly my fault. Opal said you weren't a good person, that you were lazy, unemployed. I didn't believe her at first, but she kept telling me over and over again, and Michael forced himself on me. I was no longer pure. How could I be worthy of you? All I could do was stay away from you and let you find your own happiness. Now that I think about it, it's really my fault. I was too easily influenced by others' words, but Opal is my best friend, so that's how it is. Both Opal and Michael are not good people. Fortunately, I'm here today and you've opened up to me. Otherwise, I would have missed you forever. Noah slapped the table and then looked at Alba affectionately. Alba gently stroked Noah's arm and said shyly, If you think I'm impure, I can prove my loyalty with my life, but I really have you in my heart, I swear to God. Noah covered Alba's mouth, shook his head, and said, You've been haunting my dreams for 3 years. How could I dislike you? I can't wait to have you right now. Through the surveillance, I saw that their mouths were almost touching. It was really disgusting. Now Michael's life or death is still uncertain, and Alba has already started looking for her next partner. Just as Noah was about to kiss Alba, she blocked him with her hand and pointed to the bedroom, saying, "Oops, Mom is still here. If we're seen, we're done for." Noah's good deed was interrupted, and he frowned, saying, "Who cares about that old woman? Her son might be gone. In the future, she can only rely on me, and she'll have to listen to me." Alba shook her head with a look of fear, saying, "But she just pointed at my nose and said she would throw me out to feed the zombies. I don't care if I die, but we've just gotten together. And I can't bear to leave you, brother Noah." As she spoke, tears streamed down Alba's face. Her weak and helpless appearance made people feel pity for her. Noah felt so sorry for her that he suddenly stood up and walked towards Daphne's bedroom. Alba quickly grabbed Noah and asked, "Brother Noah, what are you going to do?" Noah pointed at the door and said angrily, "I'm going to make that old woman apologize to you. How dare she scare the person I cherish the most? No, brother Noah, she's your own aunt. Don't make a scene because of me. For your sake, I can endure everything." Alba's understanding appearance touched Noah deeply. However, what she was thinking in her heart was that if Michael could come back alive, Daphne, as Michael's mother, still had some influence. She wanted to leave herself a way out. Seeing that Noah was willing to fall out with Daphne for her, Alba was overjoyed. As long as she could control Noah, she had nothing to fear from Daphne. Looking at everything on the screen, I just wanted to laugh. It's the first day of the zombie apocalypse, and at least they can still think about lust when they are full and warm. But what about in 2 days, 5 days, or even longer? Will hungry people go crazy because of food? I turned on the surveillance and continued to keep an eye on them. At 00:30 in the morning, it was almost silent outside the window. There were very few people left in this community. Maybe there were still some survivors hiding in some corner. If so, they were really lucky. It was pitch black outside. The streetlights had been turned off by someone. Under the faint moonlight, groups of zombies wandered aimlessly. The zombies' eyesight and mobility would drop sharply at night. I looked at the scene outside and let out a long sigh. I didn't know how long this disaster would last. After taking stock of the supplies, I felt much more at ease. At the same time, an interesting idea popped into my mind. Letting them starve to death would be the easiest thing for them, but I want them to live with hope. The best way to destroy a person is to extinguish the light just when he is about to see it. I turned on the surveillance and continued to keep an eye on them. I always had a hunch that I would find something interesting by watching the surveillance. Now, sure enough, as soon as I turned on the surveillance, I saw an explosive scene at the door of the bathroom. Alba appeared in the surveillance wearing a suspender skirt. The silk shawl she was wearing outside had slipped off, revealing half of her bosom. She looked very alluring. Leaving aside her character for now, she really had a good figure. I had noticed it a long time ago. Now, looking at her, she was even more tender, smooth, and slender. There was no sign of her being pregnant at all, so I kind of understood why Michael had cheated on me with her. After all, even I, a woman, liked looking at her. Noah couldn't wait to rush out of the bedroom, pressed Alba against the wall, and started kissing and sucking her. He seemed to want to put even her feet in his mouth. Alba was also in a trance, but she still had some sense left. She held down Noah's hand that was trying to go further and said intermittently, "Noah, brother, let's go into the bathroom. Don't let anyone see us." Noah was almost going crazy. He wished that the old woman would disappear on the spot and that only he and Alba would be left in the world so that they could have a wild time. Noah was breathing heavily. His mouth moved on Alba's body, and he picked her up horizontally and carried her into the bathroom. I was so excited watching this drama. I wanted to keep watching, but as soon as the bathroom door closed, it became quiet outside again. At this moment, I regretted not installing a surveillance camera in the bathroom. I regretted that the free porn movie in my hand had flown away. Then I switched the surveillance screen to Daphne's bedroom. I saw Daphne lying on the bed in a big shape, sound asleep, not realizing at all that her nephew and her prospective daughter-in-law were having an affair outside. This old woman really has a big heart. It seems that she still doesn't know what's in store for her tomorrow. I'm looking forward to it. I recorded the scene of Noah and Alba having sex and saved it in a folder. It would be best if I could use it, but it doesn't matter if I can't. 9 in the morning, I was woken up by a series of messages. Sure enough, they were messages from Daphne and Alba. Daphne cursed very harshly and asked me to go and bring her supplies immediately, and Alba played the friendship card. She said, "Opal, I met your mother-in-law when I went for a massage the other day. We had a great chat, and before I knew it, I walked to your house. Auntie invited me in as a guest. I thought I hadn't seen you for a few days and missed you so much, so I waited for you at your house." Unexpectedly, the zombie crisis broke out suddenly, and I was stuck at your house. "Opal, I'm so scared." Alba's voice was slightly trembling, and she sounded like an innocent and harmless person. However, only she herself knew how deep her scheming was. Then the words she said revealed her intention of looking for me. "By the way, Opal, Auntie said you have good things like abalones and durians over there. Hurry up and bring them to me. Have you forgotten? We're best friends." Best friends. Looking at these words, I couldn't help but want to laugh. Best friends, you Meddled in my family affairs. Best friends, you didn't save me when I was in danger in my previous life. Best friends, you asked me to cross the crowd of zombies to bring you food. Go to hell. Best friends, I really wanted to slap her twice in my heart, but I still calmly replied to her, so that's what happened. Alba, I forgot to tell you that I'm at my parents' house. I'm really sorry that you were stuck at my house. As for the food, a group of people came to our house and took it all away. Yesterday, I made up this lie without blushing at all. Alba almost replied instantly. What? The things were taken away? How could that be? Opal, you're not trying to avoid giving them to me, are you? We're best friends. You're really breaking my heart like this. I also replied quickly. How could that be? Alba, we're best friends. You can come to my house and see for yourself. Now there's nothing left in the house except 5 packs of instant noodles. She was so afraid of the zombies that she wouldn't come to check. Alba's chat box kept showing typing. I guessed that she was probably discussing with Daphne. When I turned on the surveillance, the 3 of them were sitting on the sofa. Daphne said, how could there be only 5 packs of instant noodles? Alba, do you have the ability to get some more things or not? Alba pretended to be scared and leaned towards Noah. Noah immediately puffed out his chest and looked down on Daphne, saying, Auntie, it's not that I'm being mean, but even your son, who is so powerful, can't manage to come back. You expect a woman to get things. In my opinion, Auntie, you should just swallow your pride and go out to get us something to eat. Hearing this, Daphne's eyes widened as if she couldn't believe her ears. Her nephew, who had always been obedient to her, actually said such things. Noah, how can you talk to your aunt like this? Mom, brother Noah doesn't mean anything else. He's just could not stand. Don't take it to heart. As Alba spoke, she held down Noah, who was about to stand up and talk, and shook her head to signal him not to. I couldn't help laughing out loud on the other side of the surveillance. Alba was good at being sarcastic. She seemed like a peacemaker, but also like she was adding fuel to the fire. Daphne's face looked even worse, but she couldn't say anything, as if to change the subject. Alba continued, our top priority is to get Opal to send us some food. She said she had 5 packs of instant noodles. Mom, call her and tell her to send them all over, with someone backing her up. Alba dared to assign tasks to Daphne. Daphne frowned and picked up her phone, muttering to herself, it's only because my son isn't at home that you're ordering me around here. Just wait until my son comes back and see how I deal with you. Sure enough, my phone rang. Why didn't you answer my call? Do you want to starve me, an old woman, to death? When my son comes back, I'll make him divorce you. It was the same tone and the same words as usual. Every time Daphne called me, I felt that if it weren't for the phone line, she would come over and eat me right away. She was scarier than the zombies. Mom, there were some troublemakers at home just now, so I didn't hear your call. The things I packed for you were snatched as soon as I opened the door. I mumbled. Daphne paused on the other side. From the surveillance, I could see that her frown deepened. You're not lying to me, are you? If I find out you're lying, I'll make you pay. Of course not, Mom. You're the mother of the men I love the most. How could I lie to you? I'm so worried about you. After hearing this, Daphne subconsciously glanced at Alba. Yes, I said this with nausea in my heart, just to make Daphne dislike Alba more and more. Then do you have any more food there? If so, send it to me. Daphne still spoke rudely, as if I owed her something. I originally had 5 packs of instant noodles, but now there are only 3 packs left. Some were snatched just now. I don't care about instant noodles or whatever, send me all you have. I haven't eaten all day and I'm starving to death, Daphne said in a commanding tone. I walked outside, smelling the aroma of the breakfast my mom brought. My mom has always emphasized that breakfast should be good and a comprehensive and nutritious diet is important, so on the dining table, there were 2 fried eggs, 2 small steamed buns, a red bean bun, a sliced beef patty, a vegetable salad, a cup of soy milk, and a fruit platter cut by my mom. I picked up a cherry with my hand, put it in my mouth, chewed it slowly, and then picked up the phone and said in a trembling voice, can I give you 2 packs? My parents and I haven't eaten all day either. What are you thinking? What does it have to do with me if your parents haven't eaten? I'm about to starve to death here. Do you understand that filial piety comes first among all virtues? Hurry up and send all the instant noodles over. I'm not even disliked that it's instant noodles. Hearing Daphne's words that went against all moral values, the last bit of my soft-heartedness disappeared. If she was willing to leave us a pack of instant noodles, it would show that she still had some humanity. I would send all 3 packs of instant noodles to her. Since she was like this, I could also be cruel. I expressionlessly took out a small drone and put 2 packs of instant noodles in a bag. Then for the remote-controlled route, I chose to fly in through the window of the corridor in the stairwell, and then land at the doorstep. Because I saw several zombies in the fire escape, looking lifeless, I set the drone's drop location at the doorstep. Then they would definitely have to open the door to take it in. Would they be faster at opening the door and reaching out their hands, or would the zombies be faster at running over? I had thought about this question for a long time. Well, today is just the right time to do an experiment. I told Daphne to look through the cat eye at the door. If 2 packs of noodles landed, she had to immediately reach out and take them in and then close the door. Daphne agreed. I guessed that from the angle of the cat she couldn't see the zombies in the fire escape, while my rotating camera at the door could. Before hanging up Daphne's call, I suggestively said to her that it would be best to find someone with quick hands to take it, because the drone made a lot of noise and might attract zombies. After hanging up the phone, Daphne pointed at Alba in a commanding tone and said, I got the food, you ate by the cat. When you see that thing called a drone coming, open the door and bring the things in. Alba stared, pointed at herself, looking disbelieving. The food was obtained because of me. What's wrong with you? A useless person, going to get it. Daphne regarded herself as a hero and said unceremoniously. Alba looked at Noah pitifully, her big eyes were filled with glistening tears, as if they would fall pattering down with just a blink. This look reminded Noah of the sweetness between them last night, and his heart softened. He pointed at Daphne and said, you go get it. Alba is not in good health. Don't you always go square dancing? You have quick hands and feet. I think you should go get it. Noah's forceful voice made Daphne subconsciously yield, because in Daphne's mind, the status of men is higher than that of women. Men naturally have the final say. Moreover, Noah was the pillar of their Wong family, who was decisive. Although Daphne looked unhappy, she also gave Alba a fierce glare and said viciously, just wait and see how I deal with you. In Daphne's eyes, although they were both women, she must always be superior to her daughter-in-law. Overall, she had always thought that the status of her son Michael and nephew Noah was the highest, then herself second, Alba third, and finally me. In her words, it was because I couldn't have children. Indeed, I couldn't have children because I'm not a chicken. I called to urge, Mom, are you ready? I'm going to control the drone to fly over. Hurry up and stand by the cat and watch. Daphne had to stand over. I started to operate. Actually, it would be the safest to fly onto the balcony, but I deliberately didn't. Who asked Daphne to be so inhumane? When my drone took off and passed between the two buildings, it attracted the attention of some zombies. The zombies, which had been listless and somewhat sluggish, seemed to be stimulated, one by one. They twisted their necks with a cracking sound. Some even twisted their heads 360 degrees to show their excitement about the source of the stimulation. They all chased the drone and ran towards the entrance of Daphne's unit. I shouted into the phone, be sure to take it quickly. The zombies have been attracted. Daphne trembled with fear at my nervous voice. Her hands and feet started to go weak, especially when she could faintly hear the footsteps and roars of the zombies outside. I controlled the drone to the doorstep and didn't stop. I deliberately made a turn in the fire escape, trying to attract the attention of all the potential zombies. Seeing that the surrounding zombies started to twist one after another, I was satisfied and dropped the things at the doorstep, then drove the drone away coolly. My task was completed. Now it was time to watch their performance. I saw Daphne open the door with trembling hands and feet, just as she picked up the instant noodle bag. She saw the zombies emerging from the fire escape. Daphne let out a huge scream. Her mind stopped thinking, and she even forgot to close the door. The zombies roared and walked over, their bodies twisted. With a loud bang, the instant noodle bag was thrown into the living room. Daphne's face was deathly pale, and one of her fingers was still stuck in the door crack. Noah stood behind, panting heavily and cursing, you old hag, if you want to die, don't drag us along. This scene was really interesting. Let me watch the playback. In the few seconds when Daphne was dull at the door, Noah passed by from behind and caught sight of the zombies coming over, their bodies twisted. He jumped up and slammed the door shut. Just 1 second before the zombies arrived, due to inertia, the instant noodle bag was flung out, and one of Daphne's fingers, which was gripping the door crack, was firmly stuck by the anti-theft door. Daphne slowly came to her senses. The pain in her finger was transmitted to her brain along the nerves. A heart-rending scream came out. Daphne knelt on the ground and wailed. Noah was still swearing. The zombies outside were pounding on the door desperately. For a moment, it was really lively. Fortunately, Alba still had some sense. She quickly pulled Noah to make him stop talking and asked Noah to carry Daphne to the bedroom. The sound in the living room finally quieted down. The zombies also stopped being restless. Noah covered his heart and complained to Alba about the dangerous situation just now. Alba stroked Noah's back, trying to make him relax. Alba said, fortunately, we got the food in. Thank you, brother Noah. If it weren't for you, we would be in trouble. No wonder I admire you so much. The way her eyes sparkled made Noah feel complacent. Men like to be flattered. The more weak and helpless you seem in front of them, the more they like you. That's why one man after another liked Alba so much. Noah caressed Alba's shoulder affectionately and said suggestively, oh, you only admire me now. I thought you admired me, eh? Lot last night. Hearing this, I almost burst out laughing. On the other side of the surveillance, according to the length of time I retrieved the surveillance, Noah and Alba were in the bathroom from the time they entered until they came out disheveled. In less than 10 minutes, I saw Alba in the surveillance turn her head slightly, showing a look of disgust, and then immediately smiled and looked at Noah with an adoring expression, nodding repeatedly. Brother Noah, I'm just too shy to say it. Then who's better, me or Michael? Hearing Noah say this, Alba felt a bit uncomfortable. It was enough to show how greasy a man Noah was. He was incompetent and lecherous. It was really a pity for Alba, who was so eager to marry into a wealthy family, but Alba was so good at acting. If she were an actress, she would definitely win the Golden Horse Best Actress award. Alba was coy, looking at Noah with a seductive look. Brother Noah, you don't even need to ask. Noah felt extremely pleased. Then he looked at Alba with a malicious look. Then tonight Brother Noah, let's eat first. We need to have enough energy to do other things after eating. Alba quickly changed the subject, holding up the 2 packs of instant noodles to signal Noah. Noah nodded repeatedly when he saw the food. After all, he hadn't eaten all day. But how do we divide this? There are only 2 packs, and there are 3 of us, Alba said hesitantly. 1 pack for each of us. What's there to ask? Noah waved his hand. Then, what will Mom eat? Alba asked knowingly. When she wakes up, you can make her a bowl of soup with the seasoning packet. She's old and doesn't do much. She doesn't consume much energy. After saying that, Noah lay down on the sofa and closed his eyes to sleep like a boss. In the camera, Alba squeezed the instant noodle bag hard, her knuckles turning white. From this, it could be seen how much she hated Noah, being played with and repeatedly molested by someone she hated and looked down upon was really disgusting. Alba divided the instant noodles into 3 portions, soaked 2 portions in bowls, and secretly put the other portion in the cabinet. It seemed that she was going to eat alone. Alba was smart. She knew how to think long term. If they ate everything today, wouldn't they be hungry tomorrow? I saw Alba add a lot of seasonings and water to Noah's bowl so that he wouldn't notice that there was less noodles and would just be full from drinking water. Seeing this, I couldn't help but sigh that if Alba used her brain in the right place, she wouldn't have ended up like this. I turned off the surveillance. 10. When I opened my phone, messages popped up one after another. The Weibo app had exploded. While there was still electricity, signal, and the spread hadn't expanded yet, people were shouting online. The Weibo app crashed once, but there were no technicians to maintain it anymore. No. The surviving and uninfected people were all hiding at home, too scared to go out. The platforms on their phones had become the only place to seek answers. Videos of people being attacked by zombies were being passed around in groups one after another. This was no longer a secret. Some time ago, posting such things would get your account banned, but now it could no longer be hidden. All kinds of remarks were flying around. What should we do? There's no stock at our house selling instant noodles. 1,000 yuan a pack. Free delivery to your door. 1,000 yuan for a pack of instant noodles. You have no conscience. You may earn the money, but I don't think you'll have the life to spend it. Is there any vaccine being developed now? When will this end? I still have a lot of work in the office. Stop thinking about useless things. Save electricity and water. Stock up on food if you can. Saving your life is the right way. Finally, I saw a useful comment. The incident happened suddenly. Judging from the speed of spread and the harmfulness, I thought this would definitely be a long-term battle, although the weather was still a bit hot now. It was finally the end of summer. It didn't matter if it was cool in autumn. Presumably, the most difficult time would be winter. When I was shopping in the commercial city before, I heard an uncle muttering that this was a disaster year and there would definitely be extreme cold this year. The heating wouldn't be provided on time as usual either, because a notice was sent in the property management group of the community, a letter to all survivors, due to the sudden disaster and the difficult situation. There is currently no corresponding countermeasure to control its development. Please all survivors close your doors and windows tightly and protect yourselves to avoid unnecessary harm. In addition, the water and electricity in the community will be cut off tomorrow. The specific restoration time will be notified separately. Water and electricity cut off. It came so quickly. Seeing the boiling in the group, there were people cursing and lamenting. Come on, everyone, cursing the property management is useless. They didn't create these little zombies. It's already very kind of them to notify you in this situation. Suddenly, someone's profile picture popped up, and the words they said attracted my attention, because the profile picture was a little dog. I was once extremely obsessed with little dogs, so I couldn't help but want to click and take a look. I clicked twice, but the profile picture didn't open. Then I saw that person at me. Thank you for the support of the little sister. Whose ideas rip off a man's mouth. When I saw this sentence, I was a bit confused. Why did she suddenly mention me by name? I was at Ed by an auntie. I think you two are in the same group. Your profile pictures are both of 2 yellow dogs. You two shameless people. Stop talking. You're pretending to be good here. I won't scold the property management. I can scold you too, right? In my opinion, the property management should bring us water and food. I was even more confused. I had been lurking in the group and hadn't said anything. Suddenly being scolded, I scrolled up the chat records twice, trying to find an explanation for myself. Then I saw a sentence clearly in the group. I tapped on the shoulder of superior man to show my agreement. Oh no, I just wanted to click on his profile picture to take a look at his little dog, but I accidentally clicked the tap function by mistake. This function of Instagram always makes people feel embarrassed. Inner monologue. Hey, auntie, can you Listen to my explanation. I don't know this superior man. They should bring you food. As long as people go outside, they will be infected. You can't not know that. Auntie, what's your intention?" Along with this sentence, the person named superior man also casually sent an expression of being extremely remorseful. This made the situation seem not so serious. I couldn't help but laugh, although it was a bit inappropriate. It was indeed true. No matter what, going out is a sure way to die. The zombies outside the window were roaring aimlessly. These zombies had been hungry for several days. Going out now would just make us their little snacks. Thinking of the fear and tearing pain in my previous life, I took a deep breath. It was really a nightmare. Even now, I have nightmares every day and always wake up in a cold sweat. Thinking of this, I quickly echoed, "Auntie, we'd better just stay at home and wait for the notice." The auntie then sent several voice messages that were more than 50 seconds long each, and each sentence contained a lot of swear words. I didn't want to listen at first, but my obsessive-compulsive disorder couldn't help but make me click on them. I was so angry when I heard words like lover and die the whole family, and so on. I typed frantically with the keyboard. Of course, we are civilized young people in the new era. I talked from the socialist concept of honor and disgrace to the socialist core values, from social civilization to moral concepts, until the auntie stopped sending voice messages, although I don't know if she listened to what I said, but seeing that several people from the property management sent me private messages to say thank you, I think my words weren't in vain. After all, in the face of disaster, we are human beings first, and then other identities. It's always the most important to protect ourselves. Although it's selfish, it's the truth. Protecting ourselves well also means not causing trouble for the country. Looking at some of the words I said in the group, I saw that the person named Superior Man followed me by sending expressions and giving a thumbs up, and also sent several voice messages in a row. Of course, I only listened to the auntie's voice messages just now and didn't click on his. Now I opened it and listened. His voice immediately attracted me. It was as refreshing as a gentle breeze, and it was very similar to the voice of Honor of Kings. Combined with his expressions, I once thought that the word secondary was very suitable for him. I guessed blindly that he was probably around 20 years old, a male college student full of a sense of justice. I sighed that youth is really good. It's a pity that I'm already approaching 30. Just as I was about to turn off my phone and read a book, a message popped up on my phone again. Superior Man requests to add you as a friend. I frowned slightly, and I was resistant in my heart. If it weren't for this brat, how could I have been involved in this war? While hesitating, my hand trembled, and I agreed to the friend request. Oh, my hand really has a mind of its own. Hi, what you said in the group was so great. I've even become your little fanboy. Rose. When I saw his opening words, I couldn't help but sneer. How childish. The tricks you're playing are the ones that I got tired of playing in college. I casually sent an expression to deal with it. What should I call you? The other side sent another message, after thinking for a while, seeing his ID Superior Man, just call me beautiful woman. While waiting for his reply, I clicked on his profile picture. It was a very cute corgi. My love for dogs made me can't help but ask another question. Is this your little dog? I really like small animals. I've wanted to raise a little dog several times, but Michael always refused. He said things like dog hair flying everywhere, and it having a strong smell, and so on. I still remember the way he frowned and said, "It's just a dog. What's so good about raising it? Yes, isn't it cute? Its name is Dundu." Then he sent me several photos of the little dog. It was really cute, like a lively little elf. The corners of my mouth involuntarily turned up, but in this situation, will the little dog still have food? I couldn't help but ask worriedly. I've bought a lot. It should be enough. After all, it will be okay after this winter. His words made me a bit curious. How do you know it will be okay after winter? His chat box kept showing typing, but no message was sent for a long time. It seemed like a century had passed. Then he sent a message, because in my previous life, I died in the extremely cold weather. 11. I turned on the surveillance and continued to keep an eye on my enemies. Daphne was obviously woken up by hunger. She hobbled to the living room with her injured hand bent. This fright made her look 10 years older. No one knew how she had spent the past day and night in the bedroom. I saw her rummaging through the cabinets looking for food, but how could she find any? The only noodles had already been hidden by Alba. After searching for a while and finding nothing, Daphne angrily knocked on Alba's door. She didn't know what was inside until she opened the door, and what she saw shocked her. Her nephew and Alba were lying on the bed naked facing each other. Daphne angrily roared. Although Noah was her nephew, Michael was her son. Her son's life or death was unknown, and now she was being cuckolded. How could she not be angry? She angrily rushed over, lifted the quilt off the two of them, and started punching and kicking Alba. And Noah, who was still sleepy, was still in a daze, while Alba had already been so scared that she kept screaming, "You slut, you cuckolded my son, you won't die a good death. Get up, you shameless slut. I'm going to throw you out to feed the zombies." Daphne was dragging Alba while hitting her. Alba was delicate and weak. How could she be a match for Daphne, a woman who had been doing physical work all year round? She was quickly Dragged to the ground, she was lying on the ground naked, crying and screaming. Noah, who was in the middle of this drama, finally came to his senses and shouted, "You old hag, what are you doing? Put her down for me." Daphne looked at Noah in disbelief, as if she couldn't believe Noah's address for her. Daphne widened her eyes and said, "Noah, what did you call me? You called me an old hag, just for this slut. You called me an old hag. I've been washing your diapers since you were a child, buying you delicious food, and giving you money. I've treated you like my own son. How could you call me an old hag? And, stop making a fuss, since you treat me like your own son. I'm afraid my brother Michael has already been eaten by the zombies. Then I'm with his wife. The daughter-in-law is still your daughter-in-law, and I'm your son. What's the difference?" Hearing Noah say these words that were so morally corrupt, I felt a sense of pleasure in my heart. I remember when I married Michael, my dad gave me home appliances as a gift. She secretly took them to her nephew. All the brand new home appliances were taken away by her. When I came back and saw the empty house, I thought there had been a burglary. I was so scared that I quickly called Michael. Then Daphne slowly walked out of the bedroom and said, "Your money will be my money in the future, and your things will be my things. Giving them to my nephew is like moving them from the left hand to the right hand. Do you have any objections?" Daphne also often took my skincare products from my dressing table. My bags and shoes were stretched out by her, but she still wanted to wear them. It wasn't until once Michael accidentally said that his mother had athlete's foot that I was so scared that I didn't dare to buy nice shoes anymore and had to hide my shoes every day. Thinking of these things makes me feel so bitter, now seeing Noah treating her like this. I'm extremely happy, although I think Noah is indeed an ungrateful person. It's true that evil people need to be dealt with by other evil people. Noah's words left Daphne speechless, and not knowing what to do, Alba took the opportunity to hug Daphne's leg and cried out, "Mom, in this situation, Brother Michael is in a very dangerous situation. He's very likely to have become a zombie. Now, do you want my child to be born without a father? Brother Noah is your own nephew, and the baby in my belly is your own grandson. Do you want to have a double harvest or end up with nothing?" Daphne trembled as she took a look at the two naked people and then left shakily. This can be regarded as her acquiescence to this incestuous relationship. What else could she do? Just as Alba said, her son Michael was in a life or death situation. 12. I was shocked by the words of superior man. Others might not believe these words, but I did. I quickly typed and asked, "What do you mean?" The chat box of superior man was still showing typing repeatedly, but no message was sent out. After a long time, he replied, just kidding," still using the regular way of chatting, with one sentence accompanied by an expression. Although he denied it quickly, I had already planted a seed of doubt in my heart. I know that no one wants to expose their painful scars to someone they just met. For example, I don't even want to mention my experiences before my rebirth to my parents. It was really too painful. So now I'm extremely resentful. Superior man must be someone like me. I firmly believe it. It just needs an opportunity for him to take the initiative to say it, and I also urgently need him to say it. I want to know what exactly happened after I became a zombie at 13. Today is the 5th day since the zombies invaded. I watched as Alba ate up all the instant noodles, and even the bread that I had hidden in the cabinet was shared and eaten clean by her and Noah. And Daphne had been surviving on soaking the instant noodle seasoning packets in water for 5 days. Looking at Daphne lying on the bed, she was already lacking the strength to do anything and was visibly losing weight. Not eating but only drinking for 5 days can at least make one lose more than 10 kgs. I thought Daphne would continue to call me to ask for food, but she didn't. Instead, Alba and Noah called me to cry and complain every now and then, watching the light in Daphne's eyes gradually dim. I always felt that Daphne was going to die at the hands of her good daughter-in-law and nephew this time. In the surveillance, Daphne listened to the voices of the two of them playing and laughing without any regard for others, and she let out a long sigh. She might be regretting it, but there's no such thing as a regret medicine in the world. Just when I felt a bit sorry for her, I received a surprising phone call. It was Michael. He was actually still alive. He really has a lot of luck. "Wife, why did you take so long to answer the phone?" As soon as I answered Michael's call, I heard that disgusting voice. I couldn't help but frown and respond with great resistance. "Husband, where are you? Why are you calling now? Why have you been out of touch these days?" I asked several questions in a row. Indeed, out of curiosity, I wanted to know his current situation. My phone was in the office, and I was in the bathroom, but just as I was about to go out of the office, people were infected by the zombie virus. I could only lock the bathroom door and stay here for 5 days. Saying this, Michael let out a long sigh. I pretended not to understand. "Then what about your food and drink these 5 days? Ugh, I almost vomited. I drank the water in the toilet for 5 days. I had no other choice. I took advantage of the zombies not paying attention and ran back to the office. Fortunately, the office has a fingerprint lock, and there are no zombies inside. Now I'm relatively safe." When I heard that he had drunk the toilet water for 5 days, I really almost couldn't help laughing out loud, because Michael had always lived a high-quality life. He never ate ordinary fruits. He needed me to cut them into pieces or make them into fruit salads, and the fruits had to be bought from imported fruit stores. I still remember once I brought back a bag of apples from my mom's place. He frowned and said that my family looked down on him and only let him eat such things. I brought my thoughts back and quickly asked about his next plan. If you know the enemy and know yourself, you can fight 100 battles with no danger of defeat. I want to drive home. Michael is really brave. When the virus is spreading severely outside, he is actually so bold. Aren't you afraid of the zombies outside? I asked. These 2 days I've noticed that the zombies' combat ability at night is extremely poor. As long as I take the opportunity to get in the car at night, I can go home. Although Michael has treated me badly, to be fair, his observation ability and courage are very strong. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to break through the siege and get into a big city from the countryside. Now that I knew Michael's next plan, I had no desire to continue chatting with him. I found an excuse and hung up the phone. It wasn't just me who received Michael's call. My mother-in-law Daphne also received it. The moment the phone rang, her eyes lit up. She suddenly sat up from the bed and kept calling son, son. The 2 people eavesdropping outside were so scared that they were in a panic. If Michael wasn't dead, and if he knew what they had done. 14 today is the 7th day since the zombies invaded. As the property management had notified, the water and power in the community had been cut off. It seems that in a few more days, some people will run out of water and food and gradually lose contact with the outside world. When night fell, I took out the small night light that I had prepared in advance, closed the curtains, and turned on the light faintly. If the lights were still bright now, I'm afraid it wouldn't just attract the zombies, because on the internet yesterday, in a video uploaded by someone, there were already people so hungry that they ignored the zombies and were using an axe to chop at the door of the opposite house. Beep beep, 2 sounds, and a message came from my phone. It was sent by the person with the ID Superior Man. I had been chatting with him for the past 2 days. We talked from astronomy and geography to poems and songs, but he never mentioned his previous life. This made me even more eager to know about his experiences. After this period of communication, I already knew his name, Samuel, and he lived opposite the place where I'm living now. Although I had never seen him before. The power is out. Do you want me to send you 2 power banks? Samuel sent a message. Why do you suddenly want to send me power banks? I replied, I'm quite happy chatting with you, and I don't want you to lose contact. It was still that flippant tone. You'd better use this time to tell me about your experiences instead, I typed and asked, do you really want to hear it? I'm afraid it will scare you. What else can scare me? The outside world is already like this. The other side seemed to think carefully for a while and then sent a message. You just need to remember not to trust anyone. In 2 more days, people will no longer be like people. Just as I was thinking about the meaning of this sentence, there were 2 thumps of impact outside the door, which made me shrink in fear. Why is someone knocking on the door of your house? Samuel sent a message. It scared me. I'll check it through the surveillance. Fortunately, my dad had sealed the door in advance and added protective measures like an electric fence. I turned on the surveillance, and a familiar face came into view. He had a scruffy beard, greasy hair, and a yellowed shirt, but this was the person I had seen for many years. Now, Michael was really disgusting. He was desperately twisting the key outside. When he couldn't open the door, he started banging on it. Fortunately, there were no zombies in our unit. Otherwise, with the huge noise he made, I'm afraid he would attract all the zombies. And so how did he get in? Could it be that he took advantage of the slow reaction of the zombies at night, rushed all the way into the underground garage, and then came up through the fire escape? The fire escape wasn't completely sealed. It was originally a semi-underground door, and the entrance to the garage could only be opened by a license plate recognition system to let the car in. So many people avoided being chased by zombies in this way, but were bitten by zombies in the corridor on their way home. Wife, open the door. Just pounding and hitting wasn't enough, so Michael started shouting. I really wanted to go out and shut his mouth. The neighbors next door must have heard it. Not only that, the zombies must have heard it too. Looking at the little question mark emoticon sent by Samuel, I replied speechlessly, it's my ex-husband. Do you want me to help you drive him away? Samuel asked. I sneered. To beat a snake, you hit its vital part. No one knows better than me what Michael wants most. I turned on the voice on the door and said in a trembling voice, husband, is that you? Husband, I'm shaking all over now. I think I was bitten by a zombie in the garage. It should be okay. I'll open the door for you right away. I watched as Michael's pupils in the camera visibly shook, and he turned his hand to press against the door. Wife, don't be in a hurry. I just came to see if you're okay. I haven't checked on Mom yet. Husband, my best friend Alba is also with Mom. I'll open the door for you right away. I'll go back to our home with you. A family should be together. I pretended to be out of breath. Then I watched helplessly as Michael ran down the fire escape. He didn't respond to me with a single word. This person was so selfish, afraid that I was about to mutate. He wanted to run away with his tail between his legs. You're quite Good at acting. It seemed that Samuel had heard everything at the door. Then you haven't seen anyone who can act better than me. It was already 4 o'clock in the morning when Samuel finished gossiping about me. He exclaimed in disbelief that it could actually be like this. 15 and now. Life has been turned upside down. It's dark during the day, and even darker at night. I eat the meals cooked by my mom 3 times a day. Sometimes I go downstairs to chat with my parents, complain about my past choices, read books during the rest of the time, and brag with Samuel. If I hadn't been awakened from my dream tonight, I would have almost forgotten my hatred. I opened my eyes and looked at the ceiling. I need to speed up the process of getting revenge. Only by ending it quickly can everything start anew. I turned on the surveillance, and an incredible scene appeared. Michael actually showed up in the camera footage. Perhaps I turned it on at just the right time. I watched as the door of the living room beeped and was pushed open, and then slammed shut. I can only say that Michael was bold and skilled. He crouched all the way, moving silently and bypassing the crawling and silent zombies. He moved forward in the dark. By the time the zombies reacted, Michael was already safe. It was a pity that he managed to save his own skin. I shook my head regretfully. Alba, who came out to use the toilet with sleepy eyes, saw Michael. First, she opened her eyes in disbelief, and the next second, she screamed and pounced on Michael. Daphne, who heard Michael's name, also walked out trembling and excited. Only Noah, who was woken up, looked at the empty bed beside him and frowned when he heard the noise outside. He was the one who least wanted Michael to be alive. Watching Michael, his mother, and Alba hugging each other and crying their eyes out, I really couldn't understand whether their tears were real or fake. Son, how did you escape? Daphne asked Michael with tears in her eyes. My husband is so capable. I admire you so much. Husband, Alba looked at Michael with an adoring expression. Her ability to change her expression was truly remarkable. Seeing Alba speak, Daphne suddenly remembered the grievances she had suffered a few days ago. Now that her son was back to support her, she suddenly stood up and shouted, Alba, you shameless thing, get out of here right now. Michael looked confused, and Alba was terrified, afraid that Daphne would say something. Just then, a voice interrupted. Wow, is my brother back? Brother, I miss you so much. Noah's appearance interrupted what Daphne was about to say. Why are you here too? Michael asked in surprise. Brother, it's a long story. Alba, take my aunt to bed. She's still weak. Daphne was about to speak, but Alba dragged her into the bedroom. While Michael wasn't paying attention, Noah leaned close to Alba and said, find a time to get rid of her, or we'll both be finished. Looking at their sinister and vicious appearance, they only thought about taking advantage of the situation to kill someone. But they had no idea that they would soon be unable to hold on. 16. Michael's return alleviated their food problem, because he brought back all the food from his office in his backpack, and the things in Michael's office were all prepared by me. He used to say that I had persecution mania because I was always thinking about this disaster and that disaster. Moreover, influenced by the epidemic a few years ago, I prepared a lot of things at home and in his office for emergencies. I prepared compressed biscuits for him, replaced the bread regularly, instant noodles, instant porridge, and some pickled chicken feet and the like. I treated the person I loved with all my heart, but how did he repay me? Now, looking at the surveillance footage, I regret it so much. I regret why I was so good to him and why I didn't think more about myself. Watching them having a good meal, I was extremely angry. The 4 of them in the family forgot their hatred in the face of being full. They sat together seemingly united. I don't know what Alba said to Daphne, but Daphne didn't throw a tantrum either. She just focused on eating. Brother, how did you get back? It's so dangerous outside. Noah asked Michael. Don't mention it. I have to thank your sister-in-law. No, the helmet, armor, and baseball bat that Opal put in my car. Michael glanced at Alba, who looked unhappy, and immediately changed his words. Speaking of this, I remembered that I had prepared some things in Michael's car. I was afraid that it would be dangerous for him to drive at night. Unexpectedly, these things saved his life. When I came out, the zombies didn't notice me at first. Later, I accidentally stepped on an aluminum can, and all the zombies heard my movement, so I ran for my life. There were zombies everywhere. Fortunately, my car was nearby. As soon as I got in the car, I hit a zombie. I killed it and then came back. Michael was talking non-stop over there. It was even more dangerous when I got home. The zombies were all in the corridor. At first, I didn't make a sound. Their eyesight is not very good at night. However, one zombie woke up. Before I could make a sound, I noticed it because of my sharp eyes. I knocked it down with one blow of the bat. Michael was talking with great interest, and Alba was listening attentively with an adoring expression. This made Noah very angry. He suddenly slapped the table, which startled Alba. You're amazing. Brother, I admire you so much. Noah was flattering Michael while glaring at Alba. However, Alba remained unmoved, which made Noah very angry. After Michael was full and said he was tired, he went to the bedroom. Soon, his snoring was deafening. Noah saw that the bedroom doors of Michael and his mother were both closed. He took the opportunity to walk up to Alba, frowned, and said in a low voice, "Why don't you listen to me? Don't forget, you're my woman." When Alba turned around, I clearly saw the look of disgust on her face through the surveillance, but She changed her expression and smiled, leaning close to Noah and saying, "Of course I listen to you, brother Noah, you're the man I love the most." Her fingers slid across Noah's shoulder, and her eyes were full of charm. Noah swallowed hard, perhaps because he had just eaten his fill. Noah wanted to pick up Alba and have sex with her. "Brother Noah, don't do this, let's deal with the old woman first, and then we can, you know." Noah was almost drooling, with a beautiful woman in his arms. He nodded repeatedly. I saw Alba lean close to Noah's ear, and the two of them whispered for a while. Who knows what evil plan she's coming up with, but I think that old woman will definitely not end well. I originally wanted to take revenge and kill Daphne with my own hands, but I never had the heart to do it. Now, someone is willing to help me. Why not? 17. My son is safely home, although he brought some food. It's definitely not enough for the four of us. I've seen some people going out to transport food these days. You should also bring some food to our house, otherwise, I'll make my son divorce you. Just as it was getting light, I received a call from Daphne, except that the water and electricity were completely cut off. The signal hadn't been damaged yet. Michael's return made Daphne bossy again. "That's great, Mom. I've been worried about Michael. It's good that he's home." I opened the curtain and found that the zombies in the community were mostly moving out. It was already the 10th day of the zombie invasion in the community. Except for those who were still safe at home, the others had turned into zombies. I looked at the almost empty community. Some people quietly went along the wall to look for food. The man had just taken a few steps. When he looked around the empty surroundings and was about to turn the corner, a zombie appeared at the corner. It just took a bite on the man's neck. With a few crunching sounds, the bitten man's face turned black. His body twisted and fell down. He twitched all over. His blood vessels bulged and turned black. He tried his best to control his body and waved his hand towards the upstairs with all his might. Looking in the direction where he was waving, a woman was holding a child. The woman covered the child's eyes and bit her lip, crying silently. I let out a long sigh. Seeing the scene, my heart was filled with sadness. "Then why don't you hurry up and bring the food? I don't know what you're good for. Some things should be done actively by yourself, but you have to wait for your mother-in-law to call. I don't know how your parents educated their daughter. You don't understand the 3 cardinal bonds and 5 constant virtues at all." The harsh voice pierced my eardrums through the phone. It seemed that Daphne had eaten her fill, had the strength, and could start yelling again. I sneered. Daphne seemed to have heard it. She frowned in the surveillance, sat up, and shouted, "Why are you sneering? What's your attitude? Do you believe that I can make my son divorce you?" Sneering. "I didn't. I'll send the things to you right away. I'll still use the drone. You just need to look out of the window. This time, I'll directly drop them on the balcony." "What? You can also put them on the balcony, you bitch. Were you playing tricks on me last time, you bitch? Just wait until I see you in a few days. I'll tear your mouth apart. You don't have a single word of truth in your mouth." I directly hung up the phone and took out the drone. I prepared more things this time, including several packs of bagged milk. These were the last few packs, and their shelf life was relatively short, but they were light and easy to transport. Compressed biscuits, ham sausages, and a piece of barbecued meat made by my mom. The barbecued meat smelled delicious. After everything was ready, I called Daphne. "I put a big piece of barbecued meat. It's sizzling with oil and smells delicious. There's also milk. It can beautify your skin." When I called, I said these words directly in a very sarcastic tone, but Daphne didn't notice anything wrong with my tone at all. When she heard about the sizzling barbecued meat, she unconsciously swallowed her saliva. Okay, hurry up and send it to me. My son and I haven't eaten meat for a long time." Daphne couldn't wait to open the balcony door and stood there waiting. I flew the drone out. There were very few zombies in the community, after all. Most of those who could be infected had already been infected. They had already moved to other places. In the empty open space of the community, there was nothing but corpses, so the sound of my drone didn't attract anything. I controlled the drone to the balcony where Daphne was standing according to the plan. Daphne opened the window, looking at the barbecued meat within reach. She swallowed her saliva and reached out to pull the bag. I watched as Daphne slowly reached out her hand and leaned out of the window with all her might to reach for it. She looked so awkward, I couldn't help laughing. Every time she was about to reach it, I would control the drone to move back a little. "Bitch, can you operate this damn thing? Why is it so far away from me?" Daphne shouted on the phone and kept jumping up and waving at me. I watched as her face turned as purple as liver. I felt a secret pleasure in my heart. "Is it possible that you're stupid?" I replied to Daphne word by word. She seemed to have heard something incredible. After all, I had always been respectful when speaking to her. "You bitch, who are you calling stupid? Send the things to me right away, or I'll make you pay. You always say you'll make me pay, but I haven't seen what you can do, besides relying on your son. What else can you do? I'll tell you today that your son is also a man who lives off women. You still want your son to divorce me? I can't wait for that. Then I'll make him leave the house with nothing. You want to make me pay? First, see if you have the life for that. I think your forehead is Dark, your death is near, haha. I said all these words in one breath. Daphne didn't react for a moment and could only listen with her ears perked up. When she came to her senses, I immediately hung up the phone and blocked all her contact information. I maneuvered the drone and left triumphantly, leaving her with a bit of fragrance to smell was already the height of my kindness. I maneuvered the drone to the window of that mother and daughter. Perhaps the woman still hadn't fully reacted and was still standing there blankly by the window, as if praying for her husband to come back. People in the world have deep feelings, and those with soft hearts can't bear to see such scenes. I let out a long sigh, and my nose felt slightly sour. I used the drone to tap on her window, and the woman snapped out of her trance. She opened the window in confusion, tipped down the bag, and opened it. I had put a small note inside, which read, "I witnessed everything. You have to be strong, for your own sake. And even more so for your child." I was afraid that this woman might do something extreme out of despair, facing both hunger and the loss of her husband. The woman covered her mouth and shed tears. Then she put her hands together and bowed in gratitude in the direction where the drone had flown away. It's not that I particularly like being a good Samaritan, I just couldn't pretend not to see it when I did. 18. Watching Daphne in the surveillance jumping up and down in anger, but she didn't dare to make a big fuss about it. Otherwise, if Alba asked her why she was so angry, what would she say? Could she say that she wanted to keep the food for herself? So Daphne could only stomp her feet in anger and curse in a low voice. These two women are just the same. Neither of them is any good. One can't have children, and the other is having an affair. Just wait until my son divorces both of you. Although her voice wasn't loud, Alba, who was lying at the door, still heard some of it. However, she didn't hear it all clearly, just catching some of the keywords, such as having an affair and divorce you. Alba turned pale with fright upon hearing this. She quickly walked towards Noah, who was snoring on the sofa. She tugged at Noah and whispered something to him. Noah, still half asleep, stood up dazedly and nodded repeatedly. Alba walked towards Daphne's bedroom and knocked on the door with a flattering expression. "Mom, Brother Michael also brought back some milk. Should I pour a glass for you?" Daphne let out a cold snort and turned her back without answering. Seeing that there was no response, Alba couldn't hold back and pushed the door open. Daphne frowned and shouted, "Is this how your parents taught you? So uneducated. Oh, I forgot. You're not a good person to begin with. I'm telling you, once this turmoil is over, after you give birth to my grandson, get out of my house immediately." Daphne actually accused others of being uneducated. Had she forgotten that she used to enter my room and take my cosmetics without my permission? Had she forgotten that she burst into my room and took my clothes away while Michael and I were sleeping? But fortunately, Daphne hadn't directly told Alba to get out right away, which meant she was still leaving her a way out. However, Alba didn't think so. Alba looked at Daphne with a wronged expression. She mumbled softly, "It was your nephew who made the first move on me. I'm just a weak woman and couldn't resist him. If Brother Michael finds out, he will definitely be angry with me. But if he gets angry with your nephew, then you'll be caught in the middle." When Daphne heard this, she finally turned around and said angrily, "It's all your fault, you wicked woman. What do you want from me?" Seeing that Daphne was talking to her, Alba immediately blurted out the prepared speech. "Sister Opal sent a lot of things to the door. There are so many of them. I thought you could pick some first. Mom, don't worry. Mom, I've already opened the door and checked. There are no zombies outside anymore. Brother Noah is waiting for you at the door. Did that barren woman send them? I bet she doesn't dare to play tricks on me. It seems she wants to beg for mercy from me." Daphne thought of the fragrant grilled meat and swallowed hard, not knowing what else she thought of. Daphne glanced at Alba and asked again, "You're not playing tricks on me, are you?" "Cross my heart, Mom. If I lie to you, would your nephew lie to you too? You can just open the door and take a look. If there's nothing, just close it right away. If I lied to you about this, wouldn't I be asking for trouble, right, Mom?" Alba replied exaggeratedly, with that sincere look as if she was swearing by the heavens and the earth. It was hard not to believe her. "If I find out you're playing tricks on me, I won't let you off easily." Daphne slowly stood up. When passing by Michael's room and seeing the door tightly closed, Daphne even knocked on the door. But there was no response from Michael. "Yo, my son is still sleeping, I'm telling you, don't disturb him. You all are just freeloaders. If it weren't for my son, you'd all starve to death." When Noah saw Daphne coming, he quickly ran over to support her. "Especially you. You've done something to betray your brother. I covered it up for you this time. If there's a next time, I won't spare you first." As she spoke, Daphne gently poked Noah's head with her finger as a punishment, but it was still obvious that she doted on Noah. "I know this time, it was all this slutty woman who seduced you. Otherwise, how could my nephew do such a thing? You're so right. And it's this woman. She looks so seductive. Which man could resist being alone with her in a room? And just think of it as my relieving some stress with her. Don't take it to heart." As he spoke, he reached out and gave Alba's but a hard pinch behind Daphne's back. Alba rolled her eyes in disgust, but Noah didn't see it. After hearing the answer she wanted, Daphne walked to the door. "Let me see what that bitch has sent. As she spoke, Daphne opened the door. Suddenly, a male voice shouted, "Get out, you old hag." Daphne lost her balance and fell forward. Noah's smile that had just appeared disappeared in less than 3 seconds. A pair of hands pushed him hard from behind, and then Noah also tumbled forward. Before the two of them could react, the door had been closed. That's right, Alba's plan to kill two birds with one stone had succeeded. She had gotten rid of both the old woman and the man who had forced her into this situation. She had dealt with the two of them in one move. And why didn't Michael react to all this commotion? Because Alba had put sleeping pills in the water she gave him. As for the sleeping pills, I was the one who mentioned them. I specifically asked Alba if she had solved the problem of food. Alba lied and said she had been starving, and Michael hadn't brought anything back. This made it convenient for me to take the opportunity. I said in a joking tone, "If you're really that hungry, take some sleeping pills. When you're asleep, you won't know anything." There are sleeping pills in my bedside cabinet, accompanied by the expression I had just collected. It was really just a joke from me. Who would have thought that Alba would take it seriously? 19 Daphne was pushed out by Noah. At first, she couldn't believe that Noah had pushed her out. She glared at Noah, who had also been pushed out. In anger, Daphne started cursing. "How could you treat your own aunt like this? Just for that slut? You're an ungrateful wretch. You'll be punished by heaven for this." Noah was already out of his mind. He didn't even notice Daphne's loud scolding. He banged on the door like crazy, alternately begging and cursing at Alba, using both threats and inducements. "You bitch, just wait until I get in there and beat you to death. You're just a used-up slut that I've had. Please, dear Alba, let me in. I'll be good to you forever. I'll love you forever. Michael, come out. Your wife has already been with me. Come out and fight me. You're not a real man. Don't you know you can't have children?" When Daphne heard Noah cursing her son, she stood up and started hitting him frantically. "I won't allow you to say such things about my son. You're not a man. You're not even human. Who said my son can't have children? If you talk nonsense again, I'll tear your mouth apart. My grandson is in that woman's belly." Noah was hit and turned around. His eyes were wide with anger, and he grabbed Daphne's shoulders and said word by word, "Old woman, you still don't know, do you, Alba, that cheap woman? And I found your son's diagnosis under his mattress. He has asthenospermia. Your son is going to be childless." Daphne was stunned and said, "It's impossible. How could my son be sick? It's that woman who's sick, that barren woman. It can't be true. My grandson is in that woman's belly." Noah sneered and said, "Alba, that easy woman, she crawled into my bed as soon as I beckoned. Do you think she won't crawl into other men's beds? She has so many men that you can't even count them on 10 fingers. Daphne shook her head repeatedly. "It's impossible. She's my son's woman, and the baby in her belly is my grandson." "Oh, right. You also know the father of the baby in Alba's belly." Noah deliberately paused and stared at Daphne with a meaningful smile until Daphne looked up at him. Then Noah continued, "It's the son of your good friend across the street. How many times has Alba been here? She's already had affairs with all the neighbors." When Daphne heard this, she completely lost her mind. She started hitting the door and shouting, using all the insulting words she knew to curse at Alba. She called Michael's name frantically, hoping that Michael would open the door for her, but she didn't know that her son had already been drugged with sleeping pills. Her heart-wrenching cries couldn't bring her son out, but only attracted the zombies that were searching around. Feeling the taste of despair, the aunt and nephew looked at the few zombies at the end of the corridor and were so scared that they collapsed on the ground. Even Noah, who always thought of himself as brave, wet his pants, and Daphne seemed to have completely lost her strength. She stared at the direction of the zombies with a look of despair. "In the end, it turned out like this. Opal, my good daughter-in-law, I was wrong. I was really wrong. Alba and Noah, you two remember this. I won't let you off even if I become a ghost." After saying this softly, Daphne let out a fierce shout and rushed towards the zombies. As soon as she rushed forward, she was engulfed by the crowd of zombies and torn apart. Even her bones could be seen. The scene was as misery as what I had experienced in my previous life. After tearing Daphne apart, the zombies all turned towards Noah. The scene was too horrible to describe. 20. It was the 15th day since the zombies invaded. The signal didn't seem to be very good. Messages were being sent and received intermittently. Opal received a call from Michael. Michael's voice was hoarse, as if he had just been crying. He said, "Opal, Mom is gone. Kneel and kowtow to her to send her on her way. Kowtow. Go kowtow to your mother." I was speechless when I heard this. I pretended and said, "What? How could this happen? How could a person who was fine just disappear like this?" Michael sobbed. "Mom was pushed out by that beast Noah. I really can't understand it. Mom was so good to him. Could it be a misunderstanding?" I pretended to be confused and asked, "How could it be? It was all because of Alba." "No, it was your best friend Alba who saw it with her own eyes. How could it be fake? This couldn't have happened for no reason. You'd better ask Alba carefully. After all, she's the only witness. Is there something she's not telling us? We can't let Mom die without knowing the truth." I pretended to be angry and shouted, "I know Michael. Once he gets angry, he can do anything," and my words planted a seed of doubt In his heart, I turned on the surveillance, and sure enough, Michael was choking Alba's neck and shouting angrily, "Tell me, what else are you hiding from me?" I've seen Michael in such an ugly state before, when he failed at work or when he felt discriminated against in our family, but fortunately, he just smashed things at that time. After all, my family is rich, and he still needs to rely on us. And the so-called love of Alba could never move a selfish and cold-hearted person like Michael. However, I don't really care what retribution Michael and Alba will get anymore, because through my conversations with superior man Samuel, I know that in half a month, the extremely cold weather will arrive. 21. Since Daphne's death, I've had much less resentment. The warm and cozy atmosphere of my family has soothed my nightmares. The appearance of the zombies has disrupted the balance of this society. And the environment is abnormal. The extremely cold weather is about to arrive. The extremely cold weather can not only freeze the zombies to death but also many people. My mom and I sorted out our things in advance, classified the quilts and thick clothes. My dad was responsible for connecting the small heaters to the power, but we still need to save electricity. After all, the solar panels won't work properly. The zombies didn't disrupt the signal, but the extremely cold weather can. During the time I've been communicating with Samuel, we've gradually become friends. I asked him with concern if he needed me to send him some quilts, until Samuel sent me a picture of his room filled with warm clothes and supplies. It seems that he was really terrified of the cold in his previous life. When we were talking about the signal problem, I could still communicate with my parents, but he could only huddle with his dog for warmth. If we lose the signal, he will completely lose the way to communicate with others. During our conversation, we found that our windows were quite close to each other. As long as we tied a rope, we could send things to each other. Samuel found a strong nylon rope and threw one end of it over. I also tied it to the steel window. During this process, I only saw Samuel's white and slender hand. I sighed. Youth is really good. His hand is slender, strong, and smooth. There are still 5 days until the extremely cold weather arrives. I sent things to that mother and daughter again. Still using the drone and communicating through notes, I packed quilts, warm coats, and food. Since the drone might not be able to work properly in a while, it took more than 10 trips to send everything. I might as well help them to the end. Through the notes, I learned that the woman's name was Juno. She used to be warm, generous, and cheerful, but because of this disaster, she had become somewhat numb. She sincerely told me that I was like a ray of light illuminating her numb life, and she was extremely grateful. In fact, now, besides my parents, it's hard for me to trust others, whether it's Samuel or Juno. I'm just doing something that's easy within my ability, whether they are sincere or not, as long as it doesn't affect my interests. I watched my mom making the bed layer by layer and carrying the quilts up and down the stairs. Suddenly, I felt that as long as my family was together, I wasn't afraid of any difficulties. Someone sent a message in the group. Since the power outage, there have been very few people chatting. It seems that the people who can still talk now are those who have made some preparations at home. 5 to 503. Do you feel that it has suddenly become much colder these days? 10-1001. I even shivered at noon today. When I read this, I was still a bit trembling under a thick quilt. Looking outside, the cold wind was blowing, and there had been no sun for 2 days. It seemed that the extremely cold weather was really coming. 22. When I opened my eyes today, I sneezed loudly. It's only October. Usually, this is a great season for outings, but now it's extremely cold and damp. I checked the thermometer at home, and it had already dropped to 0 degrees Celsius. Fortunately, my mom brought up a bowl of hot noodle soup. After I ate it, I felt much warmer. Just then, I received a message from Michael. He said, "Where did we put the quilts at home? It's so cold today." I suddenly remembered that many of the quilts my mom bought for me were in the cabinet. Alas, I really regret it now. Mainly, I didn't even survive to the second stage in my last life. After reading his message, I sneered and didn't reply. Let him find them by himself. After all, I really don't want that scumbag man and woman to get through this. The next day, the temperature dropped to -5 degrees Celsius, and on the third day, it dropped to -10 degrees Celsius. In just 1 week, the temperature had dropped to -20 degrees Celsius. Everyone noticed something was wrong, but there was nothing they could do. They could only keep adding more clothes to themselves. In the early morning, I hid under the covers and didn't want to get out. The bed my mom made for me was so comfortable. There was a soft quilt on the mattress, and we even used the electric blanket that hadn't been used for years. I was wearing a fluffy pajamas and was covered with 2 thick quilts. Listening to the cold wind howling outside, I became even more reluctant to leave the warm bed. "Daughter, it's snowing, it's snowing," my dad shouted and came up to find me, and my mom was carrying a small pot. Hearing this, I quickly jumped out of the bed to look at the scene outside the window. It's really rare to have snow in October. There was a vast expanse of white snow outside. I thought that the zombies still outside should have been frozen to death. Who could stand staying outside overnight at this temperature? Looking at the thick snow piled up under the still green trees outside, the outermost layer of the window couldn't be opened because of the frost. Of course, I didn't want to open it either. Fortunately, my dad was clever and installed a thick insulation layer. Our house wasn't as cold as outside, but it definitely wasn't warm either. I glanced at the thermometer. It was only 10 degrees Celsius at home. After all, there was no heating facility. There were only a few small heaters connected to the generator and an air conditioner installed by my dad. The temperature difference between indoors and outdoors was so large. It seemed that this was the Earth's way of cleaning house, freezing the zombies to death. It was the law of the jungle, and only the fittest could survive. I began to feel lucky. Fortunately, I was able to prepare well in this life and didn't have to endure such great suffering. Otherwise, I didn't even need to imagine what it would feel like to be frozen to death, because I was most afraid of the cold. Alas, what's going on this year? There's snow in October, and there was a zombie crisis before. I complained as I walked out of the room. I saw that my dad and mom had already set up a small pot on the dining table. I walked over curiously to have a look. Mom and Dad, what are you doing? The vegetables your mom planted in the incubator have sprouted. It's snowing today, so let's have a hot pot together. Wow, how's the harvest? I asked in surprise. It's okay. It's more than enough for the three of us to eat. You can also send some to Samuel next door. He's quite pitiful living alone. By the way, we have daylilies and chives now. The chives grow batch after batch. I'll cut some tonight to make chive dumplings for you, Mom said proudly. I watched as the water in the small pot began to boil, and the smell of chili peppers started to waft out. The room seemed to warm up a bit. I looked at my watch. It was already past 10 o'clock. It couldn't be called the early morning anymore, since it got cold. I've been staying in bed for longer and longer. When the zombies came, the company required us to work from home. Later, several senior managers of the company lost all contact. It seemed that things were not looking good for them now. The company was as quiet as if it had never existed. Things like the 5 social insurances and 1 housing fund, the company's performance, and the top salesperson, all these things were shattered by this disaster, which broke the comfortable circle that people had built for themselves. I watched quietly as my mom prepared the ingredients. I saw my mom take out the frozen mutton slices and beef slices. I couldn't help but say, "Don't forget my tripe and shrimp paste balls. These are my must-haves for hot pot." My mom used to insist on fresh ingredients, but now, in such a situation, she didn't have too many requirements. She took out the frozen ingredients and hot pot balls from the refrigerator, then she started to cut and wash them nimbly. Now, the function of the refrigerator wasn't very important. My dad moved the refrigerator to the balcony because the temperature on the balcony was even lower. In this way, we could save some electricity after unplugging the refrigerator. After cutting and washing, my mom started to prepare the sauce. Making sauce was her specialty. She could make excellent oil-dipping sauce and sesame paste. I watched as my mom put in scallions, bird's-eye chilies, and sprinkled on sesame seeds. Before she even finished preparing the sauce, I couldn't wait to take a bowl. I blanched 2 slices of meat, coated them with sesame paste, and put them in my mouth. It was so delicious that it could almost make my tongue fall off. The soup base was made by my mom before. The strong aroma of chili peppers was boiling. She also made a tomato section. The fresh, spicy, fragrant, and richly sweet smells wafted over. I couldn't hold back anymore. I sat on the stool and started eating. My mom was still frying crispy pork cutlets. She took out the pork from the refrigerator yesterday and it took a long time to thaw. I watched her marinate it for a while just now. Now, she coated it with the prepared batter, fried it until it was golden and crispy, and sprinkled it with salt and pepper. The crispy pork cutlets, the mutton slices coated with sauce, the boiling hot pot, and the fresh vegetables. My dad started walking around my room. When he saw that my chair was broken, he picked up a screwdriver and started to fix it. My mom brought the crispy pork cutlets over, smelling the delicious aroma. I couldn't stop swallowing my saliva. Before the plate was even placed steadily, I picked up a piece of crispy pork cutlet and put it in my mouth. It crunched, and it was crispy on the outside and tender on the inside. Eat slowly. No one is going to rob your food, my mom said happily as she watched me eating. I'm not so sure. Look how wide my dad's mouth is open. I signaled my mom to look with my eyes. I saw my dad scoop up a large chopstick of instant noodles, coat them with sauce, and open his mouth wide to put them in. Wow. It looks so delicious, my mom said teasingly, as if he noticed the gazes of my mom and me. My dad was in a dilemma of whether to continue eating or put it down, which made us burst into laughter. The wind and snow continued to fall outside, but inside the house, it was warm and joyful. This was the meaning of my second chance at life. 23. The signal was completely lost. The outdoor temperature had reached minus 50 degrees Celsius, which was a temperature never seen before in our area. Even when we turned on all the heating equipment indoors, it was only minus 10 degrees Celsius. My mom took out military coats for us to wear. So I was wearing thermal underwear, a fluffy pajamas on top of that, a down jacket, and then a military coat. As soon as I took off the military coat, I had to get into the bed immediately, otherwise, I would be frozen stiff in just a short while. Considering saving electricity, my parents also moved up. We closed all the unused rooms, sorted the things, and piled the daily necessities in the living room. In this way, we didn't have to go back and forth to get them. My dad arranged a row of heating equipment, and we could barely stand it. I wondered how other families were surviving. A few days ago, I took a look at the surveillance. Because of the extremely cold weather, several of the surveillance cameras had been frozen and damaged, and there were already some blind spots in my surveillance area. Watching the surveillance screens go black one after another, I knew that the weather was getting more and more serious. The last time I saw Michael and Alba was when the outdoor temperature was still minus 30 degrees Celsius last week. Michael found all my quilts and wrapped them around himself, and he put on layer after layer of clothes. However, I had the habit of packing thick clothes in the storage room. The thickest clothes Michael could find were his long johns, so he could only put on layer after layer. Looking at his awkward appearance with 6 or 7 suits on and wrapped in a big quilt, I thought Michael must regret why he only had suits. He was always particular about his clothes and only wore suits. He once said that I didn't dress elegantly enough. Alba was originally wearing a skirt. Now, she could only wear my summer clothes, and my clothes were not thick at all and were all in strange styles. Her feet could only be covered with silk stockings and were exposed in the room where the temperature was more than minus 20 degrees Celsius. She hugged Michael tightly and tried to put her feet into the quilt, but all the quilts were limited. Her cold body was disliked by Michael because Michael had wrapped himself up, and Alba's presence would only make him feel the draft. So the last scene I saw was that Alba tried to get close to Michael, but Michael pushed her away. Alba fell to the ground, and there was a large amount of blood under her body. I couldn't see the following scenes anymore, but I thought that at minus 30 degrees Celsius, a pregnant woman with heavy bleeding and a selfish man, it was easy to imagine what the ending would be. 24. The so-called extremely cold weather seemed to have reached a low of minus 60 degrees Celsius. There was no further downward trend, but even this weather was enough to be deadly for our area. I also didn't know how long this extremely cold weather would last. After all, Samuel didn't know in my last life either. He didn't survive the extremely cold weather. Because of the cold, the phone would lose power and turn off when placed outside, so I could only bring it into the bed. The way our family lived also changed. The whole family of 3 moved into the master bedroom. All the rooms except the master bedroom were completely closed. My bed and my parents' bed were put together, and it was more than enough to accommodate the 3 of us. My dad blocked all the gaps, such as the gaps in the doors. There was also a bathroom in the master bedroom. My dad made the bathroom airtight and put several small heaters in it. In my bedroom, several more air conditioners were added, blowing out hot air. In this way, we could still get through it. Because of the cold, the nights became extremely long, so the 3 of us in the family either ate or slept. Since the phone couldn't connect to the network, we could only watch the movies I had downloaded in advance. When we woke up, each of the 3 of us wrapped in a quilt and watched the movies I had downloaded. I checked the date. It was already January. Time passed so quickly. I thought I might have gained more than 10 kilograms, but it didn't matter. Eating more at this time and gaining some fat could also keep me warm. Ding dong. A message popped up on the phone. My parents, who had been chatting just now, suddenly fell silent, because the phone hadn't received a message for a long time, and we had even gotten used to the days without a phone. We would read books and chat, and only occasionally watch the movies I had downloaded in advance. This message meant that the disaster was about to end. I took out the phone trembling with excitement. That's right. It was a message popped up by Sina. I felt like crying. The top trending topic: the country has launched a post-disaster restoration plan. When I saw this sentence, our family of 3 hugged each other excitedly. You know what, everyone, although we had everything at home, these days were like groping in the dark. At first, I just wanted to save my life, but who in the dark didn't want to see the light? The restoration of the signal was like a ray of light shining into the dark world. Ding ding. Ding, 3 consecutive beeps. I received several messages from Samuel family. There's a signal again. Samuel, have seen the light of day again. Woo-woo. I really want to cry. Do you know how I survived these months? I've read the 4 great classical novels more than 10 times. I've watched the scene of the Oath of the Peach Garden more than hundreds of times. I can even recite it backwards. Family, when we meet, I must become sworn brothers with you. Looking at Samuel's messages, I couldn't help but laugh. I even felt that the temperature in the room had risen. I took out the thermometer and checked. Indeed, the temperature had risen by more than 10 degrees Celsius today compared to yesterday. The future looks promising. Everyone, 25, with the restoration of the network, the surviving people began to become active. Looking at the popularity on the internet, it seemed that many people had survived. We should also thank the previous epidemic, which made everyone get into the habit of Stockpiling food, I began to read various comments on the internet, a piece of paper. Alas, I can just consider it as losing weight. Even a weight loss training camp isn't as effective as this. I've lost a full 50 kg white rice grain. Who doesn't say so? 2 people managed to survive for almost half a year with a whole refrigerator of food. Yezzy. Fortunately, my husband has persecution mania and likes to stockpile goods. Sejuani. I used all the quilts my parents' family gave me as a dowry. This extremely cold weather is really life-threatening. There were all kinds of comments, some sad, some happy, but they were all full of emotions. According to the report from the meteorological station, the temperature will reach minus 20 degrees Celsius tomorrow. I saw that the weather information was also being updated. Although minus 20 degrees Celsius was still very cold, it was still a normal temperature. Compared with the previous minus 40 degrees Celsius and minus 60 degrees Celsius, it was much better, feeling the temperature recovering. My dad started moving things again, so the temperature in the living room was still bearable, wearing a military coat. I even felt a bit hot. After a month, we were back in the living room again. I watched as my mom finally lit the stove and got the fire going. The dancing sparks really made me cry with joy. The moment the noodles with bean paste and shredded scallions were put into my mouth, I regarded it as a divine dish. I ate the hot noodles, mixed with my tears, mouthful by mouthful. During these days, my life was filled with compressed biscuits, instant noodles eaten dry, slightly clumped milk, and self-heating pots that couldn't get really hot, so at this moment, I could better feel the softness of the noodles, the savory aroma of the sauce, the chewiness of the meat, and the warm and lively atmosphere. I watched as the hot searches were constantly updated. Hashtag the transmission rate of the zombie virus is 0 in extremely cold weather. Hashtag please stop panicking. The virus vaccine has been successfully developed. Hashtag the crisis has been controlled, and the restoration of daily life is just around the corner. Hashtag fully combat the virus. The XX medical team has entered the severely affected area of XX. Hashtag looking at the arrangement of the messages, each one was more inspiring than the last. People cherish life more and are more devout because they have experienced such a disaster. A certain blog updated its page after 5 months. A large lit candle served as the background, and the 4 characters unite as one stood firmly on the homepage. Samuel sent a message. Look downstairs. The medical team is here to clean up the virus and zombies. I quickly ran to the windowsill. Downstairs, there were crowds of people in camouflage protective suits and white protective suits. It was a strong sense of vitality, a salvation, and a new beginning. 26. The National Reserve grain has started to be distributed. Please don't worry. We will distribute it according to the floors. During the distribution process, we will count the number of survivors. We will restore the water and electricity supply at 3 p.m. today. The property management group of the community started beeping again. This was the first time the avatars in the group flashed since the last water and power outage. They were still the familiar avatars, and this time, the replies in the group were particularly warm. There was no pushing and shoving, no cursing, just full of gratitude. 6-602, thank the country, thank the property management, and thank our volunteers. It's so good to be alive. 7-701, I'm content. Contentment brings happiness. I wish our lives will go smoothly in the future. Many neighbors also thanked the person who put up a small note stating that the zombies were coming and asking to close the unit door. The group was filled with a harmonious atmosphere, and my parents happily sighed as they looked at the messages. People always realize how good their unappreciated daily lives are only after experiencing a disaster. 27. It was the 6th month since the zombies arrived, and the days flew by and it was already March. The temperature had recovered to 0 degrees Celsius, and I took off my thick military coat. Today was the day when the country issued a notice that people could go out. I was woken up by Samuel's phone call early in the morning. He cheerfully told me that we could finally meet in person. I took a serious shower. In the past, I could only wipe my body or take a quick wash. Today was the day to go out, and it was also the day to meet an online friend in person. Washing my hair and taking a shower was the highest courtesy for a girl when meeting someone. Samuel had been my online friend for 6 months. During this hardship, he became my solid comrade in arms. It's not that we have to do something for each other to be considered comrades in arms. Spiritual connection and going through the same difficult days together also count. Today, I was going to see who this mysterious online friend was, who had lived across from my house for 3 years but I had never met even once, and today I was going to meet Michael. Somehow, the surveillance camera automatically connected to the restored network a few days ago. I watched as Alba's body was cleared away by the volunteers, and Michael's frostbitten legs were lifted onto a wheelchair. The volunteers also brought some things. Michael wolfed down the food while crying. The first thing he said to the volunteers was, "Can I call my wife?" I let Out a long sigh. Why didn't he cherish it at that time? Things can't always go as you wish, as expected. I received a call from the volunteers, so today I was going to see Michael. There was a knock on the door. It must be Samuel. I opened the door with a nervous and excited mood. It's you. I was stunned when I saw Samuel for the first time. Wasn't this the suit-wearing man I saw every time I went back to my parents' house? He was serious and dressed in a neat suit. This had nothing to do with the campus big boy I had imagined. Wow. I'm so used to seeing our corgi. It's a bit strange to see a real person all of a sudden. Do you know how miserable I was alone? I looked in the mirror every day just to see a real person. As a result, I've seen enough of myself, and now I feel like vomiting when I see myself in the mirror. I was silent for 3 seconds after hearing this. This guy was indeed the one I knew. But the contrast was too great, looking at him in his domineering CEO suit, with gold-rimmed glasses on his cold face, but his mouth chattering nonstop, and the slightly complaining expression on his face made me burst out laughing. To cover up my laughter, I coughed twice and reached up my hand. Hello, Samuel. Let's get to know each other again. My name is Opal. Samuel held my hand and said, I'm Samuel. Please give me your guidance. Then there was a 2-second silence. Wow, is this a human hand? And it's a beautiful woman's hand. It's warm. I like it so much. I had a black line on my face. He was indeed this guy, 28. After half a year, I stood in front of the small house that Michael and I used to live in again, hesitating. I really resisted this place from the bottom of my heart. This was not only the place where I lost my life in my previous life, but also a place where 3 lives were sacrificed because of selfishness, although the sun was shining outside. I still felt that it was shady here. Go in. I'll wait for you at the door. As soon as you call, I'll rush in and beat him up. Samuel stood next to me with a rich expression, cheering me on, and making a boxing gesture with his hand. Sigh, is there anyone who can take this chatterbox away? But Samuel's presence still gave me some confidence. After all, I had a comrade in arms by my side. I sighed and opened the door to go in. Who is it? A familiar and wary voice came from inside. It's me, Opal, wife, is that you? I could hear the joy and excitement in his voice. Then Michael rushed in front of me in his wheelchair. When he saw me, Michael scratched his head a little awkwardly and said, my legs were frostbitten, so I'm in a wheelchair now. That's fine. It's not a bad thing to have more life experiences. I replied calmly, and Michael couldn't believe what I said because usually, I would run over excitedly, hug him, and keep asking him how he was, and then he would push me away in annoyance. That was our normal way of getting along. Wife, why are you? Let's get a divorce. The house is yours. I think it's dirty. So I don't want it. All the cash is mine. After all, you've earned a lot of money from your work, and it's fair to split it half and half. Do you have any objections? I said firmly. Wife, why? Do you dislike me because I'm a disabled person? Michael, even now, you still won't tell the truth. I've never disliked you. The hospital found out that you have a male reproductive disease and it's difficult for you to have children. For your dignity, I endured the humiliation and always said it was my problem. I've never disliked you, and I'm not afraid of not having children. As long as I have you, that's enough. Look at what you've done. You cheated on me with Alba, and you and your mother planned to kick me out of the house and make me leave with nothing. Which of these things wasn't done by you? I explained word by word. Let me explain. Wife, all the things are proven, and I have all the evidence. Even if we go to court, I will win. But now, considering that you're disabled, the house is yours. Of course, I also think this house is not clean. The cash is mine. This is the best outcome for you. I continued. I already regret it. I've been regretting it every day these days. I'm not a good person. I looked at Michael coldly as he beat himself up with a crying voice and confessed to me, what a disgusting man. I really can't forgive him. I admit that you have some abilities, but you're selfish, cold, heartless, narrow-minded, dark, and twisted. Staying with someone like you for one more day is disgusting to me. I paused and then continued. You have a reproductive disease, so Alba's child isn't yours. Your mother was killed by her and Noah together. As for why they had an affair, well, there's an old saying that even a short marriage has some affection. I have to tell you what kind of person Alba is, so that you don't be a fool for the rest of your life. I've saved the video and will send it to your phone later. There's the list of your test results under our mattress. Believe it or not, it's up to you. At the end, I was excited and lighthearted. Hearing what I said, Michael broke down. A man in his 30s burst into tears. I watched him cry for a while coldly. Every sob of his was a punishment for his infidelity. When his crying voice became softer, I handed him a piece of paper. It wasn't for him to wipe his tears, but a divorce agreement. Sign it. After you sign it, we'll be done with each other. I handed him a pen and said softly. This time, Michael didn't say anything. With tears on his face, he signed his name stroke by stroke. He was very serious, as pious as when we got our marriage certificate at the Civil Affairs Bureau. I still remember that year. He stared at the form and looked at it again and again, and then asked me, can I marry you after filling out this form? I looked at him with a smile and said, yes. He smiled happily and said, then I'll fill it out carefully." Then he lowered his head and wrote his name stroke by stroke. His stray hair slightly blocked his eyes, looking at the slight heat in his eyes. I thought he must have really wanted to marry me at that time, and the memory ended, and I picked up the signed divorce agreement from Michael. "Find a day to get the divorce certificate, and then we'll be completely done. I mean, both the grudges and the relationships will be over." He had already received enough retribution. "Okay," he replied softly without trying to keep me. I felt relieved in my heart. I walked out of the door gracefully without any hesitation. "Is it done?" When I went out, I saw Samuel waiting for me at the door. "Yeah, it's all over. My life is starting anew." I ran out of the door happily. Samuel followed beside me and congratulated me, saying, "By the way, the thing I mentioned last time, do you want to consider it?" I waved my hand. My mother-in-law Daphne touched my best friend Alba's belly and said with a loving expression, "Spring, hey, don't be too narcissistic. I'm talking about becoming sworn siblings. What does it say in Romance of the Three Kingdoms? It's something like a bird that chooses its tree will perch on a good tree. Alas, what's the rest? I've watched it hundreds of times. I should be able to recite it backwards." Samuel chattered beside me. I jumped and picked up his words. "A minister who chooses his master will meet a wise master. It's enough for Guan Yu to fulfill his lifelong wish. From now on, Guan Yu's life is Brother Lu's life, and Guan Yu's body is Brother Lu's body. I will be at your disposal without any hesitation." Samuel laughed loudly to cover up his embarrassment of not being able to say the words. After holding it in for a long time, he said, "Me too." The spring breeze blew over, everything was reviving, and everything was starting anew in an orderly manner.